Chapter 35-32. This was a battle without any suspense. Under the joint suppression of the four quasi-emperors, Heavenly King Fengxiang Mansion and Heavenly King Wuxia Mansion were reduced to ashes. The two Heavenly Kings were killed, and the other Divine Emperor from Heavenly King Wuxia Mansion was also killed without much resistance. More than half of the other experts were also killed. The remaining experts all surrendered and were taken down by the Saint Emperor's guards. Many people at the scene felt like they were in a dream. The famous Heavenly King Wuxia, Heavenly King Fengxiang, and Heavenly King Haosen had fallen just like that. These were all overlords and it was difficult to meet them. Each of them was a top figure in the Taishu dynasty, but now they were so worthless and were easily killed. Alright, today all the traitors have been killed. Everyone else, please take a seat. The Taishu Saint Emperor waved his hand. Everyone sat down, but they were still trembling with fear. However, there is still one person who must be punished today. Unexpectedly, the Taishu Saint Emperor spoke again, which shocked many people and made them fearful. Then the Taishu Saint Emperor's gaze fell on the area at the bottom, and finally fell on Lu Ming. Lu Ming's face changed. He did not expect the Taishu Saint Emperor to target him. Was it because of the Blue Merchant's soul mother? In an instant, several thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. Lu Ming, Marquis Lu. The Taishu Saint Emperor said lightly. Your Majesty, may I know why you called me? Lu Ming had calmed down, stood up and cupped his fists. The youngest Marquis of the Taishu dynasty, reached the peak of the Divine King realm at such a young age, and suppressed all the geniuses of the Tianyi sacred dynasty. No wonder you are Yu's successor, you are even more outstanding than Yu. The Taishu dynasty said lightly, and his voice spread throughout the scene. As soon as he said this, the scene suddenly fell silent. At this moment, time seemed to have frozen. Everyone widened their eyes and looked at Lu Ming in a daze, full of surprise. There was only one Yu that the Taishu Saint Emperor mentioned. That was the extremely talented Prince Jing Yu. Lu Ming was actually Jing Yu's successor? At this moment, Lu Ming and Blue Merchant were equally shocked. The Taishu Saint Emperor already knew. Lu Ming didn't say anything, but his mind was racing. When he saw that Lu Ming was silent, the Taishu Saint Emperor continued, You don't have to deny it. I know you too well. Therefore when I first saw you, I knew that you were Yu's successor. You have his aura on you. There's no mistake about it. Later on, when the Great Void Imperial Academy was held, you obtained third place. Originally, you could have made a condition for me, but you used that condition to save Blue Merchant. That made me even more certain. Could it be the power of a sovereign again? Lu Ming's heart stirred. Back then, Blue Merchant had recognized him as Jing Yu's successor at first sight. In that case, others could as well, as long as they knew Jing Yu well. At this moment, the Crown Prince and State Preceptor looked at Lu Ming in shock. They were clearly surprised. They also didn't expect Lu Ming to be Jing Yu's successor. What? Are you still going to deny it? The Taishu Saint Emperor asked. That's right, I am indeed Prince Jing Yu's successor. Lu Ming spoke. Since he was already exposed, there was no need to hide it. He would just reveal it. The moment he said that, the crowd went into an uproar. This was too surprising. Lu Ming was actually Jing Yu's successor. No wonder he was so outstanding. I'm just curious. Since the Saint Emperor already knew that I was Jing Yu's successor, why didn't you expose me earlier? Lu Ming continued to ask. Why did I expose you earlier? I wanted to see how Yu's successor is like. Is he as outstanding as him? Now it seems like you didn't disappoint me. You're even more outstanding than Yu, exceeding my expectations. But now I can't let you live. The Taishu Saint Emperor's voice turned cold. Many people, including Lu Ming, were shocked by these words. The Taishu Saint Emperor's last sentence was obviously to get rid of Lu Ming. Lu Ming's eyes sharpened. Lu Ming, under the Blue Merchant scheme, you've improved your strength step by step. In the end, you want to take revenge for Jing Yu, right? The Taishu Saint Emperor's eyes were as bright as the sun, as if he could see through Lu Ming. Revenge? Saint Emperor, you're overthinking. I just want to reverse the verdict for Prince Jing Yu. I believe that Prince Jing Yu left a message saying that he was wrong back then. I just want to find out the truth of what happened back then. Lu Ming said. Reverse the verdict? Aha, I killed Jing Yu back then. If you want to reverse the verdict, isn't that the same as taking revenge on me? The Taishu Saint Emperor sneered, his killing intent cold. At this moment he was calling Jing Yu by his name. Saint Emperor, Lu Ming has no intention of taking revenge on you. As long as you help Lu Ming find out the truth of what happened back then and clear Prince Jing Yu's name, that will be enough. Lu Ming said. The truth? What Jing Yu did back then is the truth. Lu Ming, you've been hiding your identity and increasing your strength. You have ulterior motives and are disgraceful. Kill yourself and I'll leave your corpse intact. The Taishu Saint Emperor said coldly. Lu Ming's face turned cold. He didn't expect the Taishu Saint Emperor to be so unreasonable and want to kill him. In his opinion, even if the Taishu Saint Emperor knew that he was Jing Yu's successor, he wouldn't kill him so easily. After all, he just wanted to reverse the verdict for Jing Yu. Could it be that there was a deeper story behind what happened back then? Saint Emperor, are you so afraid of the truth of what happened back then? What was the truth hidden back then? Also, Jing Yu and the Saint Concubine were lovers, but you forcefully took her away. I suspect that you framed Prince Jing Yu back then. Lu Ming shouted. Since the Saint Emperor wanted to kill him, he might as well go all out and say anything. As soon as he said that, many people were shocked and looked at Lu Ming in shock. Audacious, truly audacious. This matter was taboo for the Saint Emperor. No one dared to mention it in front of him. Those who did were all dead. But not only did Lu Ming dare to mention it, he even said that Jing Yu was framed by the Saint Emperor. He didn't know what death was. As expected, the Saint Emperor was enraged. A terrifying aura emanated from his body as he roared, "Disgraceful! Men, kill Lu Ming on the spot. No, cripple him first. I want him to beg for death." Yes. Immediately, a burly man stepped out from behind the Saint Emperor and charged at Lu Ming. This burly man was one of the Saint Emperor's guards and had the cultivation of a 9th-level Divine Lord. To deal with Lu Ming, there was no need for a quasi-emperor to take action. The Saint Emperor knew that Lu Ming had an 8th-level Divine Lord by his side. Therefore, it was enough for him to send a 9th-level Divine Lord guard. Chapter 35-33. The relationship between the sacred imperial concubine and Jing Yu had always been the Taishu sacred emperor's taboo. No one dared to mention it. After all, it was seriously too unpleasant to hear. Lu Ming actually dared to mention it in public. The sacred emperor was thoroughly enraged and directly had people kill Lu Ming. Kneel down and kowtow to the sacred emperor and admit your mistake for me. A middle-aged guard wearing iron armor, his aura thick like the sea, stepped over in the air, a palm smacking over toward Lu Ming. An enormous palm seal formed, crushing over toward Lu Ming. This palm, forget about Lu Ming, even an 8th-level Divine Lord existence would also be pressed down by his palm force. Clearly, the middle-aged guard knew that there was an 8th-level Divine Lord existence by Lu Ming's side. But so what? It was fine if the other party did not make a move. If he wanted to make a move, then kneel down together. Get lost. At this time, an angry roar came from Lu Ming's side. A burly figure rushed out explosively, slamming a punch out. The void trembled wildly. The horrifying fist force slammed into the middle-aged guard's palm seal, making his palm seal crumble instantly. The fist force did not stop, the berserk power surging wildly toward the middle-aged guard. The middle-aged guard's expression changed. Both arms trembled, forming a layer of defensive divine power, blocking the attack of the fist force. But he still retreated repeatedly. 9th-level Divine Lord. The middle-aged guard opened his mouth rather incredulously. The one who attacked just now beside Lu Ming was a 9th-level Divine Lord existence. Therefore he was directly repelled due to his carelessness just now. But why would there be a 9th-level Divine Lord existence by Lu Ming's side? Everyone present was stunned, looking at Lu Ming somewhat incredulously. 9th-level Divine Lord in the Taishu dynasty, that was a top powerhouse. The 27 Heavenly King palaces added up were just 10. Lu Ming, this junior youth's side, just a marquee manor, actually had a 9th-level Divine Lord existence. 9th-level Divine Lord Lu Ming, I underestimated you. The Great Void Saint Sovereign was also very surprised. Previously, he did not pay attention to those people around Lu Ming at all. The way he saw it, the strongest around Lu Ming was just an 8th-level Divine Lord. It was not worth paying attention to at all. Therefore, he had no idea how many experts Lu Ming had by his side. In fact, it was the same for the others. In addition, Giant Bear Etian and the others tried their best to conceal their auras. No one noticed them at all. Lu Ming, leave now. Blue Merchant transmitted his voice to Lu Ming. All right, Giant Bear Etian, let's go. Lu Ming shouted in a low voice. Then Giant Bear and the others swept up Lu Ming and rushed towards the sky. The Taishu Saint Emperor had already steeled his heart to kill him. If he didn't leave now, when would he? You think you can leave in the Imperial Palace? Sixth brother, kill them. The moment Lu Ming and the others rose into the air, the Taishu Saint Emperor issued this order coldly. Boom. The 6th Wangya soared into the sky and the space kept exploding. A terrifying saber light bloomed from the sixth Wangya's hand and slashed towards Lu Ming and the others. The sixth Wangya was a quasi-emperor realm expert. This saber strike was extremely terrifying. He wanted to kill Lu Ming and the others with a single strike. However, at this moment Giant Bear made his move. He roared and his body swelled rapidly. The armor on his body exploded into pieces. Then a huge bear paw slapped towards the saber light. Boom. The saber light shook violently and then exploded with a bang. What? Everyone's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The sixth Wangya had personally made a move and his saber strike was blocked. The sixth Wangya was a quasi-emperor. When he dealt with Heavenly King Wushuang and the others just now, he was so powerful that it made them despair. But now his terrifying saber strike was blocked. Only a quasi-emperor could block the saber strike of a quasi-emperor and be unharmed. Lu Ming actually had a quasi-emperor by his side? What was a quasi-emperor? It was the peak combat power of the Taishu dynasty. There were only a few of them. What did Lu Ming do to have such an expert by his side? The Taishu Saint Emperor, the Crown Prince, the State Preceptor, and the others all widened their eyes in shock. Attack, kill them. The Taishu Saint Emperor roared. Whoosh, whoosh. This time it was not only the sixth Wangya who attacked again. The Jun Wang and a black-robed elder also attacked. The Saint Emperor ordered that they could not let Lu Ming and the others escape. Therefore in an instant, 3 quasi-emperors charged towards Lu Ming and the others. The 3 quasi-emperors attacked with all their might. They were too fast. Even though Lu Ming and the others had already rushed into the starry sky, they still caught up with them. The 3 attacks were 100 times brighter than meteors. They blasted towards them and wherever they passed the space exploded. You guys protect Lu Ming and Senior Lan. We will block the quasi-emperors. Etian transmitted his voice to Zhu Tai and the other 9th-level Divine Lord experts. Then he suddenly turned around and a huge battle saber appeared in his hands. Divine power burst forth and his armor exploded, revealing his true appearance. Etian could not care less about hiding his identity now. Clang, clang. Etian's battle saber vibrated violently. 2 bright saber lights burst forth and slashed towards the Jun Wang and a black-robed elder. Boom, boom. 2 terrifying explosions rang out. In the starry sky, it was as if 2 stars had exploded, setting off a terrifying cosmic storm. In the end, the Jun Wang and the black-robed elder's attacks were blocked. However, Etian was unable to defeat the 2 of them and was forced to retreat. At the same time, the giant bear and the 6th Wangya exchanged blows and both of them retreated at the same time. Another quasi-emperor. Someone exclaimed in disbelief. There was actually another quasi-emperor by Lu Ming's side. Countless people's hearts were filled with shock and fear. 2 quasi-emperors. With such combat power, who in the Taishu dynasty could compare to them? Other than the imperial family, no one could compare to them. As for some of the older people, their eyes were filled with shock. This person looks familiar. He looks like Etian. It's indeed Etian, the leader of the 3 generals under Prince Jingyu. Lu Ming is indeed the successor of Jingyu. There was an uproar. Although Lu Ming had already admitted it, now that they saw Etian and Lu Ming together, there was no doubt that Lu Ming was the successor of Jingyu. A group of traitors. Very well, let's catch all of you in one fell swoop today. The Great Void Sacred Emperor's cold voice rang out. Swish, swish, swish. The Jun Wang, the 6th Wangya, and the black-robed elder continued to attack. They pushed their combat power to the extreme and charged towards the giant bear and Etian. The 5 quasi-emperors broke out in a fierce battle. However, those who could reach the quasi-emperor realm were peerless geniuses. Hence, their combat power was not much different. Only those who were abnormally strong could be invincible among their peers. Hence, it was difficult for the giant bear and Etian to withstand the 2 of them alone. Leave the 2 of them to us. You go and kill Lu Ming. The Jun Wang transmitted his voice to the black-robed elder. At the same time, he launched a terrifying attack and fought with Etian, freeing the black-robed elder. Alright. The black-robed elder's body swayed. He bypassed Etian and charged towards Lu Ming. Damn it. Etian wanted to help but was entangled by the Jun Wang. Chapter 35-34. I miscalculated. Lu Ming furrowed his brows. He hadn't expected that the Sage Emperor had already known of his identity and was determined to kill him. He really hadn't expected this. According to his calculations, even if the Sacred Emperor knew his identity, he might not kill him. After all, Jingyu was the one who made the mistake, and Jingyu was the Sacred Emperor's son. Wouldn't the Sacred Emperor be heartbroken if he killed Jingyu? Lu Ming was Jingyu's successor and so many years had passed. What reason did the sacred emperor have to kill him? Was he really afraid that he would seek revenge? It was definitely not that simple. If he knew this would happen, he would have joined forces with Heavenly King Wuxia and the others. He would not be in such a passive position now. The black-robed elder was very fast. He caught up with Lu Ming in an instant. A pitch-black ghost claw grabbed at Lu Ming and the others. "Block it!" Zhu Tai shouted. Then his figure flashed. A total of 5 ninth-layer Divine King existences beside Lu Ming attacked together. 5 dazzling attacks gathered together and bombarded the pitch-black ghost claw. The starry sky trembled and energy swept out in all directions. Then the ghost claw shook and was pushed back. It was blocked. The 5 ninth-layer Divine Monarchs joined forces and blocked the black-robed Elder's attack. Heavens, 5 ninth-layer Divine Monarchs. Everyone at the scene was dumbfounded and dumbfounded. They were all stupefied. Today, Lu Ming had given everyone too many surprises. He actually had so many top experts around him. 2 quasi-emperors and 5 ninth-layer Divine Monarchs. They had the power to disrupt the Taishu dynasty's situation. Why aren't you attacking? The Great Void Sacred Emperor looked at the other black-robed elder beside him. Yes. The black-robed elder's eyes flickered a few times. He did not seem to want to attack, but the Sacred Emperor had ordered him to. Just as the black-robed old man was about to attack, a resplendent sword light suddenly burst out from the starry sky. It traversed the universe and was incomparably resplendent as it slashed towards the black-robed old man who was attacking Lu Ming and the others. This black-robed old man had green hair and green eyes. At this moment, his green eyes were filled with shock. He waved his hands, forming a pitch-black long spear and thrusting it forward. With a boom, the pitch-black spear collided with the sword light, and then both of them dissipated. At this moment, a white-haired old man appeared in the starry sky. "Thousand Saints Old Heavenly King." Someone exclaimed. That's right, this old man was Thousand Saint Old Heavenly King. "Sage Emperor, it's so lively today, yet you didn't invite me. That's not very kind of you." Thousand Holy Old Heavenly King's voice reverberated throughout the entire place. The Great Void Saint Emperor's face was somewhat gloomy. The reason why he did not invite the Holy Old Heavenly King was because the Holy Old Heavenly King was a quasi-emperor. When a quasi-emperor fought with his life on the line, it was still very shocking. Xiao Qin did not invite the Thousand Holy Old Heavenly King over to prevent any accidents from happening to the Xiao clan residence. As long as the Xiao clan residence was destroyed, Thousand Holy Old Heavenly King would not be able to cause any trouble in the future. Xiao Qin did not expect Thousand Holy Old Heavenly King to come. Obviously, he had rushed over after hearing the news. "Thousand Holy Old Heavenly King, you came at the right time. These people are all traitors. Take down the traitors for me." The Great Void Sage Emperor said coldly. "Traitors? How can Lu Ming be a traitor?" Thousand Holy Old Heavenly King said. "Old Heavenly King, Lu Ming is the successor of Jingyu." At this moment, Blue Merchant took off his black robe, revealing his true face as he spoke to Thousand Holy Old Heavenly King. "Blue Merchant, you're not dead." Seeing Blue Merchant, the Great Void Sage Emperor let out a furious roar. He instantly understood that he had been deceived. "Of course I'm not dead. Haha, as a Sage Emperor, you secretly sent people to kill me after knowing that I have a spiritual treasure on me? How laughable." Blue Merchant said coldly. Since they had completely fallen out with each other, Blue Merchant did not care about the Sage Emperor's face and directly exposed him. Many people looked at each other when they heard this. The Great Void Sage Emperor had secretly sent people to kill Blue Merchant. It was really disappointing that a Sage Emperor would do such a thing. Of course, they were only thinking about it in their hearts. They were not as bold as Blue Merchant to say it out loud. The Great Void Sage Emperor's face was extremely gloomy. He said, "Thousand Holy Old Heavenly King, why aren't you making a move to take down the traitor? Since Lu Ming is the successor of Jingyu, how can he be a traitor? In my opinion, the matter of Jingyu back then was also very suspicious. I know Jingyu. He would never do such a thing. He was most likely framed. Lu Ming should want to find out the truth about Jingyu back then. I think it's necessary to find out the truth." Thousand Holy Old Heavenly King said. "Thousand Holy Old Heavenly King, are you rebelling too?" The Great Void Sage Emperor said. "Sage Emperor Jingyu is your most outstanding son. If he was framed, don't you want to find out the truth? Clear his name?" The Holy Thousandth Elder said. "I saw what happened back then with my own eyes. There's no need to investigate further. Saint Qin, I wanted to spare your life on account of our many years of friendship. Since you're so stubborn, I'll kill you as well." The great void Saint Emperor said coldly. Advance and retreat with the old heavenly king. Thousand Saints Heavenly King roared and led the experts of his residence into the starry sky to meet up with Thousand Saints Old Heavenly King. The current Thousand Saints Heavenly King was the son of the old Thousand Saints Heavenly King. Naturally, he would stand by the old Heavenly King's side unconditionally. The atmosphere at the scene was extremely tense, and a great battle could break out at any moment. Prince Jingyu was innocent back then. At this moment a voice rang out. Her voice was crisp and pleasant to the ears. It was like the sound of pearls and jade colliding together. Once one heard it, one's heart would calm down. As he spoke, several figures appeared in the sky above the great void holy capital. The leader was a woman. She looked to be in her 20s, but her charm was unparalleled. She was devastatingly beautiful. What a beautiful woman. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. This woman's beauty could be ranked in the top few among all the women he had seen. Moreover, she had a special temperament that made it difficult for people to shift their gaze away from her. The imperial concubine. Blue Merchant muttered, his eyes filled with shock. The imperial concubine? This is the imperial concubine? Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. This was the first time he had seen the imperial concubine. She was indeed very beautiful. No wonder the great void Saint Emperor wanted her for himself. At this moment, the imperial concubine became the center of attention. Everyone's eyes fell on her, not only because of her beauty, but also because of what she had just said. Prince Jingyu was innocent. In this world, the imperial concubine was the one who knew the most about what had happened back then. After all, she was the one who had been involved. Could it be that there was more to what had happened back then? Shishue, who allowed you to come out? Go back. The great void Saint Emperor's face was extremely gloomy as he shouted coldly. So many years have passed. Since everyone is here today, including Jingyu's successor, it's time to clarify what happened back then. Jingyu has been wronged for so many years. It's time to clear his name. The imperial concubine said. Lu Ming and Blue Merchant looked at each other and saw the surprise and doubt in each other's eyes. The imperial concubine, Kong Shishue, actually said that Jingyu was innocent. Wasn't she the one who had framed Jingyu back then? Chapter 35-35. Shishue, what did you say? Are you out of your mind? Go back to where you came from. Do you hear me? The great void Saint Emperor shouted coldly, his voice filled with killing intent. Are you still trying to threaten me now? But I've already made preparations over the years. I've already moved my family to a safe place. Your tricks are useless against me. The imperial concubine seemed to have thought of something as her eyes turned cold. As soon as these words were spoken, many people were greatly shocked and their imaginations ran wild. What did the imperial concubine mean? Could it be that the Saint Emperor used the imperial concubine's family to threaten her back then? Did he make her do something she was unwilling to do? There were many secrets hidden in this. I think you've really gone crazy. Men, bring the imperial concubine back. The great void Saint Emperor shouted coldly as endless killing intent brewed in the depths of his eyes. Jing Shu, from now on, I'm no longer under your control. From now on, I'm no longer the imperial concubine. I'm Kong Shishue. Kong Shishue's voice rang out as divine power emanated from her. Her glabella glowed as a golden steel ring appeared, suffused with a resplendent radiance. The other three people beside the imperial concubine, two old women and a middle-aged woman, were also suffused with a resplendent radiance as divine power erupted. Ninth-level divine lords. The sacred imperial concubine and the three people that she brought were actually all ninth-level divine lord cultivation. No one was surprised. Kong Shishue was also a peerless genius back then. Although she was not as good as Jingyu, her talent was unparalleled among her peers. It was not surprising that she had cultivated to ninth-level divine lords. However, Lu Ming and Blue Merchant were still very surprised. It's her? Lu Ming and Blue Merchant couldn't help but exclaim softly. Lu Ming and Blue Merchant recognized Kong Shishue the moment she used the Vajra ring. Back then, the great void Saint Emperor had tricked Lu Ming into finding his parents. Then Lu Ming and Blue Merchant were surrounded and attacked. Two groups of people had saved them. Blue Merchant speculated that one of the groups was sent by the Crown Prince. There was another mysterious lady who used a diamond ring. Lan Shang and Lu Ming could not figure out who she was. Now that they looked at her, they understood. The person who saved them back then was Kong Shishue. It was normal for Kong Shishue, as the divine royal concubine, to know about the Taishu Sage Emperor's plan. In that case, before they entered the great illusionary divine capital, someone had warned Lu Ming and the rest that this danger was probably sent by the divine royal concubine. Attack. If he resists, kill him. The great Void Saint Emperor roared, his face contorted. "Protect the imperial concubine," Lu Ming shouted. He gathered with the giant bear and Yi Tian and rushed towards Kong Shishua. Nothing must happen to Kong Shishua. Today the truth of Jing Yu's matter would be revealed. Attack, attack together. The great Void Saint Emperor roared at the guards behind him. Yes. The black-robed elder beside the great Void Saint Emperor obeyed. This black-robed elder was bald. At that moment, all the divine power in his body exploded. Everyone thought that he was going to soar into the sky and attack Kong Shishua. However, the next scene shocked everyone. Poof! A dazzling sword radiance shot out from the bald black-robed elder's hand and pierced towards the great Void Saint Emperor's heart. The great Void Saint Emperor had never expected the bald black-robed elder to attack him. It was too late for him to block the attack. Poof! The sword radiance pierced through the great Void Saint Emperor's back, through his heart and through his chest. Moreover, the terrifying sword chi shot out and destroyed the great Void Saint Emperor's heart in an instant. Then the sword chi spread around his body. Brr! The great Void Saint Emperor let out a beast-like roar. A terrifying force exploded like the sun. It turned into billowing waves of energy that surged towards the bald black-robed elder. The great Void Saint Emperor was already half a step into the Divine Emperor realm. Now that he was fighting with his life on the line, his battle strength was at its peak. However, the bald black-robed elder was also a quasi-emperor. His speed was shocking. In a flash, he dodged the great Void Saint Emperor's attack and landed beside the Crown Prince. However, some of the people around the great Void Saint Emperor were not so lucky. Those who were below the 8th level Divine Lord realm were turned into ashes before they could even scream. Some of the 8th level and 9th level Divine Lord realm guards coughed out blood and retreated. They were severely injured. In an instant, a few hundred people died, including some concubines, princesses and princes. Everyone at the scene was stunned, including Lu Ming, Blue Merchant and Kong Shishua. This scene was beyond everyone's expectations. The bald black-robed elder had actually launched a sneak attack on the great Void Saint Emperor and severely injured him with a single move. The great Void Saint Emperor roared. His hair was disheveled and he coughed out blood. That move just now had caused too much damage to him. It had almost destroyed his bodily functions. After all, it was a sneak attack from a quasi-emperor. It was too terrifying. It was already a miracle that he was still alive. The great Void Saint Emperor's face was contorted. His eyes were red as he stared at the Crown Prince and roared, "Unfilial son, it's you." The bald black-robed elder landed beside the Crown Prince. At this moment, the Crown Prince's eyes were filled with excitement. He was so excited that his body was trembling. Today's events had really exceeded his expectations. Originally, he had wanted to fight to the death and kill the great Void Saint Emperor today. However, he did not have much confidence. However, Lu Ming had so many experts around him. They were able to restrain the great Void Saint Emperor's forces. Moreover, even the Saint Concubine had stepped forward. All of this had distracted the great Void Saint Emperor and made him lower his guard. All of this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him. That bald black-robed elder had already sided with him. He secretly sent out a signal. The bald black-robed elder's sneak attack had indeed severely injured the great Void Saint Emperor. "Father, your words are too harsh." The Crown Prince stood up calmly and said, "I have long suspected that Brother Jingyu was framed. Today it seems that it was indeed the case. However, Father has repeatedly stopped the Saint Concubine no Kong Shishua from telling the truth. After thinking about it, I decided to stand on the side of justice and use this method to stop Father and force Kong Shishua to tell the truth." The Crown Prince found a very good reason for himself. He was not killing his father. He would only stand on the side of justice. "Saint Emperor! Your Majesty!" The 6th Wangya and the green-haired elder exclaimed. They returned to the great Void Saint Emperor's side and protected him. However, the Guard King did not return to the great Void Saint Emperor's side. Instead, he stepped forward and came to the Crown Prince's side. "You have also betrayed me?" The great Void Saint Emperor glared at the Guard King. The Guard King could be said to have been groomed by him. He did not expect the Guard King to side with the Crown Prince. "Your Majesty is getting old. In the future the Crown Prince will be the next Saint Emperor," the Guard King said plainly. "All of you." The great Void Saint Emperor was enraged. He then looked at the second prince and said, "Jingkuan, go and get rid of this unfilial son. When I die, the Saint Emperor's position will be yours." Chapter 35-36. The second prince's name was Jing Kuan. However, the second prince sat there motionlessly as though he had not heard anything. "Unfilial son. Unfilial son." The great void sacred emperor roared like a madman. Those heavenly kings would not help the great void sacred emperor. Today the great void sacred emperor wanted to eliminate all the heavenly kings. These people could not wait for the great void sacred emperor to be killed. What happened today was exactly what they wanted. Today the great void sacred emperor was truly deserted. Kong Shishua, what happened back then? Tell us. The crown prince said to Kong Shishua. All right. Kong Shishua nodded and said, back then Crown Prince Jingyu was innocent. It was the sacred emperor who forced me to frame Crown Prince Jingyu. Kong Shishua's words shocked everyone. Once she said that, there was an uproar. Everyone was so shocked that they were dumbfounded. Lu Ming, Blue Merchant Yi Tian and the rest were the same. They had never imagined that the mastermind behind this was actually the great void saint emperor. They had thought that the one who framed Jingyu was either the crown prince or the second prince. Never in their wildest dreams did they expect the great void sacred emperor to be the one who framed Jingyu. The great void sacred emperor was Jingyu's father. Why? Why did he frame Jingyu? Jingyu had unparalleled talent and was the strongest in the history of the Taishu dynasty. He could have broken through to the divine emperor realm and led the Taishu dynasty to greater heights. Why did he frame Jingyu and want to kill him? Holy Thousand King asked, his heart full of doubts. This was also the question in everyone's mind. Not only was Jingyu his son, but he was also unparalleled. Why did the great void sacred emperor want to kill Jingyu? It's because Jingyu's talent is too strong that Jing Shu killed him. Jing Shu is a selfish and narrow-minded person. Kong Shishua said, her eyes full of resentment. Shut up. Shut up for this emperor. The great void sacred emperor roared. If you dare to do it, why don't you dare to let me say it? Kong Shishua sneered and continued, Jing Shu is jealous of Jingyu's talent. Since Jingyu reached the quasi-emperor realm, he became even more jealous. Moreover, he is afraid that Jingyu will reach the divine emperor realm. Once Jingyu enters the divine emperor realm, he will be the uncrowned king of the Taishu dynasty, the real number one. Jing Shu is afraid that his position will be threatened, so he wants to get rid of Jingyu. However, at that time Jingyu was already invincible in the Taishu dynasty. Even Jing Shu himself was no match for him. Killing Jingyu was easier said than done. Therefore he used me, my parents, my brothers and sisters and all my relatives to threaten me. If I didn't cooperate with him, he would kill all my relatives. I had no choice but to cooperate with him and frame Jingyu. Moreover, I poisoned Jingyu's wine. At the crucial moment, Jing Shu purposely arrived and attacked Jingyu when he was distracted. He severely injured Jingyu. You all know what happened after that. Following Kong Shishua's words, the entire place fell into a deathly silence. No one expected that the truth would be like this. All of this had been planned by the Taishu Saint Emperor. He had even wanted to kill his own son, who was the most capable. He was truly selfish to the extreme. So it's like this, ha ha. Lan Shang laughed heartily, but there were tears in his eyes. The matter of Jingyu had always been a demon in Blue Merchant's heart. Because of this matter, his cultivation was crippled and he almost became a cripple. He had always wanted to find out the truth, but the truth was out of his expectation. There is actually such a person in this world. Lu Ming whispered, feeling sad for Jingyu. Jingyu was killed by his own father and his lover. However, Lu Ming did not doubt that there was indeed such a selfish person in this world. To the great void sacred emperor, he did not care about the glory of the Taishu dynasty. Even if Jingyu broke through to the divine emperor realm and led the Taishu dynasty to glory, what did it have to do with him? He was not the one who led the Taishu dynasty to glory. What he wanted was his own glory. Everyone who surpassed him and threatened his position should die. There was another reason why he killed Jingyu, and that was because of me. Kong Shishue continued to speak, but her eyes were filled with sadness. That year Jingyu and I were truly in love. However, one day Jingshu saw me and wanted to have me. I refused, so he captured my family and held them in his hands to threaten me. In the end, I could only agree. Kong Shishue said. What? Despicable. Blue Merchant roared. Everyone came to a realization. At that time, everyone was puzzled as to why Kong Shishue would suddenly marry the great void sacred emperor and become the sacred concubine. Many people said that it was because of Kong Shishue's vanity. It turned out that the great void sacred emperor had captured Kong Shishue's family and threatened Kong Shishue. First, he threatened Kong Shishue, forcing Kong Shishue to marry him. Then he threatened Kong Shishue, forcing Kong Shishue to frame Jingyu. Despicable, truly despicable. Lu Ming had never seen such a despicable person. As long as Jingyu is alive, the world will always think of my relationship with Jingyu. They will always think that Jing Shu stole his son's woman. Therefore, only when Jingyu is dead will the world forget everything. This is also one of the reasons why he wanted to kill Jingyu. All these years, I have been secretly moving my family away. I have been looking for an opportunity to reveal the truth and prove Jingyu's innocence. Kong Shishua continued. Jingshu, I didn't expect you to be such a person. Holy Thousand King shook his head and sighed. He was heartbroken for Jingyu. Back then, Jingyu was the person he valued the most. He didn't expect Jingyu to end up like this. Father, your actions are too disappointing. Originally, the Taishu dynasty could have been more glorious if brother Jingyu was alive. I didn't expect that he would be framed and killed by you. Although you are my father, today I will seek justice for brother Jingyu. At this moment, the crown prince stepped forward and said loudly. Many people looked at him with disdain. The crown prince's words were truly shameless. Back then, the crown prince was one of the people who wanted Jingyu dead the most. If Jingyu was alive, his position as the crown prince would be unstable. Back then, many people thought that the crown prince had framed Jingyu, but he couldn't produce any evidence. Now he said that he wanted to seek justice for Jingyu? He was just looking for an excuse to kill his father. Haha, do you really think that you can kill me today? This is the palace, my territory. I have just sent out the news that the army will be here soon. Today I will kill all of you. All of you must die. The great void sacred emperor roared crazily. He wanted to kill everyone at the scene. Anyone who knew about this had to die. Chapter 35-37. The great void saint emperor had completely lost his mind. He wanted to kill everyone present. He still had a trump card and a foundation. This was the imperial palace, and there was a group of imperial guards, all of whom were experts. Furthermore, the so-called foundation of the imperial palace could not only consist of the two black-robed elders. There were many more quasi-emperor experts. As long as these people arrived, he could turn the tables and kill the crown prince, Lu Ming and Kong Shishua. However, in the next moment, boom, boom. A terrifying explosion came from the imperial palace. A bright sword light shot into the sky. At the same time, a divine dragon could be seen piercing through the clouds. Its aura was extremely terrifying. At the same time, there was a deafening battle cry. You've also bribed the Bone Sword tribe and the Dragon Man tribe. The great Void Saint Emperor's expression changed drastically as he stared at the crown prince. In the Taishu dynasty, there were some ancient families that had existed for even longer than the Taishu dynasty. For example, the Bone Sword tribe and the Dragon Man tribe. The great Void Saint Emperor knew very well that these ancient families had quasi-emperors. The Sword Light and Divine Dragon figure just now were quasi-emperors. Not only that, but more than half of the imperial guards have also fallen into my hands. If I wasn't confident, how would I dare to attack? The crown prince sneered. At this moment, a figure rushed out from the depths of the imperial palace. It was a middle-aged man in a black robe. His attire was very similar to the bald black-robed elder and the green-haired black-robed elder. This black-robed man was extremely fast, and the aura he emitted was that of a quasi-emperor. However, there were two people chasing after the black-robed elder. These two people were quasi-emperors from the Bone Sword tribe and the Dragon Man tribe. In an instant, the black-robed man appeared not far from the Great Void Saint Emperor. Zhuyan, why are you alone? The Great Void Saint Emperor asked. Saint Emperor, the others have all left. They've betrayed us. The black-robed man shouted and came to the Saint Emperor's side. What? The Great Void Saint Emperor's expression changed drastically, revealing a look of despair. Behind them, the Bone Sword tribe and the Dragon Man tribe had arrived. Together with the Crown Prince and the others, they surrounded the Great Void Saint Emperor and the others. Old man, you're already so old. Why aren't you dead yet? You want to use the Twin Stones to live another life? Dream. Today I'll send you on your way. The Crown Prince roared. He couldn't wait any longer. The Crown Prince was keenly aware that the reserves of the imperial household were far greater than this. There was no time to lose. He had to kill the Sage Emperor first. In the next moment, the Army King, the Imperial Advisor, the bald black-robed elder, and the experts of the Bone Sword tribe and the Dragon Human tribe, a total of 5 quasi-emperors, joined forces to attack the Taishu Saint Emperor. On the Great Void Sage Emperor's side, there were only 3 quasi-emperors, the 6th Prince, the green-haired black-robed elder, and the black-robed man. As for the Sage Emperor himself, he had been severely injured and barely had a tenth of his strength left. With so many quasi-emperors fighting, the scene was earth-shattering. Even though countless runes appeared on the ground and blocked the terrifying force, the entire great illusionary divine capital still shook violently as if it was about to explode. Let's retreat. In the starry skies, Lu Ming spoke. They retreated continuously, retreating far away to watch from afar. Kang Shishue and a few others also retreated far away, not far from Lu Ming and the others. Boom! The great illusionary divine capital shook. Terrifying divine light burst out, rushing into the depths of the starry skies. The scene was extremely terrifying. In the end, the Crown Prince's side had the absolute upper hand. They had 5 quasi-emperors while the Taishu Saint Emperor only had 3. After exchanging more than 10 blows, the 6th prince and the other 2 were forced to retreat. The Taishu Saint Emperor roared as he unleashed his remaining strength. The divine power in his body burned like flames. After exchanging a blow with the imperial advisor, he was still severely injured. As he retreated, he vomited large mouthfuls of blood. His injuries had worsened. At this moment, the 6th prince and the green-haired black-robed elder looked at each other and nodded silently. Then they suddenly retreated and rushed into the starry skies. They had actually escaped without a fight. Traitor! The Taishu Saint Emperor roared in despair. The Crown Prince and the others' eyes flickered, but they did not pursue. Killing the Sage Emperor was the most important thing now. Old man, you have been betrayed. Die. Ah. The Crown Prince laughed maniacally as the imperial advisor and the others charged towards the Taishu Saint Emperor. While the Crown Prince and the Sage Emperor were fighting, the people from the Heavenly King residence and the Marquis residence had already seized the opportunity to retreat and disappear from the Taishu Saint capital. It was too dangerous to stay. No matter if the Crown Prince or the imperial advisor won, who knew if they would attack them? If they did not leave now, when would they leave? Your Majesty, I will advance and retreat with you. The black-robed man was very loyal. He stood in front of the Sage Emperor, but he was only one person. The result was already decided. Boom! The imperial advisor's punch blew a large hole in his chest. Then the army king's spear pierced through the void and pierced through his heart. In the next instant, the bone sword race's bone sword sliced through the air and beheaded the black-robed man. A quasi-emperor had fallen. Only the Taishu Saint Emperor was left. You bastard! How dare you! You will die a horrible death. The Taishu Saint Emperor stared at the Crown Prince like a madman. The one who will die a horrible death is you. Old man, you have already lived for 10 stellar years. What else do you want? Can't you just peacefully wait for your death? Do I have to take this step? You forced me to do this. The Crown Prince's face was ferocious. His killing intent was as cold as a knife. Kill? Finally, the Crown Prince gave the order. The imperial advisor and the others stepped forward. 5 attacks were launched at the Sage Emperor. Even if the Taishu Saint Emperor was at his peak, he would only die under the attacks of 5 quasi-emperors, let alone now. The Taishu Saint Emperor roared unwillingly. Under the 5 attacks, the Taishu Saint Emperor turned into ashes. A Sage Emperor of a generation had fallen in the hands of his own son. Ha ha ha. The Crown Prince laughed loudly after killing the Taishu Saint Emperor. From now on, the Taishu dynasty was his. Wait. In the next instant, the Crown Prince calmed down and looked at a place. Because there was still someone there who had not left. The second prince. At this time, the second prince had not left. He sat there with a smile as if he did not know what had happened. Second brother, you actually did not take the opportunity to slip away. Haha, it seems like you also want to die. The Crown Prince sneered and revealed a look of ecstasy. Originally, after killing the Taishu Saint Emperor, the second prince was a big problem for him. He did not expect the second prince to still be here. Moreover, there was no expert by his side. Crown Prince, be careful. I will go test him. The imperial advisor said. His body moved and he rushed toward the second prince. Then he grabbed at the second prince. Without any suspense, the imperial advisor grabbed the second prince's neck. The second prince did not retaliate. No, this is not the second prince. This is a fake. The imperial advisor shouted. Suddenly, with a boom, a dazzling divine light shot out from the second prince's body and then exploded. A terrifying force bombarded the imperial advisor's body. The imperial advisor was forced to retreat. Chapter 35-38. Second prince suddenly exploded. A terrifying power engulfed the imperial preceptor. This power was extremely terrifying. Even a 9th-level divine lord existence might be blown to death if they were careless. The destructive force engulfed the Grand Master. The Grand Master's face changed and he immediately set up layers of defense. The Grand Master was pushed back a few hundred meters. Although he managed to block the attack, he was in a sorry state with many injuries on his body. The second prince had been reduced to ashes. Good job, second brother. So the real person isn't here at all. You set up this trap to kill me? The Crown Prince's eyes were cold. Obviously, the second prince wasn't here at all. The second prince, from before, was a fake. He was a puppet with a terrifying force in his body. If the crown prince was the one who attacked just now, he would be in danger. Lu Ming and the group, who were a distance away, saw everything clearly. "Let's go," Lu Ming said. He led Yi Tian, Giant Bear, Holy Thousand Heavenly King, and the rest out of the place. Kong Shishue and the rest also left. The crown prince looked at the starry sky and didn't give chase. Firstly, Lu Ming and the rest were far enough away that the crown prince might not be able to catch up. Secondly, even if they caught up, Lu Ming and the rest were very powerful. If they fought with all their might, the crown prince might suffer some losses. The most important thing now was to stabilize the situation and control the Taishu sacred capital. Moreover, the second prince wasn't here, which was a big problem for the crown prince. The crown prince led his men into the depths of the palace. Lu Ming and the rest soon left the Taishu sacred capital and appeared in the starry sky. "Old Heavenly King, thank you for helping us again." Lu Ming cupped his fists and thanked Holy Thousand Heavenly King. "I just happened to arrive. I didn't expect something like this to happen." Sigh. Holy Thousand Heavenly King sighed. "It seems like the Taishu dynasty is going to change completely. From what the crown prince said, it seems like the Saint Emperor found the twin stones and wanted to live a second life. That's why the crown prince took the opportunity to rebel. However, the second prince isn't here and he set up a trap. Obviously he expected this. Everything is very complicated," Blue Merchant said. "The second prince may look gentle on the surface, but he's actually very scheming. Everything that happened today must have something to do with the second prince. Otherwise, how could he have predicted it in advance? I'm afraid that the Taishu dynasty is going to fall into chaos soon." Then the old Heavenly King looked at Lu Ming and asked, "Lu Ming, what do you plan to do next?" "Let's return to the Heavenly Chaos Star Zone and observe the situation," Lu Ming said. Originally, Jing Yu's case had been completely overturned. Jing Yu's innocence had been cleared and he could have left. However, there was still no news of his parents, so he couldn't leave. He had to find his parents. "All right. We'll return to the Thousand Saints Heavenly King's residence first to gather our men to deal with the upcoming changes. Lu Ming, if you need anything, send someone to contact us at any time," the Holy Thousandth Elder said. "Thank you, Old Heavenly King." Lu Ming thanked him again. The Old Heavenly King's words clearly indicated that he was on his side. After that, Lu Ming parted ways with the Holy Thousandth Elder and the rest. He brought Yi Tian and the rest back to the Heavenly Chaos Star Zone. On a barren planet south of the Taishu Holy Capital, a few figures stood quietly. The person leading them was the second prince of the Taishu Holy Emperor. Behind him were 3 people. 2 of them were dressed in black robes. They looked exactly the same as the bald old man in the black robe and the green-haired old man in the black robe. At that moment, ripples appeared in the void. Then 2 figures appeared in the sky. They were the 6th Wangya and the green-haired old man in the black robe. The 2 figures flashed and appeared in front of the second prince. They cupped their fists at the same time. "Second prince. 6th uncle, Senior Gu, you may rise. How's the situation?" the second prince asked hurriedly. Of course, he was asking about the Taishu Holy Capital. "As you expected, the crown prince has made his move. The Holy Emperor has been killed, but the crown prince is still alive," the 6th Wangya said. "As expected, that's enough." Shocking murderous intent flashed in the second prince's eyes. "However, there are some changes in the process. It's about Lu Ming," the 6th Wangya said. The 6th Wangya said, "Lu Ming?" The second prince looked puzzled. "That's right." Immediately, the 6th prince briefly recounted what had happened. "I can't believe that Lu Ming is Jing Yu's successor. Moreover, he has so many experts with him. Interesting, interesting. Aha, the heavens are on my side." The second prince laughed loudly. He was not angry when he learned that Lu Ming had so many experts with him. Instead, he was delighted. "Return to the Saint Origin Starfield and announce to the world that the crown prince has committed treason and killed his father. The heavens will not tolerate this. I want to suppress him and get rid of this treacherous person," the second prince said coldly. Then, in a flash, they left the place. After Lu Ming, Giant Bear, Yi Tian, and the others returned to the Heavenly Chaos Starfield, they began to send people to pay close attention to the Taishu dynasty. At the same time, he asked Yi Tian to return to the barbarian tribe and mobilize their experts to support him. Meanwhile, Lu Ming stayed on the Hidden Dragon Star and paid close attention to the Taishu dynasty's movements. Not long after, news came in one after another. The crown prince had occupied the Taishu sacred capital. With the Taishu sacred capital as the core, he occupied a large territory. The second prince announced to the world in the St. Origin starfield that the crown prince's crimes had been exposed. At the same time, he called on all the people of the Taishu dynasty to suppress the crown prince. For a time, the Taishu dynasty was in a state of turmoil. Everyone knew that the Taishu dynasty would soon usher in an earth-shattering war. The second prince and the crown prince would fight for the throne of the sacred emperor. The winner would become the new sacred emperor, while the loser would be killed. Therefore, all the clans were making careful choices. This was a huge gamble. Those who lost would face serious consequences. Of course, there were some who wanted to remain neutral and stay out of it, but they were only a minority. The major clans began to make their choices. Some joined the crown prince's side, while others joined the second prince's. For example, the 9 Sabres Heavenly King Palace, the 9 Serenities Heavenly King Palace, and the 9 Sabres Heavenly King Palace, which were closer to the St. Origin starfield, all joined the second prince's side. The Thousand Saints Heavenly King Palace chose to remain neutral. Lu Ming also chose to remain neutral and wait to see what would happen. However, there were obviously some who did not want Lu Ming to remain neutral. On this day there was news that the second prince had come to visit. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. The second prince had come to visit him in person? Yes. Lu Ming said. On the hidden dragon star, in a large hall, the second prince walked in with 3 people. It's them? Lu Ming's eyes flickered. 2 of them were the 6th king and the green-haired old man in a black robe. This second prince is not simple at all. Lu Ming thought. The 6th king and the green-haired old man in a black robe had fled without a fight. Now, it seemed that they had done it on purpose. They did not want to fight seriously at all. They were just putting on a show. Chapter 35-39. What brings you here today, second prince? Lu Ming asked, even though he already knew the answer. He knew that the second prince must have found him because of his strength and wanted him to join the second prince's camp. Lu Ming, your strength has exceeded my expectations. The second prince smiled. You flatter me, second prince. Tell me why you're here. Lu Ming said. Alright, I'll get straight to the point. I believe you already know about the situation in the Taishu dynasty. I want to fight against the crown prince and I need your help. The second prince went straight to the point. This is a problem between you and the crown prince. Please forgive me, Lu Ming, for not being able to interfere. Lu Ming refused immediately. Of course he refused. He couldn't be bothered to get involved in this kind of thing. The second prince's expression didn't change at all when Lu Ming refused. He had a smile on his face as if he knew that Lu Ming would reject him. Lu Ming, don't be in a hurry to reject me. Why don't you take a look at this first? The second prince smiled faintly and took out a jade talisman. The jade talisman glowed and an image appeared in the air. In the image there was a courtyard. 2 figures were sitting at a stone table in the middle of the courtyard. They seemed to be talking about something with a frown on their faces. Lu Ming's heart trembled wildly. This was because these 2 figures were his parents, Lu Yuntian and Li Ping. Boom. Lu Ming's body emitted a violent aura and shocking killing intent. Beside him, Zhu Xiong and the others also emitted a shocking aura. So you're the one who tricked my parents? Lu Ming said coldly. He stared at the second prince with an icy gaze. Tricked? I only invited them to my residence as guests. Look, they're living well. I didn't mistreat them. The second prince looked calm and wasn't afraid at all. Although he knew that Lu Ming was very powerful, he wasn't afraid at all. Not only because he had 3 quasi-emperors with him, but also because Lu Ming's parents were in his hands. Lu Ming didn't dare to touch him. Of course, what the second prince did not know was that there was only one quasi-emperor beside Lu Ming. If my parents lose a single hair, I won't let you off. Lu Ming's voice was extremely cold. He really did not expect that it was the second prince who had tricked his parents away. He had always thought that it was the crown prince. He had even suspected other forces that had a grudge against him, such as the 9 Nether Heavenly King Mansion or the Lan family. He had never expected it to be the second prince. Previously, the second prince had spoken up for him several times. Now, it seemed that the second prince's schemes were so deep that it made one's hair stand on end. Clearly, Cui Wei was one of the second prince's people. When he first entered the Void Academy, the second prince sent Cui Wei to approach him. They had already started planning for it. As long as you cooperate with me, your parents will be fine. The second prince smiled. Alright, I'll cooperate with you. Let my parents go. Lu Ming said coldly. If I release your parents now, what if you go back on your word? Let's wait until the crown prince is dead. The second prince still maintained his smile. You. Lu Ming's face was unusually cold. However, since his parents were in the hands of the second prince, he could only agree. In 3 months, I will launch an attack on the great illusionary Saint capital. During this time you can mobilize your forces. The second prince continued. After speaking he stood up and walked out. After a few steps he stopped and looked at Lu Ming. Actually, I originally wanted Cui Wei to take your parents away because I thought that you had amazing talent and might be useful in the future. I never expected that you would have so many experts by your side. Don't you think that even the heavens are helping me? Ah. After speaking, the second prince laughed and left. Scratch. Lu Ming clenched his fists. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. However, he could only agree to the second prince's request. After rescuing his parents, he would settle the score seriously. It's time for the undying demon to strike, Lu Ming muttered. Immediately, Lu Ming sent a message to Yi Tian, asking him to prepare the experts of the barbarian tribe. After that, Lu Ming went to the secret place of the Saint Demon Imperial Court. When he arrived at the secret place of the Saint Demon Imperial Court, he saw the undying demon king. What was your cultivation at your peak? Lu Ming asked the undying demon king. Do you still need to ask? I can survive from the Saint Demon Imperial Court until now. Do you think that a divine emperor can do the same? The undying demon king looked at Lu Ming with disdain. However, deep in his eyes there was a deep shock. It had not been long since they last met, but Lu Ming had reached the peak of the divine king realm. Moreover, the energy in his body was shocking and could explode with terrifying power. Genius, an extremely terrifying genius. When he was young he was not as powerful as Lu Ming. You're a divine emperor? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. If the undying demon king was a divine emperor, there was no need to fight him. He could just kill the crown prince and the second prince. Ahem, I used to be a divine emperor. However, I was severely injured and sealed for so many years. My vitality was greatly damaged. Although I've recovered a little, I'm only a boundary emperor. The undying demon king smiled awkwardly. Boundary emperor? Lu Ming was stunned. Boy, don't underestimate me. Although I've only recovered to a boundary emperor, ordinary boundary emperors are nothing in front of me. The undying demon king said proudly. There were other divine emperors in the Saint Demon Imperial Court? Lu Ming asked curiously. Yes, the Saint Demon Imperial Court was very powerful. It was a true universe-level force. Today's barbarian tribe and Chinese sacred dynasty were actually split from the Saint Demon Imperial Court. However, the divine emperor of the Saint Demon Imperial Court was killed by me before he could seal me. However, I was severely injured by him. Otherwise, do you think those people could seal me? The undying demon king sneered. I see. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that the Saint Demon Imperial Court was indeed powerful in its heyday. There was more than one divine emperor. Today's barbarian tribe, Chinese sacred dynasty, and Taishu dynasty all belonged to the Saint Demon Imperial Court. After chatting for a while, Lu Ming asked the undying demon king to gather all the experts of the Saint Demon Imperial Court and go out with him. The undying demon king was set up by the demon sealing array by the bone demon. Even if he was a divine emperor, it was useless. He could only obey. This made Lu Ming even more curious about the origin of the bone demon. According to the bone demon, Jing Yu had adventured in an ancient ruin and obtained the battle character secret art and the universe myriad Dao art. Of course, the bone demon was also included. However, when Lu Ming asked about the origin of the bone demon kept silent. He said that Lu Ming's cultivation was too low and it was better for him not to know. However, the bone demon's endless means made Lu Ming very curious. He speculated that the origin of the bone demon must be amazing. Soon after, the undying demon king gathered all the experts of the Saint Demon Imperial Court. Even many old monsters who were in seclusion were pulled up by him. To Lu Ming's surprise, the Saint Demon Imperial Court had 2 quasi-emperors in addition to the undying demon king. No wonder the Saint Demon Imperial Court dared to trouble the Taishu dynasty. They were not weak. Chapter 3540. The stronger the Saint Devil dynasty was, the happier Lu Ming would be. Anyway, if he controlled the undying demon, it meant that he controlled the Saint Devil dynasty. If the people of the Saint Devil dynasty obeyed the undying demon, it meant that they obeyed Lu Ming. Although the people of the Saint Devil dynasty were curious why the undying demon obeyed Lu Ming, they did not dare to ask. This time, after the battle, when we win, I will carve out a territory for the people of the Saint Devil dynasty to live in. You don't have to hide here anymore. This was Lu Ming's promise to the Saint Devil dynasty. The people of the Saint Devil dynasty were looking forward to it. It had been 2 months since Lu Ming brought the people of the Saint Devil dynasty to the Hidden Dragon Star. Yi Tian had already sent news that the barbarian army had set off through the wormhole. They would rush to the Taishu dynasty at the fastest speed. At this time an uninvited guest came to visit Lu Ming. It was the imperial concubine Kong Shishue. Lu Ming did not blame the imperial concubine. He only sympathized with her. Although Jing Yu was indirectly killed by the imperial concubine, Kong Shishue was the victim from the beginning to the end. "Senior Kong, why are you looking for me?" Lu Ming asked. Kong Shishue was Jing Yu's generation. Lu Ming should address her as senior. "Lu Ming, given the current situation, what are your plans?" "If you need my help, I will do my best." Kong Shishue asked. "Thank you, Senior Kong, but I have agreed to join forces with the second prince," Lu Ming said without hiding anything. "Join forces with the second prince?" Kong Shishue's face changed. She said, "The second prince is very scheming. He has been hiding for many years. If you join forces with him and defeat the crown prince, I am afraid he will not let you go." "I have no choice. My parents are in his hands." Lu Ming shook his head and sighed. "Your parents are in the hands of the second prince?" Kong Shishue frowned. She pondered for a while and said, "I might be able to help you save your parents." "What? Really?" Lu Ming exclaimed, his eyes shining. "I haven't been the Sage Emperor's concubine all these years for nothing. Not only have I secretly moved my family away, I've also planted people around the Sage Emperor, the Crown Prince, the Second Prince, and the others. I can mobilize them at any time. Right now, the Second Prince's attention is completely focused on the Crown Prince. When the battle with the Crown Prince begins, all the experts will be transferred away. At that time, my men will be able to rescue your parents." Kong Shishue said. Good. Then I'll leave Lu Ming to Senior Qian." Lu Ming cupped his fists deeply. "You're welcome. You're Jing Yu's successor and I owe Jing Yu too much." Kong Shishue sighed. There was a complicated look in her eyes, as if she was reminiscing about the past. After a while, Kong Shishue said, "I'll go back and make arrangements. You pretend to cooperate with the second prince first. Once I rescue your parents, I'll send you a message." "Okay." Lu Ming nodded. After a short discussion, Kong Shishue left. "Lan Shu, the Netherworld Mountain is sealed in the small world. How do we unlock the seal and bring it out?" After Kong Shishue left, Lu Ming asked Blue Merchant. Now that the truth of Jing Yu's case had come to light, it was time to release the Netherworld Mountain. Back then it was a quasi-emperor who sealed the Netherworld Mountain. Therefore, to break the seal of the Netherworld Mountain, one must be at least at the quasi-emperor realm. Moreover, the Netherworld Mountain is in the spirit space. Once its energy leaks, the spirit space will be easily destroyed. Therefore, to successfully bring the Netherworld Mountain out, I'm afraid that one must be stronger than a quasi-emperor," Blue Merchant said. Back then the Taishu Saint Emperor was really ruthless. He had to find someone stronger than a quasi-emperor to bring the Netherworld Mountain out. Where could he find such a person in the Taishu dynasty? However, there was a candidate now, and that was the Immortal Demon. The Immortal Demon was a divine emperor at his peak, but now he had fallen to a quasi-emperor. Could he do it? Immediately, Lu Ming called the Immortal Demon over and told him about it. "Don't worry, leave it to me. Although I've fallen to the quasi-emperor realm, I still have my comprehension and control. I'm not comparable to an ordinary quasi-emperor. This is a piece of cake." The Immortal Demon was very confident. "Okay, let's go," Lu Ming said. Immediately, they went to the chaotic galaxy and the primordial realm of the Heaven Realm. With an existence like the Immortal Demon leading them, their speed was too fast. They crossed the starry sky at an astonishing speed. Not long after, they arrived at the entrance of the primordial realm of the Heaven Realm. "Demon King, you have to be careful. Don't destroy the spirit space," Lu Ming warned seriously. With the Immortal Demon's realm, a strand of energy from a random pore could crush the primordial realm of the Heaven Realm and destroy the spirit space. The primordial realm of the Heaven Realm was the place where Lu Ming was born. It was Lu Ming's hometown. He didn't want it to be destroyed. "Don't worry, I have perfect control of my own power. I won't leak any energy. In fact, not to mention a divine emperor, even a quasi-emperor can freely enter and exit all the spirit space," the Immortal Demon said. When one reached the quasi-emperor realm, one could perfectly control their own power. They could restrain all their power and enter the spirit space like an ordinary person. It would not cause any harm to the spirit space. Of course, if he went berserk, he might be able to destroy a spirit space with a single breath. "Okay, then I'll leave it to you." Lu Ming nodded. "Wait here," the Immortal Demon King said. His figure flashed and directly rushed into the primordial realm of the Heaven Realm. Lu Ming and Blue Merchant waited. The two of them didn't have to wait for too long. It was only a few minutes before the immortal Demon King's figure flashed and reappeared. In his hand he was holding a small mountain. Lu Ming was overjoyed when he saw it. It was the Netherworld Mountain. "Let's go to the starry sky," Lu Ming said. They came to the starry sky. The immortal Demon King waved his hand, and the Netherworld Mountain flew out. Then it rapidly expanded. In the end, it turned into a huge mountain that floated in the starry sky. Of course, the Netherworld Mountain was not particularly big. It was only equivalent to a spirit space. It was far smaller than a planet in the primitive universe. There were also countless countries and cultivators living on the Netherworld Mountain. At this moment, countless cultivators on the Netherworld Mountain looked at the sky in shock. They felt that the sky had changed as if the heavens and the earth had been changed. Then an unbelievably rich divine chi surged into every corner of the Netherworld Mountain. The people of the Netherworld Mountain were about to go crazy. "Oh my God, divine chi. It's all divine chi. Such rich divine chi. Compared to the divine chi in the past, it's like heaven and earth. I feel like I'm about to break through. With this divine chi, I can even break through to the realm of the gods." Shocked roars came from all over the Netherworld Mountain. In the depths of the Netherworld Mountain on the Netherworld Island, a figure flashed and appeared above the island. If Lu Ming were here, he would definitely recognize him at a glance. He was White Fang. Chapter 3541. Divine Chi. Also, the laws of heaven and earth have changed. This is the primitive universe. Lu Ming has succeeded. Baya muttered as his body trembled slightly. His eyes were filled with excitement. He did not expect Lu Ming to succeed so quickly. Outside Yellow Spring Mountain, Demon King released the seal. Lu Ming said, "Leave it to me." Undying Demon King nodded and waved his hands. Streams of Demon Dao divine power turned into runes and flew into Yellow Spring Mountain. Immediately, Yellow Spring Mountain was filled with light, forming a layer of resistance. This was the seal above. However, this seal had been set up for many years. With Undying Demon King's help, it did not resist for long before it was broken. Boom, boom, boom. The moment the seal was broken, some terrifying auras burst out from the depths of Yellow Spring Mountain. Powerful auras soared into the sky and rushed into the vast starry sky. These are 9th level and 8th level divine lords. Lu Ming was shocked. With his current vision, he could naturally sense the specific realm of these auras. 1 9th level divine lord, 3 8th level divine lords, and 6 7th level divine lords. In addition, there were quite a number of 7th level divine lords. This was an absolutely terrifying force. Lu Ming did not expect that there was such a terrifying force sealed in the depths of Yellow Spring Island. Back then he did not sense it at all. Swoosh, swoosh. In the next moment, beams of divine light flew out from Yellow Spring Mountain. The divine light converged and figures appeared. Baya. Lu Ming recognized at a glance that the person in the lead was really Baya. The 9th level divine lord was also Baya. Behind Baya was a lava giant and a snake man. Lu Ming knew all of them. Back when he entered Netherworld Island, he passed a few rounds consecutively. They were the ones who guarded the rounds. However, back then, the cultivation of the lava giant and the snake man were below the divine realm. But now they had reached the 8th level divine lord. Lu Ming. Baya saw Lu Ming at a glance and revealed a look of joy. Then their eyes fell on Blue Merchant. Master Lon. Baya, Naga and the others were overjoyed. They quickly cupped their fists at Blue Merchant. White Fang, we finally meet after so many years. Blue Merchant was also full of smiles. White Fang. Lu Ming also went over to say hello. Young master, did you succeed? White Fang asked in anticipation. Success. Lu Ming nodded. The smiles on the faces of White Fang and the others became even brighter. They had been waiting for this day for far too long. Now that they heard that they had succeeded, it was hard for them to hide their excitement. After a long while they finally calmed down. Young master, you are indeed worthy of being the successor of the prince. It has only been a few years, but your cultivation has already reached the peak divine king realm. This is beyond our expectations. White Fang sighed. Don't talk about my cultivation. What's up with your cultivation? When I saw you back then, you didn't have such a cultivation base. Lu Ming asked curiously. Young master, the ones you saw back then were not our true bodies. They were just clones formed by a wisp of divine power. Our true bodies were sealed in the depths of Yellow Spring Island and couldn't come out at all. White Fang explained. Haha, White Fang was one of the 3 great generals under Jingyu back then. He was a 9th level divine lord. Blue Merchant said with a smile. Lu Ming nodded. No wonder White Fang had such a cultivation base. Moreover, his cultivation base back then was too low. Compared to White Fang and the others, it was a world of difference. Therefore, he felt that the lava giant, Naga, and the others were just divine transformation realm experts with a wisp of divine power. He couldn't tell the difference at all. Young Master Teacher Lan, what happened back then? Who was the one who framed His Highness? White Fang asked. Immediately, Lan Shang briefly explained the details of what had happened. After White Fang and the others heard it, they were dumbfounded. They never thought that the mastermind behind all this was the Taishu Sage Emperor. Next, there might be a final battle. I will need your help, Lu Ming said. We'll do anything. White Fang and the others looked determined. Lu Ming, come with me. The prince left something for you in Yellow Spring Mountain. Then White Fang said. Something? Lu Ming was curious. Then he flew into the depths of Yellow Spring Mountain with White Fang. In a stone cave, a round ball was suspended. This round ball looked like countless petals stacked together. At this moment, White Fang waved his hand and the petals on the round ball opened up, revealing a drop of blood inside. Yes, it was a drop of blood. Back then, when the prince was heavily injured, he knew that he was going to die, so he secretly sealed his remaining power into a drop of blood and let me bring it out. This drop of blood is for you. Once you use it, you can stimulate the power left behind by the prince, allowing you to erupt with great power. However, this drop of blood can only be used once. After that, it will completely dissipate. White Fang explained. Prince Jing Yu's last power? Perhaps it can be used for the final battle. Lu Ming sighed softly and kept the round ball. At this moment, the Taishu dynasty was in turmoil and was divided into two large camps. Countless powerful people gathered in the Taishu holy capital and formed a huge army. The second prince also gathered a huge army and set off for the Taishu holy capital. At the same time, Lu Ming also led his people and set off for the Taishu holy capital. The great illusionary Saint capital was an ancient city that floated in space. At this moment, the entire Taishu holy capital was extremely bright, like a sun. This was because countless runes appeared on the walls of the Taishu holy capital. These runes formed a large formation that enveloped the Taishu holy capital. On the main city wall of the Taishu holy capital, the crown prince stood above and looked into the distance with a gloomy expression. Behind him were the Jun Wang, the imperial advisor, the quasi-emperors of the Bone Sword tribe, the quasi-emperors of the Dragon-Human tribe, the bald, black-robed youth, and the commander-in-chief of the annihilating 13 barbarian armies. This person was also a quasi-emperor and his status was not lower than the Jun Wang. There were a total of 6 quasi-emperors lined up in a row. Behind them were other powerful people, such as the heavenly kings of the heavenly king palaces and the family heads of the Taishu holy capital families, such as the Lan family head. These people were all powerful people and their cultivation was above the 7th level of the Divine Lord realm. They were also looking into the distant sky. In the starry sky there were countless battleships. This was the army that the second prince had gathered. On the right side of the army there was another army. This army belonged to Lu Ming. He had brought all the powerful people under him. In addition, there were also powerful people from the Heavenly King Palace who had joined Lu Ming. In this way, Lu Ming had 5 quasi-emperors on his side, including the Heavenly King Chen Sheng. Of course, the immortal Demon King was not an ordinary quasi-emperor. However, when Holy Heavenly King saw Undying Demon King and the rest, he was really shocked. After Lu Ming's explanation, he finally understood what was going on. However, he was also extremely shocked. Lu Ming had even subdued the powerful people of the Saint Demon's imperial court. He knew that he had underestimated Lu Ming. Jinglin, you killed the emperor and your father. You tried to usurp the throne. The heavens will not tolerate this. Today is the day you die. The second prince stood at the forefront. His voice traveled hundreds of millions of miles and reached the Taishu holy capital. Only a 7th-level Divine Lord realm cultivator could transmit his voice so far. Ordinary Divine Lords could not do it. Father framed Brother Jingyu. His methods are too despicable. Moreover, he went crazy and wanted to eliminate the various major palaces. I had no choice but to follow the wishes of the people. Now that father has passed away, I am the crown prince. I should be the new sacred emperor. Second brother, you sent people to attack me. Now you have committed treason. The crown prince's voice was also heard. Although everyone knew what they had done, they still had to make it clear that they were not in the wrong. You murdered father. Do you think you are fit to be the new sacred emperor? Today I will suppress you on behalf of father. The second prince's voice was heard. Then his body flashed and he returned to a warship. Chapter 3542. Rumble. Huge battleships started to move, giving off a bright light. Countless runes appeared on the battleships. Then huge beams of light shot towards the great Void Sage capital. The power of these light beams was extremely terrifying. Every one of them could destroy a planet. In an instant, at least 1,000 beams of light shot towards the great Void Sage capital. At the same time, Lu Ming's battleship started to move as well. Similarly, beams of light shot towards the great Void Sage capital. Boom, boom, boom. More than 1,000 beams of light hit the light shield outside the great Void Sage capital, causing the light shield to shake violently. However, this was formed by the great Void Sage capital's array. The great Void Sage capital had been around for so many years, constantly perfecting the array. The power of the defensive array had also reached a shocking level. These beams of light could destroy 1,000 planets in an instant, but they couldn't break through the great Void Sage capital's array. Continue to attack. The second prince continued to give orders. The battleships continued to attack. Terrifying beams of light shot towards the great Void Sage capital. The light shield outside the great Void Sage capital shook violently, blocking all the beams of light. However, although the light shield blocked all the beams of light, the light shield's brightness was slowly dimming. Although the process was slow, it was indeed dimming. If this continued, the defensive array of the great Void Sage capital would be broken sooner or later. In the middle of Lu Ming's battleship, Lu Ming, Blue Merchant, Giant Bear, Undying Demon King, White Fang, and the rest all looked coldly at the crystal screen in front of the battleship. Just like that, the bombardment continued for a full day. Senior Kong, is there still no news? Lu Ming asked Kong Shishue, who was standing beside him. This time, Kong Shishue had brought a group of experts to meet up with Lu Ming. She planned to participate in the final battle. At the same time, her subordinates had already started to rescue Lu Ming's parents. As long as they succeeded, she would receive news. Not yet. They have already started. This time the second prince has brought all the experts with him. There shouldn't be any problems. Kong Shishue said. Lu Ming nodded and waited patiently. The bombardment continued, and the light of the great Void Holy Capital's defensive array grew dimmer and dimmer. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. At this point, the light of the great illusionary divine capital's defensive formation was already very dim. No matter how strong the formation was, under such continuous attacks, its power would be slowly depleted. However, with so many battleships constantly attacking, the consumption of energy was also very shocking. After a few days, the second prince and Lu Ming had almost used up all of their divine crystals. Attack. Break their formation. The second prince's voice was heard. Then numerous figures flew out of the battleships. The second prince personally led his subordinates and charged towards the great illusionary divine capital. Let's make a move too, Lu Ming said. He also brought the Undying Demon King and the others out of the battleship and flew towards the Taishu Holy Capital. The second prince's voice was heard. Immediately, countless attacks covered the sky and charged towards the great illusionary divine capital. Among them, the attacks of the quasi-emperors were earth-shattering. They were so powerful that they covered the entire great illusionary divine capital, as if they were going to blow it up. Of course, Lu Ming only allowed the Giant Bear and Holy Thousand Heavenly King to attack. The Undying Demon King, the 2 quasi-emperors of the Saint Devil Empire, and the other experts did not attack. It was not time for them to attack yet. They would hide their strength first. With so many experts attacking, the great illusionary divine capital's defensive array shook violently and shook even more violently. Get ready. Once the array is broken, charge out and kill all the rebels. The Crown Prince's voice was heard in the great illusionary divine capital. The great illusionary divine capital's defensive array was already about to be broken. Now that so many experts were attacking, the great illusionary divine capital's defensive array was even more vulnerable. In just a moment, crack, crack. A crack appeared on the defensive array. Then, more and more cracks appeared and covered the entire defensive array. Get ready. The Crown Prince shouted. Bam. In the next moment, the defensive array exploded and dissipated into energy. Kill. Once the defensive array was broken, the Crown Prince's army rushed out and collided with the second prince's army and Lu Ming's army. An intense battle ensued. Kings against kings, soldiers against soldiers. The quasi-emperors from both sides fought fiercely. There were 6 quasi-emperors on the Crown Prince's side. On the other hand, there were only 5 quasi-emperors on the second prince's side. However, with the addition of Holy Thousand Heavenly King and the Giant Bear, Lu Ming's side had 1 more quasi-emperor and they had the upper hand. The 9th and 8th level divine lords who were below the quasi-emperors were also engaged in an intense battle. With so many experts fighting fiercely, the scene was terrifying. The force of the storm seemed to be able to destroy an entire galaxy. The storm swept across and the planets around the great illusionary divine capital exploded one after another. However, the living beings on these planets had already been moved to the great illusionary divine capital and there were not many casualties. Lu Ming, there's news. Your parents have been rescued and moved to a safe place. At this moment, Kang Shishue transmitted her voice to Lu Ming. They've been rescued. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Don't worry, there won't be a problem. Kang Shishue said. All right, thank you. Lu Ming took a deep breath and then suddenly shouted, retreat. As Lu Ming's voice rang out, the people he led slowly retreated. They stopped attacking and went into a defensive position. Lu Ming, what are you doing? The second prince shouted when he saw Lu Ming retreating. However, Lu Ming's expression was calm and he could not be bothered with the second prince. Bastard, do you not care about your parents' lives? If you want them to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The second prince hollered. His voice was transmitted to Lu Ming's ears through voice transmission. However, Lu Ming ignored him and led his people to retreat from the battlefield. Seeing this, the crown prince was overjoyed and ordered, ignore Lu Ming and the rest. The crown prince's subordinates stopped pursuing Lu Ming and the rest and turned their attention to the second prince. Originally, with Lu Ming and the rest, the crown prince's side was already at a disadvantage. However, with Lu Ming's departure, the crown prince's strength increased. In an instant, the crown prince's side had turned from defeat to victory. The battle was too intense. There were continuous screams and blood splattered across the starry sky. Every moment there were people dying. Divine kings and even divine lords were being hunted down. Boom. A quasi-emperor on the second prince's side was surrounded by two quasi-emperors from the crown prince's side. He could not hold on and retreated while coughing up blood. Second brother, today will be the day you die. The crown prince's eyes were cold as he said coldly. He did not know why Lu Ming had helped the second prince at the beginning and then suddenly retreated. However, he did not care about that. He only wanted to seize the opportunity to eliminate the second prince. As long as the second prince was eliminated, Lu Ming would not be a concern. After all, Lu Ming only had 2 or 3 quasi-emperors. That was what the crown prince thought. Chapter 35-43. Jinglin, do you really think you can defeat me? What a joke. The second prince sneered. At this moment he had calmed down. His face was ferocious. A voice transmission jade talisman appeared in his hand and he sent out a message. In the next instant, a bright light shone in the north of the great void holy capital. The void there trembled continuously and rippled like water. Then one figure after another appeared. Sir gods. All of them were Sir gods. This was because they were sent from afar through the teleportation formation. Only Sir gods could do this. Their numbers added up to a shocking 5,000. 5,000 Sir gods. This was a terrifying force. For example, the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Mansion only had about 100 Sir gods. Of course, the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Mansion was the weakest among the 27 Heavenly King Mansions. The strongest Heavenly King Mansions had more than 1,000 Sir gods. There were at least tens of thousands of Sir gods in the Taishu dynasty. However, these 5,000 Sir gods had shocking auras. Every one of them was an expert. Some of the leaders had earth-shattering auras. They were all boundary emperors. Tianyi Holy Emperor. The crown prince shouted in shock. These people were all experts from the Tianyi Holy dynasty. Even Tianyi Holy Emperor had come personally. Haha, it's so lively. Let's join in the fun. Tianyi Holy Emperor laughed. He led his experts and rushed towards the crown prince. They formed an encirclement with the second prince to surround the crown prince. The crown prince was shocked. He shouted, Jingyuan, you have defected to the Tianyi Holy dynasty. Jingyuan was the second prince's name. What defection? We are just cooperating. Tianyi Holy Emperor, kill Jinglin. I will fulfill my promise to you. The second prince said. Don't talk to me like that. Tianyi Holy Emperor glanced at the second prince unhappily. Then he led his men to attack the crown prince. Tianyi Holy Emperor, what did Jingyuan promise you? I can give you double. The crown prince shouted. His face was ugly. He did not expect the second prince to hook up with Tianyi Holy Emperor. This way he was in danger. Tianyi Saint Emperor had brought a lot of experts. There were at least 6 or 7 quasi-emperor realm experts. They were too strong. Together with the second prince's men, he couldn't fight against them at all. I'm sorry, but I'm a man of my word. Since I agreed to work with Jing Yuan first, I won't go back on my word. Kill. Tianyi Saint Emperor sneered. Then he led his men to attack the crown prince from behind. Miserable shrieks rang out as the Crown Prince's forces were besieged. His formation was thrown into chaos, and it was impossible to say how many experts were killed. Kill? The second prince roared and took the opportunity to surround him. At the same time, the quasi-emperors of both sides were also engaged in an intense battle. However, the Crown Prince's side was completely at a disadvantage. He was no match for them at all. Because it was almost 2 against 1, especially Tianyi Holy Emperor, who was comparable to Taishu Holy Emperor. He was half a step into the godly emperor realm. The Tianyi Holy Emperor and another quasi-emperor surrounded a bald, black-robed old man on the Crown Prince's side. The bald, black-robed old man was no match for him at all. All he could do was defend and not fight back. After blocking a few moves, he was hit by Taishu Holy Emperor's battle sword. With a miserable shriek, he was split into 2 halves. However, he was not dead yet. He controlled his broken body to retreat frantically, trying to escape. Tianyi sword formation. Tianyi Holy Emperor said coldly. Countless battle swords flew out of his eyes, forming a sword formation that surrounded the bald black-robed old man. Then, the sword formation rolled up, and the bald black-robed old man was reduced to ashes before he could even scream. He was completely dead. This was the first quasi-emperor to be killed. In this way, the Crown Prince's side was left with only 5 quasi-emperors, and he was even more at a disadvantage. In the distance, Lu Ming and the others were also shocked. This scene was also beyond their expectations. The second prince's scheming was deeper than they had imagined. It could be said that he was fully prepared. In the beginning, not only did he rely on Lu Ming's strength, but he also left a backup plan and the strength of the Tianyi sacred dynasty. The Crown Prince was no match for him at all. The outcome has been decided. Blue Merchant said. The Crown Prince's defeat was already decided. There was nothing he could do. Retreat, retreat. The Crown Prince roared. He wanted to retreat. Unfortunately, they were completely surrounded. The remaining 5 quasi-emperors, such as Lord Jun, the state preceptor, and the experts of the Bone Sword tribe, were surrounded by the second prince and the quasi-emperors of the Tianyi sacred dynasty. No matter how they attacked, it was useless. Not long after, the quasi-emperor of the Bone Sword tribe screamed and was killed by several quasi-emperors. The state preceptor's hair was disheveled, and his divine power was burning fiercely. He wanted to rush out. His combat strength was very strong, not weaker than the Holy Emperor. Unfortunately, it was useless in the end. Tianyi Holy Emperor had joined forces with 2 quasi-emperors to deal with the state preceptor. No matter how strong the state preceptor was, he was powerless. In the end, he was cut in half by Tianyi Holy Emperor's sword. I surrender. At this moment, Lord Jun roared. If this went on, they would all die, so he chose to surrender. I surrender too. The quasi-emperor of the dragon human race roared. They helped the Crown Prince because they wanted to obtain a higher status, not to die. In the face of such a situation, they directly abandoned the Crown Prince. I allow you to surrender. The second prince said. They were quasi-emperors. In the future, when he inherited the sacred emperor's throne, they would be useful. He did not want to kill them all. Unfortunately, Tianyi Holy Emperor did not agree. It's best to kill these people. Don't you understand that you have to remove the roots? Tianyi Holy Emperor sneered, and his attacks became even more violent. You. The second prince gritted his teeth. How could he not know what Tianyi Holy Emperor was thinking? He wanted to weaken the power of the Taishu dynasty as much as possible now. Then, in the future, the Taishu dynasty would be restrained by the Tianyi Holy Emperor. However, at this time, the second prince wanted to borrow the power of the Tianyi Holy Emperor. He had no choice but to agree and continue to attack. Lord Jun and the others were even more desperate. Second prince, you are inviting a wolf into the house by cooperating with Tianyi Holy Emperor. Lord Jun roared. However, the second prince was determined. No matter how he shouted, it was useless. Instead, Tianyi Holy Emperor targeted him. The sword formation crushed down, and Lord Jun coughed up a mouthful of blood. The other quasi-emperors attacked. Lord Jun screamed and his body exploded. Under the destructive power, his body and soul were destroyed. The situation was clear. It was completely one-sided. The experts on the Crown Prince's side were constantly killed, and the quasi-emperors fell one after another. Soon, the Crown Prince's 6 quasi-emperors were all killed. And those 9th level and 8th level Divine Lord existences also perished in large batches. It was useless even if they surrendered. Tianyi Holy Emperor was determined to take the opportunity to weaken the strength of the Taishu dynasty. The second prince could only cooperate. The Crown Prince's face was pale. He stood in the starry sky, and his eyes were full of unwillingness and despair. After a while, the Crown Prince's subordinates who were above the 7th level Divine Lord realm were almost all killed. Only then did Tianyi Holy Emperor allow the Crown Prince's subordinates to surrender. This was because those below the 7th level Divine Lord realm could not change the overall situation. Chapter 3544. In the end, the Crown Prince was surrounded by countless people, leaving him all alone. Jinglin, it's over for you. Kill yourself. The second prince said coldly. Jingyuan, fight me to the death if you have the ability. The Crown Prince roared. His eyes were red as he stared at the second prince. He found it hard to accept that he had been defeated. He had sacrificed so much, but in the end, the second prince had taken advantage of him. He couldn't accept it. Fight to the death? I don't think it's necessary. If you don't kill yourself, I'll have to get someone to do it. Sixth uncle, I'll leave him to you. The second prince said to the sixth prince. All right. The sixth prince stepped out and a violent aura pressed down on the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince was a 9th level Divine Lord. He was very strong, but compared to a boundary emperor there was still a huge gap. Jingyuan, don't think about it. You won't succeed. I curse you to die a horrible death. The Crown Prince roared crazily and then rushed to the back. I'll die a horrible death? Ah, then I'll let you see how I become a sage emperor. Sixth uncle, don't kill him. Destroy his star core. I want him to watch helplessly. The second prince shouted. Boom. The sixth prince made his move. His palm covered the sky and blocked the Crown Prince's escape route. The Crown Prince roared and tried his best to resist. But it was useless. There was a huge gap between a 9th level Divine Lord and a boundary emperor. After a few moves, the Crown Prince coughed out blood. Then the sixth prince's fist landed on his dantian. The Crown Prince let out a roar of rage and despair. Cracking sounds could be heard from his dantian. Then, a powerful wave of energy surged out. His star core was destroyed and he was now a cripple. An ordinary person's soul wasn't as strong as Blue Merchant's. With his star core destroyed, he had lost all his divine energy. He couldn't use most of his techniques, not even his secret physique technique. Secret physique techniques required divine energy to activate. At most, he could only rely on the strength of his divine body. The Crown Prince probably couldn't even defeat an ordinary divine king. He was completely crippled. The Crown Prince fell to the ground in despair. The second prince ordered people to bring him chains and lock him up. Then the second prince looked in the direction of Lu Ming and the others, a cold murderous intent flashing in his eyes. Holy Emperor Tianyi, can you do me another favor and eliminate that group of people? The second prince said to Tianyi Saint Emperor. Of course. Tianyi Saint Emperor smiled. If he could weaken the strength of the Taishu dynasty, why not? If he could weaken the Taishu dynasty to a certain extent, he might be able to destroy the Taishu dynasty in one fell swoop. Swish, swish. The second prince and the others moved and rushed towards Lu Ming and the others. They formed a fan shape and surrounded Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming, you didn't expect this, did you? Before the second prince's men arrived, his voice came from afar, full of pride. He thought he had guessed Lu Ming's thoughts. He thought that Lu Ming had retreated just now because he wanted to let him and the Crown Prince fight. Both sides would be injured and Lu Ming would be able to take advantage of the situation. Then, when he saw Tianyi Saint Emperor's men appear and eliminate the Crown Prince in one fell swoop, Lu Ming was probably scared out of his wits. That was why Lu Ming did not escape. Because Lu Ming knew that he could not escape. The second prince thought that he had seen through Lu Ming's thoughts. Lu Ming's face was calm. He stood there and watched as the second prince and the people of the Tianyi sacred dynasty slowly approached. They formed a fan shape and surrounded Lu Ming and the others. The second prince did not attack immediately. He looked at Lu Ming and the others calmly. Kong Shishua, I didn't expect you to be here. Now come over. Come to my side and I can spare your life. The second prince's gaze fell on Kong Shishua. His eyes were burning with passion. Jingyuan, just give up. Even if I die, I won't have anything to do with you. Kong Shishua said coldly. Swordsman. Kong Shishua's words seemed to stab the second prince. His face twisted. After a while, the second prince recovered and smiled. He said, Kong Shishua, do you know why father went to your family? Let me tell you, it was all arranged by me. Ah. What? It was you. Kong Shishua's body trembled. Her eyes were filled with hatred. Kong Shishua was originally from a small family in the Taishu sage capital. She met Jingyu by chance and fell in love with him. However, the Taishu sage emperor had never seen Kong Shishua. When Jingyu was in seclusion, the Taishu sage emperor suddenly came to Kong Shishua's family and saw Kong Shishua. That was how the Taishu sage emperor forced Kang Shishue to marry her. She had always thought that it was a coincidence that the Taishu sage emperor came to the Kang residence. She did not expect that it was all arranged by the second prince. I met you at the same time as Jingyu. I pursued you bitterly, but you fell in love with Jingyu. If I couldn't have you, neither could Jingyu. I might as well let father destroy the both of you. At the same time, father can also deal a blow to Jingyu. Ah. Also, I knew that father was jealous of Jingyu. That was why I always sent people to tell father about Jingyu. I told him that all the officials in the Taishu sage capital believed that Jingyu was the chosen one and was the most powerful person in the Taishu dynasty. He was the uncrowned king. That was why the old man became even more jealous. In the end, he found a chance to kill Jingyu. Ah, what do you think? What do you think of my plan? I killed many birds with one stone by getting rid of Jingyu. The second prince laughed heartily. Lu Ming, Blue Merchant, and the others were all shocked. They had never thought that there would be so much inside information. Back then, the second prince had also pursued Kang Shishue. However, she ended up falling in love with Jingyu. Furthermore, the Taishu sage emperor had killed Jingyu because of his jealousy. Another reason was because of the second prince. The second prince had sent people to sow discord and provoke the Taishu sage emperor. There were two reasons why the Taishu sage emperor had killed Jingyu. One was because he was jealous of Jingyu. The other was because he had snatched away Jingyu's lover, Kang Shishue. Both of these reasons were related to the second prince. It could be said that the second prince was the main culprit behind Jingyu's death. It turned out that the second prince was the mastermind behind all of this. Jingyuan, you're despicable. Kang Shishue trembled. Despicable? This is called strategy. I was unlucky to have Jinglin. He was only born earlier than me, but he was already crowned as the crown prince. There was also Jingyu. He was so talented. If I didn't get rid of the two of them, how could I become the sage emperor? Didn't I succeed now? Since ancient times, the winner takes all. Kang Shishue, I'll give you one more chance. Come here and be my woman. I can let you go. The second prince said loudly. Dream on. I'd rather die. Kang Shishue's face was cold. She looked at the second prince with disgust. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The second prince roared, his face ferocious. Chapter 35-45. The second prince looked ferocious and was about to send someone to attack. In his opinion, Lu Ming only had 3 quasi-emperors while he had 5. Together with the people from the Qianni Holy Dynasty, he could easily crush Lu Ming. Today is the day you die. Before the second prince could do anything, a cold voice was heard. It was Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming's murderous intent was extremely cold. It was directed at the second prince. He must kill the second prince. It could be said that the second prince was behind everything that happened in the Taishu dynasty. Without him, even if the Holy Emperor was jealous of Jingyu, he might not have killed Jingyu. It could be said that Jingyu's real enemies were the Taishu Holy Emperor and the second prince. This person was despicable and cunning. Leaving him alive would cause endless trouble in the future. You want to kill me? Ah. The second prince laughed and looked at Lu Ming as if he was looking at a fool. You want to kill me with your strength? It seems that you can only do so in your next life. The second prince was full of disdain. Is that so? Lu Ming smiled faintly and looked behind the second prince and the rest. Because in the starry sky behind them, the void fluctuated and flashed continuously. Tall and burly figures appeared there. The experts from the barbarian tribe had arrived. Obviously, the second prince, Qianni Holy Emperor, and the others also sensed it. They quickly looked behind and their expressions changed. The barbarian tribe. Someone exclaimed. Swish, swish. As soon as the experts from the barbarian tribe appeared, they rushed toward the second prince and the others at an amazing speed. Damn it, it's Etian. The second prince saw Etian in the barbarian tribe army at a glance. Etian was Jingyu's general and had defected to Lu Ming. Now Etian had led the experts from the barbarian tribe to attack. Obviously, the experts from the barbarian tribe were on Lu Ming's side. Damn it, why is Lu Ming with the barbarian tribe? The second prince roared in his heart. There were many experts from the barbarian tribe. The current barbarian emperor obeyed Etian. Hence, when Etian spoke, the barbarian emperor would not refuse. The barbarian emperor had given the order. It turned out that the barbarian tribe's foundation had been mobilized. In addition to the other quasi-emperors of the barbarian tribe, the number of experts they had was no less than that of the Qianni sacred dynasty. Emperor Qianni's expression changed swiftly and he said, Jingyuan, leave the barbarians to me. I'll stop them while you deal with Lu Ming. End the battle quickly, and then we'll join forces to repel the barbarians. Alright. The second prince nodded. Then, Tianyi Saint Emperor led the masters of the Tianyi sacred dynasty and rushed toward the barbarians. Boom boom, the experts of both sides hadn't even come into contact with each other yet, but the terrifying chi had already collided in the void. Terrifying rumbling sounds rang out as the void continued to explode. In the end, the two armies clashed and slaughtered each other. Lu Ming, I didn't expect you to be able to invite the barbarian tribe. But it's still useless. Die. Kill. The second prince yelled and gave the order to attack. Immediately, the 5 quasi-emperors under his command took action. They targeted Giant Bear and Holy Heavenly King. They thought that in Lu Ming's army, only Giant Bear and Holy Heavenly King were quasi-emperors. As long as the 2 of them were killed, the others were not worth mentioning. Demon King, make your move. Lu Ming's cold voice rang out. Are you finally going to make your move? I can't wait any longer. The undying Demon King revealed a ferocious look. He laughed grimly and took a step forward. Boom. Overwhelming demonic chi burst out, shaking the starry sky. The demonic power was boundless. He threw out a palm strike, and an incomparably huge palm print covered the starry sky, clashing with the second prince's 2 quasi-emperors. Terrifying rumbling sounds rang out, and terrifying cracks appeared in the starry sky. The undying Demon King was unscathed, and the 2 quasi-emperors retreated rapidly. At the same time, Giant Bear, Holy Heavenly King, and the other 2 quasi-emperors of the Saint Demon Imperial Court also made their moves. The raging aura surged toward the second prince. The second prince's eyes widened rapidly, and his eyeballs were about to explode. He was in disbelief. He had never thought that there would be so many quasi-emperors in Lu Ming's army. You're from the Saint Demon Imperial Court. How dare you collude with the Saint Demon Imperial Court? The second prince roared hysterically. Kill? The undying Demon King responded with a roar. Saint Demon Wheel. The undying Demon King waved his hand, and a huge wheel appeared. It seemed to be formed by countless demon blades, and crushed toward one of the quasi-emperors under the second prince. The quasi-emperor shouted and took out a monarch-grade divine artifact, but the moment it collided with the wheel, the monarch-grade divine artifact shattered into pieces. The quasi-emperor's expression changed drastically, and he unleashed all his attacks. He used his origin secret technique and blasted it toward the undying Demon King. But it was all in vain. The quasi-emperor's attack was vulnerable under the Saint Demon Wheel of the undying Demon King. The black wheel crushed all the quasi-emperor's attacks and defenses in an instant. This is impossible. The quasi-emperor opened his eyes wide and shouted in disbelief. They were both quasi-emperors, but he was so much weaker than his opponent. He was completely vulnerable. Bang. As soon as he shouted, the Saint Demon Wheel crushed down. The quasi-emperor's body instantly exploded and turned into ashes. A quasi-emperor was almost killed in an instant. This was the strength of the undying Demon King. At his peak, he was a true divine emperor. Even if he had lost most of his cultivation and was only at the quasi-emperor level, a quasi-emperor of the same level would be vulnerable in front of him. How is this possible? The second prince was the most shocked. He was almost scared out of his wits. That quasi-emperor was killed just like that. It was hard for him to accept. Trash. After killing that quasi-emperor, the undying Demon King shouted coldly and charged toward the next quasi-emperor. That quasi-emperor was the 6th prince. The 6th prince's expression changed drastically, but he was firmly entangled by the heavenly saint. Bus. The undying Demon King waved his hand and another Saint Demon Wheel came crashing down on the 6th Wanya. No. The 6th prince shouted and resisted with all his strength. He was slightly stronger than the previous quasi-emperor, but he could not change the outcome. As the Saint Demon Wheel crushed down, he screamed and died on the spot, following in the footsteps of the previous quasi-emperor. This time, not only were the second prince's people shocked, but the heavenly saint and the others were also shocked. Haha, Jingyuan, you won't succeed. You'll end up like me, a loser. The crown prince laughed wildly. Seeing the second prince's experts killed, the crown prince was extremely excited. You're courting death. The second prince roared and killed the crown prince with a slap. Everyone attack. Kill. Lu Ming ordered, and the rest of his subordinates charged toward the second prince's side. Brr, 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 brr. It was the Dark Ape Battle Tribe. 100,000 Dark Ape Battle Tribe members all used their primitive divine bodies and turned into King Kong raging apes. They're all primitive divine bodies. Someone on the second prince's side exclaimed in shock. After the quasi-emperors were killed one after another, the morale of the second prince's army plummeted. Seeing so many primitive divine bodies, their morale was even lower. When the two sides clashed, a large portion of the second prince's army was killed. Chapter 35-46. Retreat, retreat. At this moment, the second prince roared, wanting to gather his men to retreat and meet up with Saint Emperor Tiany's men. However, how could Lu Ming's side let him retreat? The Undying Demon King was extremely powerful. After killing 2 quasi-emperors in a row, the Undying Demon King charged toward the third quasi-emperor. Lu Ming's side already had the upper hand in terms of quasi-emperors. In addition, the Undying Demon King's speed was astonishing. The remaining 3 quasi-emperors on the second prince's side could not retreat even if they wanted to. When the Undying Demon King arrived, their fate was already sealed. Kill, kill, ha ha ha. The Undying Demon King was not a kind person. Back then he had caused the Saint Demon Imperial Court, which was at its peak, to decline quickly. His hands were stained with blood. After being sealed for so many years, he was already full of hostility. If Guillermo had not used the anti-demon seal, he would not have been able to control the Undying Demon King. At this moment, the Undying Demon King erupted. His killing intent was extremely cold, and his attacks were like a storm. Although he had not recovered to the Saint Emperor realm, the quality of his divine power and the power of his origin source secret technique were there. Ordinary quasi-emperors were completely suppressed. The Saint Demon will crushed down, and the third quasi-emperor was killed. Then it was the fourth and the fifth. Without any suspense, the last few quasi-emperors were firmly entangled by the holy old heavenly king, the giant bear, and the others. They could not escape at all. In a short while, the 5 quasi-emperors under the second prince were all killed. The second prince was dumbfounded, completely dumbfounded. He knew that he was done for. The quasi-emperors were the foundation of his hegemony. With the quasi-emperors dead, he was completely finished. Ah, retreat. Run quickly. With the death of the 5 quasi-emperors, the second prince's army completely fell apart, completely collapsing. They no longer had the will to fight. They turned into birds and beasts jumping around. The second prince reacted and wanted to escape too. Stop him, don't let him escape. Lu Ming shouted. The holy old heavenly king and the others flashed, surrounding the second prince. Tiany, save me. The second prince shouted, asking Tiany Saint Emperor for help. However, Tiany Saint Emperor was almost scared to death. He had seen the Undying Demon King's demonic might just now. Tiany wanted him to save the second prince? What a joke. Retreat. Retreat. Holy Sovereign Tiany roared and led his people to charge forward with all their might. They no longer lingered in the battle and retreated to the side. Etienne and the others' target was not Tiany Saint Emperor and the others. They pretended to chase for a while but did not continue. Instead, they led their men to encircle the second prince's subordinates. The second prince's face was pale. He knew that he had completely failed and could not escape. Lu Ming, I didn't think that I would lose to you in the end. Haha, the heavens are unfair. The second prince smiled bitterly. You've done so many bad things, yet you've only died now. This is the injustice of the heavenly Tao. Kong Shishua said angrily. Her and Jingyu's lives could be said to have been ruined by the second prince. Kong Shishua, come on, kill me and avenge Jingyu. It's not bad to die in your hands. The second prince looked at Kong Shishua and shouted. At the same time he was thinking. Now, if he wanted to live, there was only one way, and that was to take someone as a hostage. Kong Shishua was not bad. As long as he took Kong Shishua as a hostage, he might be able to escape. Senior Kong, don't be rash. I want to take you as a hostage so that I can escape. Lu Ming said, seeing through the second prince's thoughts. Damn it. The second prince roared in his heart. He wished he could cut Lu Ming into pieces. He might not be able to take me down. Kong Shishua said. She was also a 9th-level divine lord like the second prince. If this person wants to die, he must die in the hands of Prince Jingyu. Leave him to me. Lu Ming said. What? Many people looked at Lu Ming in shock. Leave the second prince to him? How was this possible? Lu Ming's cultivation was only in the 9th-level divine king realm. He was a whole realm away from the second prince. It was impossible to cross. Since ancient times, there had never been such a person who could cross so much distance. Lu Ming with just you? The second prince sneered. At the same time he was overjoyed. He was really hoping that Lu Ming would take action. This way he could take Lu Ming down and use Lu Ming as a hostage to escape. Of course not with just me but with Prince Jingyu, Lu Ming said. In the next moment, a metal ball appeared in his hand. It looked like petals wrapped together. He injected his divine power and the petals opened, revealing a drop of blood. "This is..." Kang Shishua saw it and her body trembled. She immediately sensed Jingyu's aura. "This was left behind by Jingyu," Blue Merchant said. "That's right. This is the last of Prince Jingyu's strength. Let Prince Jingyu leave his last battle in the Taishu dynasty and kill Jing Yuan," Lu Ming said. According to White Fang, when Jingyu was seriously injured, he sealed his remaining strength in this drop of blood. As long as Lu Ming fused with this drop of blood, he would be able to borrow Jingyu's strength. However, he could only use it once. This was a great killing weapon. If he used it in a dangerous situation, it could definitely save his life and turn the situation around. However, Lu Ming still planned to use it now. Jingyu's life was too tragic. And the second prince could be said to be Jingyu's true enemy. Lu Ming planned to leave Jingyu's last battle in the Taishu dynasty and kill the second prince with his own hands. This way, Jingyu leaving behind this drop of blood would be meaningful. This would be the end of Jingyu's life. With a thought, Jingyu's blood flew toward Lu Ming's body and fused with Lu Ming's body. Boom. At this moment, a terrifying power erupted from Lu Ming's body. At the same time, a figure appeared above Lu Ming. It was a handsome young man with an invincible aura. Jingyu. Prince. At this moment, Blue Merchant, Kang Shishui Tian Yuan Huan, and the rest trembled as they looked at the figure in a daze. This figure was none other than Jingyu. "Fight!" Jingyu's figure shouted. Then in a flash he fused with Lu Ming's body. At this moment the power in Lu Ming's body skyrocketed. In an instant he reached the Divine Lord Realm. Then he reached the first level Divine Lord Realm, second level Divine Lord Realm, and third level Divine Lord Realm. He only stopped when he reached the 9th level Divine Lord Realm. Back then Jingyu was seriously injured and was not at his peak. He sealed his remaining strength and could only reach the 9th level Divine Lord Realm. However, it was enough. "Jingyuan, let's fight," Lu Ming roared. At this moment he felt endless power. It was as if he could destroy a galaxy with a wave of his hand. Of course this was an illusion. A 9th level Divine Lord Realm was not that powerful. Lu Ming stepped out and the Tyrant God Spear appeared. He whipped the spear toward the second prince. The Tyrant God Spear expanded rapidly and filled the starry sky. The starry sky exploded continuously, forming a terrifying energy that blasted toward the second prince. "Kill!" The second prince roared. A fiery red spear appeared in his hand and he swept it out. Two incomparably huge spear lights collided. Chapter 3547. Two huge spear lights collided, erupting into a shocking explosion. The universe's starry sky was constantly exploding. Lu Ming felt a powerful force surging towards him. The Tyrant God Spear kept vibrating and almost exploded. He retreated for tens of thousands of miles before coming to a stop. With just this bit of strength, what's the use of borrowing Jingyu's strength? You will still be crushed by me. Kill. The second prince roared and became one with his spear, turning into a resplendent spear light that charged towards Lu Ming. "Divine power of origin factor, 5 awakenings?" Lu Ming muttered. In the collision just now, he discovered that the second prince's divine power was incomparably strong and condensed. It was due to his cultivation, but it was also due to the quality. The second prince's divine power of origin factor had already reached 5 awakenings. Generally speaking, the higher the cultivation, the easier it was to comprehend divine power and awaken the divine power of origin factor. The second prince himself was a peerless genius and had cultivated to the 9th level of the Divine Lord Realm. Moreover, he was much older than Jingyu and had cultivated for at least 2 stellar years. It was not surprising that his divine power of origin factor had awakened 5 times in such a long time. Although Lu Ming had the power of a 9th level Divine Lord, he was still not a match for the second prince. "All strength erupt for me." Lu Ming roared and activated the battle character formula to increase his combat strength by 5 times and the primordial divine body. However, he was depressed to discover that the battle character formula was only effective on his own cultivation and had no effect on the borrowed strength. The primordial divine blood was easy to enter Lu Ming's body and had some effect. At least his physical body would become incomparably strong and his control over Jingyu's strength would be stronger. However, it was very useful for the secret technique of origin. Jingyu's strength poured into the secret technique of origin, allowing it to erupt with shocking power. The Tyrant God Spear vibrated and the power of severing a shackle was released. In addition to Jingyu's strength, the Tyrant God Spear's power was extremely shocking. Swoosh! Lu Ming stabbed out again, turning into a resplendent spear light and colliding with the second prince's spear light. When the spear tips collided, it was as if a star had exploded. Powerful chi overflowed and energy swept in all directions. Then Lu Ming's body shook violently and he was sent flying again. This time his body trembled and he almost vomited blood. Lu Ming. You don't have to do anything. Let me slap him to death. Blue Merchant Yi Tian and the others were very worried. Very clearly, even though Lu Ming borrowed Jing Yu's power and had 9th level Divine Lord cultivation, he was not Second Prince's match. The Second Prince's divine power of origin had been awakened 5 times, and he had also mastered the secret arts of origin. Don't come over. Leave him to me. Lu Ming shouted, his eyes shining brightly. This was Jing Yu's final power. After fusing with Jing Yu's power, it seemed to have really crossed the bottleneck of the Divine Lord realm, reaching the 9th level Divine Lord realm. Although this power would dissipate very quickly, Lu Ming had a feeling that his path to becoming a Divine Lord had been paved. As long as he cultivated for a period of time, he would be able to successfully step into the Divine Lord realm. In addition, Jing Yu's power contained Jing Yu's comprehension of the divine power of origin, especially the Sovereign's divine power. This was because Jing Yu mainly cultivated the Sovereign's divine power. Lu Ming's Sovereign's divine power had already been awakened 4 times. At this moment, Lu Ming seemed to have seen the path of the Sovereign's divine power of origin. This was a great opportunity for Lu Ming. Only by fighting to his heart's content could he transform this opportunity into his own strength. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The Second Prince continued to attack Lu Ming. Streaks of spear light filled the universe and enveloped Lu Ming, completely enveloping Lu Ming. Kill? Lu Ming shouted. At this moment, different secret arts of origin appeared on his body. Sovereign's Gate, Wind-extinguishing boots, Void-shattering sword. A total of 11 secret arts of origin floated around Lu Ming's body. At the same time, violent power poured into the 11 secret arts of origin, causing each secret art of origin to emit a dazzling radiance. Their power was pushed to the extreme. The stronger the divine power used, the more powerful the origin source secret technique would be. 11 secret arts of origin. Apart from a few people who knew Lu Ming's background, everyone else couldn't help but widen their eyes in shock. The same was true for the Second Prince. Back when he had fought against the geniuses of the Qianni sacred dynasty, Lu Ming had not used his full strength. Swoosh. The wind-extinguishing boots merged with Lu Ming's feet, causing his speed to increase dramatically. He rushed out and flashed rapidly, avoiding the Second Prince's attack. Then the other secret arts of origin blasted towards the Second Prince. The Sovereign's Gate became hundreds of thousands of feet tall and pressed down on the Second Prince. The void-shattering sword and the heavenly demon blade slashed at the Second Prince from both sides. The moon of Taiyin and the sun of Taiyang shone brightly and filled the sky. Every ray of light had destructive power. The Eye of Doomsday, like a stone eye, burst out with an ancient radiance. It was terrifying and could destroy everything. Don't think that having many secret arts of origin is useful. You can't withstand a single blow. The Second Prince roared. The long spear in his hand burst out with even more terrifying power. He had severed a shackle. Lu Ming could see that the long spear in the Second Prince's hand was also a secret art of origin. Moreover, it had already severed a shackle. In the Second Prince's hand, its power was terrifying. The long spear in the Second Prince's hand shook and burst out with terrifying spear radiance. It collided with Lu Ming's various secret arts of origin. Clang, clang. A series of explosions. All of Lu Ming's secret arts of origin were sent flying, including Lu Ming himself. I already said you can't withstand a single blow. The Second Prince's attacks became even more berserk. He didn't give Lu Ming any time to breathe. He wanted to take Lu Ming as a hostage. This was his only chance to survive. However, Lu Ming's eyes grew brighter and brighter. He continued to control his 11 secret arts of origin to attack the Second Prince. That was because when Lu Ming had been controlling his secret arts of origin, Lu Ming had discovered that shackles had appeared on all of his secret arts. With Jing Yu's power pouring in, Lu Ming's secret arts of origin began to show their shackles. Of course, other than the Tyrant God Spear, his other secret arts all had a shackle. Lu Ming felt that he could borrow Jing Yu's power to sever those shackles. This was an excellent opportunity. He could break through in the middle of a battle. Fight, fight. Lu Ming roared and controlled his 11 secret arts to attack Jing Yu. Boom. After another series of collisions, Lu Ming was forced back. But this time, a powerful aura suddenly erupted from the God's Gate. It was several times stronger than before. I severed it. Lu Ming was delighted. Just now he had successfully severed the God's Gate's shackles. Although it was just one, it was enough to increase the God's Gate's power. Chapter 35-48. In the battle, Lu Ming had successfully severed one of the shackles on the Gate of Domination. Whoosh! A vortex appeared above the Gate of Domination. It spun continuously and emitted a terrifying suction force. In the vortex, a loud roar could be heard. It was similar to Wan Xin's roar back then. You have severed the shackles. The second prince was shocked. Haha, let's continue? Lu Ming laughed and continued to attack the second prince. In the battle with the second prince, Lu Ming could borrow Jing Yu's power more smoothly. He pushed his power to the extreme and then severed the shackles of the origin secret skill. Otherwise, even if he borrowed Jing Yu's power, it would not be so easy to sever the shackles. It was not easy to sever the shackles of the origin secret skill. This could be seen from all the young geniuses of the Taishu dynasty and the Tianyi sacred dynasty. Other than Di Jianyi, no one could sever the shackles. The second prince had cultivated for so many years and had only severed one shackle. So what if you have severed the shackles? Kill. The second prince was furious and continued to attack Lu Ming. Lu Ming wants to borrow the prince's power to sever the shackles. By the side, Lan Shangyi Tian, and the rest could also tell Lu Ming's motive. What a monster! The immortal demon king exclaimed. Even he could not help but sigh. Boom, boom. Jing Yu and the second prince were engaged in another battle. Lu Ming was still defeated. He kept retreating, but he had achieved great results. Boom. The lunar moon exploded with a terrifying aura. Rays of light filled the sky. The second prince's spear radiance was enveloped by the rays of light. It was as if ice had met fire and melted. The lunar moon had also successfully severed one of the shackles. Following closely behind the lunar moon was the solar moon. It also exuded a terrifying aura and severed one of the shackles. Damn it, impossible! The second prince roared. His eyes were full of jealousy. After cultivating for so many years, he had only severed a single shackle. But now, Lu Ming had severed the shackles of 3 origin source techniques in such a short time. Furthermore, he had contributed greatly to this. He was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. Jingyuan again. Lu Ming was overjoyed and continued to attack the second prince. Damn it, go to hell. The second prince roared furiously and charged toward Lu Ming with all his might. So what if Lu Ming had many secret techniques? So what if he had severed his shackles? He was still no match for him. However, the second prince could not achieve his goal. As the two fought, Lu Ming severed more and more shackles with his origin secret technique. Next were the boots of extinguishing wind, the sword of void shattering, and the demonic blade. One by one the shackles were severed. About 10 minutes later, all of Lu Ming's secret arts had severed a shackle. Everyone fell into a state of shock. Lu Ming was only a 9th-tier divine king at such a young age. However, he had severed one shackle with each of the 11 secret skills of origin. His combat prowess was most likely nature-defying. The second prince was in despair, unwillingness, and fear. Yes, because he realized that Lu Ming's combat strength was no longer weaker than his. With the combination of his secret techniques, Lu Ming's combat strength was above his. The lunar moon and the solar sun hung high in the sky and shone down rays of light. They were like 2 mobile turrets that bombarded the second prince. The heavenly demon blade, the void-shattering sword, and the immemorial divine dragon horn were extremely fast. They flashed and slashed around the second prince. The gate of domination was huge and came down from above. The most special thing was a bell, the bell of heavenly evildoer. Ding-ling-ling, the bell of heavenly evildoer rang. Ripples that could be seen with the naked eye spread toward the second prince and shrouded him. At that moment, the second prince's body trembled and his glabella glowed. He was weaker than before. The bell of heavenly evildoer could attack one's soul directly. This was beyond Lu Ming's expectation. This was a function that he had discovered after he had severed a shackle. Lu Ming controlled the overbearing god spear and stepped on the wind destroyer boots to attack the second prince. The combination of his secret techniques was flawless. The second prince tried his best to defend himself, but he was at a disadvantage. Lu Ming is going to win. Blue Merchant exhaled and his eyes shone brightly. He did not expect Lu Ming to defeat the second prince even though he had borrowed Jing Yu's strength. The others nodded and were excited. At that moment they seemed to have seen Jing Yu come back to life and defeat the second prince. Lu Ming's path is vast and far beyond Prince Jing Yu's. I'm afraid he won't be limited to the Taishu dynasty. Blue Merchant exclaimed. Ah! At this moment the second prince let out a long howl. He could not accept that he had been suppressed by Lu Ming. Therefore he was careless and was swept by Lu Ming's tyrannical god spear. His body almost exploded. Lu Ming, die. Die. Even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. The second prince went crazy. The divine power in his body burned fiercely. He knew that he could not take down Lu Ming. If he could not take Lu Ming as a hostage, he would definitely die today. Therefore he went all out and burned his divine power. Boom. Boom. The spear gleams erupted and the entire sky was filled with spear gleams. They actually pushed back Lu Ming's various origin secret skills. Suppress. Lu Ming hollered. A steady stream of divine power surged into the gate of domination. Brr. There seemed to be a giant beast roaring in the gate of domination. In the next moment, a beast claw reached out from the gate of domination and slapped at the second prince. Boom. The second prince retreated. At that moment Lu Ming's eyes lit up. When he pushed the gate of domination to the extreme, the gate of domination changed. At the same time Lu Ming saw the road ahead. The road to the fifth awakening. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I can't miss it. Breakthrough. Lu Ming roared. At that moment, his mind was fully immersed in the sovereign's divine power. Boom. All of a sudden, his sovereign god's god force underwent a strange change. A stronger and more ancient aura burst out from it. This is the fifth awakening of the origin divine power factor. Blue Merchant Yi Tian and the others were dumbfounded. At this critical moment, Lu Ming broke through again. His sovereign's divine power had successfully awakened 5 times. The fifth awakening of the origin divine power factor had increased Lu Ming's combat strength greatly. The gate of domination had also become stronger. Boom. The gate of domination continued to press down. It roared like thunder and contained destructive energy. The second prince's body shook violently. Then the beast claw reached out and grabbed at the second prince. This time the second prince screamed and retreated frantically, vomiting blood. After Lu Ming's sovereign's divine power had awakened 5 times, his combat strength had surpassed the second prince's. Chapter 35-49. Lu Ming had fused with Jing Yu's power, and it was as if he was standing at Jing Yu's height, looking at the various origin secret techniques. Then he used Jing Yu's power to sever the shackles of all the origin secret techniques. Of course, the Tyrant God Spear was an exception. Because the Tyrant God Spear had already severed one shackle, it wouldn't be that easy to sever the second shackle. At the same time, Jing Yu cultivated the Sovereign's God Force. Lu Ming used Jing Yu's Sovereign's God Force to awaken the Sovereign's God Force for the 5th time, greatly increasing his battle strength. Under the pressure of the Sovereign's Gate, the second prince roared and coughed up blood. No, this is impossible. The second prince roared, his hair disheveled. He couldn't accept it. Lu Ming had actually broken through continuously in the battle. He was only in the 9th level of the God King realm, but his origin God Force had already awakened 5 times. The second prince had cultivated for more than 2 stellar years, but he had only managed to awaken 5 times. He was extremely jealous and unwilling to accept it. I won't lose to you. The second prince roared and he fought back with all his might, wanting to kill Lu Ming. In his eyes, Lu Ming represented Jing Yu at this moment. He couldn't lose to Jing Yu, especially when it was just a little bit of Jing Yu's remaining power. However, all kinds of origin secret techniques responded to him. Boom, boom, boom. All kinds of origin secret techniques rained down on the second prince like a storm. The second prince trembled violently, and he realized that he couldn't withstand the attacks. In the end, the spear in his hand was struck by the Sovereign's Gate, and it shattered inch by inch before finally exploding. This was the second prince's origin secret technique. With his origin secret technique broken, he screamed in pain as his body flew back. At this time, Lu Ming rushed over with the wind-extinguishing boots, and the Tyrant God Spear stabbed out. Boom! The Tyrant God Spear pierced through the second prince's body. The terrifying destructive power had already exploded in the second prince's body, destroying his bodily functions. It had even shattered the second prince's stellar core. The second prince's cultivation was crippled. The second prince screamed in agony, filled with unwillingness and despair. What's the use of scheming? Now I'll send you on your way. Lu Ming said coldly. The Tyrant God Spear trembled, and an even more violent power burst forth. The second prince's body directly exploded, and his body and soul were destroyed. After killing the second prince, Lu Ming focused his attention on the various origin secret arts and divine powers. This was a rare opportunity. He wanted to see if he could borrow Jing Yu's power to make another breakthrough. Unfortunately, at this time Jing Yu had already consumed a lot of energy. The remaining energy was constantly leaking into the air. There was not much energy left and it was difficult to help Lu Ming break through. Lu Ming's aura slowly descended. 8th level Divine Lord, 7th level Divine Lord. In the starry sky the battle continued. Lu Ming's men and the barbarian tribe's men were working together to kill the second prince's men. At this moment the battle was slowly coming to a stop. Almost all of the second prince's trusted subordinates had died in battle, and the rest had surrendered. When Lu Ming's aura returned to normal and he regained his 9th tier Divine King cultivation, the battle came to an end. Lu Ming, how do you feel? Lu Ming. Blue Merchant and the rest flew towards Lu Ming. I'm fine. I'm fine. Let's not delay any longer. We have control of the great illusionary sage capital. I'm afraid there are many of the crown prince's henchmen inside. Lu Ming said. All right. Everyone nodded and headed towards the great illusionary sage capital. The great illusionary sage capital still had the crown prince's henchmen. Naturally there would be a huge battle. In the end, the great illusionary sage capital was completely under their control. At the same time, Kong Shishue had sent out a message, asking his men to bring Lu Ming's parents over. Lu Ming did not have to wait for long. Kong Shishue's men brought his parents to the great illusionary sage capital. Fortunately his parents were fine. They were healthy, and their cultivation had increased significantly. Evidently, the second prince had not made things difficult for his parents in the past 100 years. This was normal. The second prince wanted to use Lu Yuntian and Li Ping to threaten Lu Ming. If anything happened to Lu Ming and Li Ping, Lu Ming would not help him. He would probably kill the second prince. Seeing that Lu Yuntian and Li Ping were fine, Lu Ming was relieved. After chatting with the two elders for a long time, Lu Ming asked someone to bring them to rest. Great illusionary sage capital in the palace hall. Lu Ming, Blue Merchant Yi Tian, Kong Shishue, and the rest sat together. They were discussing their future. Now, the great illusionary sage emperor, the crown prince, and the second prince were all dead. When the crown prince rebelled and assassinated the emperor, many of the royal family members were implicated. Only a few of the princes were left. However, the country could not afford to be without a ruler. Everyone, how should we deal with the Taishu dynasty? The country can't afford to be without a ruler. Blue Merchant was the first to speak, breaking the silence. I feel that we should just let Lu Ming be the Saint Emperor. Yi Tian said. He wanted Lu Ming to take charge of the great illusionary sage capital. I think so. Yuan Huan said. Then Lu Ming's subordinates spoke one after another, supporting Lu Ming to take charge of the Taishu dynasty. Many of them were Jing Yu's subordinates. In their opinion, the Taishu dynasty should belong to Jing Yu. Now that Jing Yu was dead, Lu Ming was Jing Yu's successor. Naturally, Lu Ming should take charge of the Taishu dynasty. The Undying Demon Lord and a few experts from the Saint Demon's dynasty sat aside, not saying a word. Kong Shishue did not say a word. The Holy King did not say a word either. At this time, Lu Ming raised his hand and everyone quieted down. I'm not interested in the throne. Lu Ming said. Indeed, he was not interested. Now that his horizons were broadening, he saw more and more things. He knew that the Eldritch universe was huge, and the Taishu dynasty was just a small part of it. His goal was the Eldritch universe and the Sea of Stars. He did not want to stay in the Taishu dynasty and be the emperor. Blue Merchant smiled. He was not surprised by Lu Ming's answer. With Lu Ming's talent, he would not stay in the Taishu dynasty for long. Then who will take charge of the Taishu dynasty in the future? Blue Merchant asked. Let's choose one of the remaining princes to take charge of the Taishu dynasty. Of course, it's best if he doesn't have too big of an ambition. Lu Ming said. He had reached the peak of the 9th layer Divine King realm, and by borrowing Jing Yu's power, Lu Ming had touched the Divine Lord realm. The Divine Lord realm was not difficult for him at all. He felt that as long as he calmed down and cultivated in seclusion for a while, he would be able to break through smoothly. Once he reached the Divine Lord realm, he would be able to open the jade talisman left by Xian Yanqing to find Xian Yanqing and the mid-autumn moon. He would not stay in the Taishu Holy Court for too long. However, he hoped that his family and friends could cultivate in the Taishu Holy Court. Therefore, the new Taishu Holy Emperor had to be easy to control. Only then would his family be safe. At this time, Lu Ming saw that Kong Shishue was hesitant to speak. Senior Kong, if you have something to say, please speak. Lu Ming looked at Kong Shishue. Chapter 3550. To tell you the truth, Jing Shu and I once gave birth to a son. Kong Shishue said. Everyone's eyes lit up. Kong Shishue and Great Void Sacred Emperor had a son who was also a prince. Kang Shishue meant that she wanted her son to take over the position of Great Void Sacred Emperor. Why haven't I heard of it before? Blue Merchant asked. That's because he looks too much like Jingyu. Kang Shishue said. Like Prince Jingyu? Blue Merchant Tian, Baiya and the others looked at each other. Blue Merchant said, why don't we invite him in? Alright. Kang Shishue nodded and left. They didn't have to wait long before a young man stepped into the hall. As soon as the young man walked into the hall, Lu Ming, Blue Merchant Tian, and the others couldn't help but stand up with a stunned expression. This young man looked too much like Jingyu. It was as though they were cast from the same mold. Junior Jingma greets all the seniors. Jingma cupped his fists and bowed. He was neither humble nor arrogant. He was natural and unrestrained. No need for formalities. Blue Merchant waved his hand. His eyes were still fixed on Jingma. He wasn't the only one. Tian, Baiya and Yuan Huan did the same. Their stares made Jingma a little embarrassed. Amoa, you can leave first. I have something to discuss with the seniors. Kang Shishue said. Yes, mother. Jingma cupped his fists and left the hall. Similar, too similar. Too similar. Even their temperament is similar. Blue Merchant Tian and the others couldn't stop muttering. Shishue, why haven't I heard that you have a son with the Sacred Emperor? Blue Merchant asked curiously. Because he looks too much like Jingyu. Jingshu doesn't like him, so he hasn't made it public. Moreover, he doesn't let him or wander around, which is equivalent to putting him under house arrest in one place. Kang Shishue said with a gloomy look in her eyes. Everyone fell silent. They knew that Jingmo resembled Jingyu too much, and had incurred the displeasure of the Saint Emperor. At this time, Blue Merchant Tian, White Fang and the others looked at each other again. Ahem, Shishue, I would like to ask you a question. Please don't take offense. Blue Merchant coughed dryly. Teacher Lan, please ask. Kang Shishue said. Is Jingma Jingshu's son or Jingyu's son? Blue Merchant asked. Lu Ming's eyes also lit up, and the fire of gossip burned fiercely. Well, I'm not too sure. Kang Shishue's face was completely red as she fidgeted. Blue Merchant's and the others' eyes lit up. If Kang Shishue wasn't too sure, it meant one thing. Something must have happened between Kang Shishue and Jingyu back then. Otherwise, how could Kang Shishue not be clear about it? Not long after Jingshu made me marry him, I found out that I was pregnant. Kang Shishue explained again. Blue Merchant and the others increasingly felt that Jingma might be Jingyu's son. After all, a divine lord's pregnancy was very long. It was normal for it to reach tens of thousands of years. Moreover, Jingma and Jingyu's appearance and temperament were so similar. However, if Jingma was the son of Kang Shishue and Taishu Saint Emperor, it wasn't impossible. In that case, Jingma and Jingyu were brothers. It wasn't impossible for brothers to look alike. Blue Merchant Tian and the others were a little confused for a while. Even Kang Shishue, the mother, couldn't figure it out. How could they figure it out? How about this? The Saint Emperor's position will be taken by Jingma. How about you all support him? Lu Ming said. Kang Shishue had helped Lu Ming a lot this time. It wasn't a bad idea to push Kang Shishue's son to the position. After all, Kang Shishue was forced to do that back then. I have no objection. I have no objection either. Blue Merchant Tian and the others nodded. Holy Thousand Heavenly King naturally had no objection. As for the Undying Demon King, he had been set up by Bone Demon with a demon sealing array. Naturally, he would follow whatever Lu Ming said. However, the other two quasi-emperors of the Saint Devil dynasty were a little unwilling. The Taishu dynasty had suffered heavy losses, and there weren't many experts left. If the Undying Demon King led them to attack, they would definitely be able to destroy the Taishu dynasty in one fell swoop. Unfortunately, the Undying Demon King seemed to be obedient to Lu Ming, and they didn't dare to resist. With the Undying Demon King's strength, it wouldn't be difficult to kill them. Thank you, Lu Ming. Thank you, everyone. Kang Shishue was overjoyed and thanked Lu Ming and the others. In addition, the Taishu dynasty will allocate a few star regions for the people of the Saint Devil dynasty to live in. Lu Ming said. Everyone naturally agreed to Lu Ming's request. Now, in the Taishu dynasty, Lu Ming had the final say. Kang Shishue and the others naturally didn't have any objections. Everyone discussed for a while and Lu Ming took his leave. Next, the Taishu Saint Emperor needed to reorganize. The Taishu dynasty had suffered heavy losses in this internal strife. Almost most of the quasi-emperors had died in battle, and 70 to 80% of their top combat strength had been lost. In the entire Taishu dynasty, to be precise, only the Holy Heavenly King and Etian were left. The losses were too great. In the beginning, The Taishu dynasty could be said to be the strongest force among the barbarian tribe, the Taishu dynasty, and the Tianyi sacred dynasty. Now it had become the weakest force. Whether it was the barbarian tribe or the Tianyi sacred dynasty, it wouldn't be difficult for them to annex the Taishu dynasty. Of course, the barbarian tribe had Tian, so they definitely wouldn't attack the Taishu dynasty now. However, it was hard to say about the Tianyi sacred dynasty. Therefore, Lu Ming had allocated a part of the territory for the people of the Saint Devil dynasty to live in. With the undying demon king around, the people of the Tianyi sacred dynasty wouldn't dare to attack. In fact, Lu Ming could let the undying demon king and the others attack the Tianyi sacred dynasty. With the undying demon king's strength, it shouldn't be difficult to secretly kill the Tianyi sacred emperor and the others. However, Lu Ming didn't do that. He would leave sooner or later. Destroying the Tianyi sacred dynasty was meaningless to him. Only by leaving the Tianyi sacred dynasty behind could the various forces restrain each other. Lu Ming would leave soon. What he needed was an environment where his family and friends could cultivate in peace. Soon he would bring his family and friends to the Taishu dynasty to live and cultivate. Therefore, he needed the stability of the various forces to restrain each other. With the undying demon king around, this could be achieved. With the undying demon king around, the barbarian tribe and the Tianyi sacred dynasty wouldn't dare to attack the Taishu dynasty. This way there would be a balance. Only the undying demon king himself could break the balance. However, the undying demon king was controlled by Lu Ming and could only obey. In this way, the barbarian tribe, the Taishu dynasty, and the Tianyi sacred dynasty would have a long-term period of stable development unless someone's strength surpassed the undying demon king. In this way, Lu Ming could leave this place with peace of mind. After that, it was time to reorganize the various territories and armies of the Taishu dynasty. After this battle, the structure of the Taishu dynasty had completely changed. Most of the heavenly king's mansions and marquee mansions had surrendered to the crown prince or the second prince. There were too many casualties in that battle. Many heavenly kings and top experts of the heavenly king's mansions were almost wiped out. Chapter 35:51. There was a huge change in the Taishu dynasty, and the various factions would be reshuffled. Among them, some were quite lucky, such as the Ninju Heavenly King Mansion. Although the Ninju Heavenly King Mansion had sought refuge with the second prince, Lu Ming did not lay a finger on them in the end. However, those who had a grudge against Lu Ming were not so lucky. For example, the Nine Sabers Heavenly King Palace, the Nine Serenities Heavenly King Palace, and the War God clan. During the war, Lu Ming did not show any mercy and killed them. It was the same for the Lan family of the Taishu Sage capital and the Imperial Advisor residence. Almost all of their experts had been killed. In addition, the Heavenly King palaces that had been destroyed in the war had left a lot of empty territory. The entire Taishu dynasty would be reshuffled. Of course, Lu Ming could not be bothered with that. He left it to Kong Shishue Blue Merchant and the others. He cultivated in peace and sent people to the chaotic Astral River to bring his family and friends over to cultivate. Just like that, after a busy year, the Taishu dynasty finally settled down and order was restored. At this time, Jingma had ascended to the throne and became the new Sage Emperor. Naturally, there were rewards for the new emperor. Lu Ming was conferred the title of Hidden Dragon Heavenly King of the Taishu dynasty, as the first Heavenly King. Half of the Taishu dynasty's territory was under the Hidden Dragon Heavenly King Palace's name. This area was almost the size of more than 20 Heavenly King palaces in the past. Lu Ming accepted it calmly. He knew that this was Jingma. Kong Shishue wanted to win him over. He did not care about himself, but it was good that Lu Shenhuang and the others could cultivate here in the future. Lu Shenhuang did not like to take risks and liked to be with his family. Although his cultivation progress was slower, it was stable. Moreover, Lu Ming did not have time to accompany Lu Yintian and Li Ping. It was good that Lu Shenhuang and the others accompanied him. Apart from that, Thousand Holiness Old Heavenly King Manor had also expanded by several times. Blue Merchant was conferred the title of the new Imperial Advisor. Tian became the new general of the Taishu dynasty's army. After the enfeoffment, the Taishu dynasty was on the right track. As for the new Hidden Dragon Heavenly King Palace, Lu Ming left to Yuan Huan and the others to build it. Young Master Lu Ming, we are leaving. On this day, Giant Bear Zhu Tai and the others said goodbye to Lu Ming. Back then, they had promised Lu Ming that they would help Lu Ming complete the Taishu Sacred Court's matters. Now that the Taishu Sacred Court's matters had been settled, they could leave. After all, they had been trapped in the Lost Galaxy for too long and had long wanted to go back. Alright, we'll meet again if fate allows it. Lu Ming smiled. Young Master Lu Ming, I come from the Sacred Bear Tribe. The Sacred Bear tribe is a big tribe on the 10,000 primordial tribe list. If you have the chance in the future, you can look for me at the Sacred Bear tribe. Giant Bear said. During this period he had seen Lu Ming's talent. It was amazing. Even the Sacred Bear tribe did not have such talent. It was not that he was weaker than Lu Ming in combat strength. In terms of combat strength and cultivation, there were many people in the Sacred Bear tribe who were stronger than Lu Ming. What he was comparing was talent. He felt that there was no one in the Sacred Bear tribe who was more talented than Lu Ming. He naturally wanted to befriend such a genius. Primitive 10,000 tribes board. Lu Ming was surprised. He did not expect Giant Bear to be from a powerful tribe on the primitive 10,000 tribes board. There were millions of tribes and factions in the primitive universe. However, those who could enter the primitive 10,000 tribe role were all extremely powerful. They were far from what the Taishu Sacred Dynasty or the Barbarian tribe could compare to. The Wu people he met were also a powerful tribe on the primitive 10,000 tribes board. They were overbearing and killed the barbarian emperor for some unknown reason. Okay, I'll definitely pay them a visit if I have the chance, Lu Ming said. He would not miss the chance to befriend someone on the primitive 10,000 tribes board. Young Master Lu Ming, I'm Zhu Tai from the Celestial Swine tribe. I'm also a member of the primitive 10,000 tribes board. You can come and find me if you have the chance, Zhu Tai said. Okay. Lu Ming nodded. Then the others introduced themselves, hoping that Lu Ming would meet them when he was free in the future. Of course, only Giant Bear and Zhu Tai were from the primitive 10,000 tribes board. Lu Ming nodded and agreed for the time being. He might need to use them in the future. After exchanging some pleasantries, Giant Bear and the others took their leave. Not long after Giant Bear and the others left, Lu Ming's family and friends in the chaotic galaxy also came. Naturally, it was lively again. Soon a few months passed. It's time to break through, Lu Ming said in a low voice. Now, everything in the Taishu dynasty was on the right track and there was no need for him to worry. He planned to go into seclusion and break through to the Divine Lord realm in one go. Then he would open the jade talisman left behind by Xian Yanqing. With a wave of his hand, a large number of primordial divine crystals appeared. Old Liang refined them for me, Lu Ming said. This time he took out at least a few 100,000 primordial divine crystals. To break through from the Divine King realm to the Divine Lord realm, one needed to consume an astonishing amount of energy. Leave them to me. I can refine the primordial divine crystals very quickly. A suction force erupted from the measure formula, absorbing the hundreds of thousands of primordial divine crystals and then began to refine them. Not long after, waves of pure energy began to pour into Lu Ming's body. They were absorbed by Lu Ming and transformed into his own divine power. Lu Ming did not immediately break through to the Divine Lord realm. This bit of energy was far from enough. He needed to accumulate energy and wait until the energy accumulated to a certain extent before he began to break through. The Divine King realm cultivated the Star Core. At the Divine Lord realm, it was still the Star Core. However, there were also differences. To break through to the Divine Lord realm, one needed to condense a star ring outside the Star Core. A star ring surrounded the Star Core. Condensing one star ring was considered a first-level Divine Lord realm. Condensing two star rings was a second-level Divine Lord realm. At the 9th-level Divine Lord realm, there would be 9 star rings surrounding the Star Core. In the end, the 9 star rings and the Star Core would burn completely and fuse together to form a star. Then one would enter the Divine Emperor realm. In fact, the Divine Emperor realm had another name, which was the Eternal Star realm. When the Star Core in the body burned and turned into a star, that was the Eternal Star realm. Of course, this was very far away from Lu Ming. What Lu Ming needed to do now was to accumulate enough energy to condense a star ring around the Star Core. However, Lu Ming had 11 star cores. To condense a star ring, the energy required would be very shocking. Time passed slowly, day by day, month by month. The divine power accumulated in Lu Ming's body became more and more robust. In the blink of an eye, 30 years had passed. In 30 years, the hundreds of thousands of primordial divine crystals had been completely refined by the measure formula. Refining hundreds of thousands of primordial divine crystals in 30 years was also because he relied on the measure formula. If he had refined them himself, he did not know how long it would have taken. The divine power accumulated from hundreds of thousands of primordial divine crystals was already unbelievably robust. Lu Ming began to break through. Chapter 3552. Actually, the Divine Lord realm wasn't difficult for Lu Ming at all. There were many conditions to breaking through to the Divine Lord realm. First, one's origin divine power factor had to awaken 3 times. Only then could one condense star rings. If one's origin divine power factor hadn't awakened 3 times, it would be impossible to condense star rings. However, Lu Ming's various divine powers had already awakened 4 times. His sovereign divine power had even awakened 5 times. Condensing star rings wasn't difficult at all. In addition, he had borrowed Jing Yu's power to temporarily enter the 9th level Divine Lord realm. He already had some understanding of the Divine Lord realm. The bottleneck that blocked him no longer existed. He had already comprehended it. Therefore, as long as he had enough energy, Lu Ming would enter the Divine Lord realm. It was a matter of course. As Lu Ming began to break through, the aura emitted from Lu Ming's body grew stronger and stronger. Soon it reached a critical point. At this time, a buzzing sound came from Lu Ming's dantian. The 11 star cores were violently vibrating. Each star core emitted a resplendent radiance. Their divine power was condensed to the extreme. Suddenly, the star cores with sovereign divine power shone brightly. A star ring appeared around them. The star ring's radiance was still somewhat dim, but it was sparkling and translucent. It was very beautiful, like the star rings of some planets in the universe. However, the star ring's beauty was filled with terrifying energy. The sovereign divine power was the first to break through. Following that, the other star cores also trembled. One by one they condensed star rings. Overlord Spear Force, Sun Force, Sun Force. Soon there were 11 star cores. Each star core was surrounded by a star ring, which looked incomparably beautiful. Boom. Shocking energy fluctuations erupted from Lu Ming's body. However, Lu Ming quickly restrained them. He had broken through. Lu Ming had officially broken through to the Divine Lord realm. He had become a Divine Lord. Lu Ming was delighted. After experiencing so much, he had finally become a Divine Lord. He had reached the realm above the Divine King realm. Before Xian Yanqing left, she had said that Lu Ming could only look for her after he reached the Divine King realm. At that time, the realm above Godly King was incomparably distant to Lu Ming. But now, with Lu Ming taking one step at a time, he had finally realized it. While Lu Ming was breaking through, a terrifying aura suddenly erupted from a barren planet in a galaxy that was extremely far away from the great illusionary stage. Then, a sword gleam soared into the sky and pierced through the depths of the starry sky. Before long, a figure charged into the sky and stood in outer space. Dense streaks of light constantly erupted from his body, slicing open vicious cracks in space. It was a young man and he was Di Jenny. Lu Ming, now that I've entered the Divine Lord realm, I only need one move to kill you. Emperor's sword let out a long roar. His long hair fluttered and his aura soared. Now, I'm afraid that even if you reach 9th level Divine Lord, you might not be able to kill Lu Ming either. A clear voice rang out as a figure stepped through the air and arrived. Dark Knight rose. Di Jenny muttered as a tinge of fear flashed past the depths of his eyes. How do you know where I am in seclusion? Di Jenny asked as he revealed a tinge of wariness. Everyone else thinks that this is a barren planet, but I know that there is a sword origin pool here. It is extremely beneficial for sword cultivators, especially for someone like you who has an elemental spirit sword body. It is even more beneficial. Dark Knight Rose smiled. It's a pity that you're late. I've already absorbed all the sword origin pool. Also, you said that even if I reach 9th level Divine Lord realm, I won't be able to kill Lu Ming. What do you mean? Di Jenny asked. When you were in seclusion, the Taishu dynasty had undergone earth-shaking changes. The Taishu Sage Emperor, the Crown Prince, the Second Prince, and the Grand Tutor are all dead. Dark Knight Rose said. What? What exactly happened? Di Jenny was shocked. Dark Knight Rose immediately told Di Jenny what had happened in the Taishu dynasty in detail. I didn't expect Lu Ming to be the successor of Jing Yu. Moreover, there are so many people helping him. It's really unfair. Di Jenny sneered and quickly regained his composure. However, the murderous intent in his eyes became stronger. It seems that I have misjudged. Lu Ming's talent is beyond my imagination. However, isn't it interesting? The stronger he is, the more useful he is to me. Sooner or later I will eat him. Dark Knight Rose's eyes were glowing with a strange light. Di Jenny shivered inexplicably. He looked at Dark Knight Rose with more and more fear. Di Jenny had sided with the Crown Prince. Hence, he naturally knew Dark Knight Rose and knew how terrifying Dark Knight Rose was. He couldn't afford to offend this woman. Now that the Taishu dynasty is in Lu Ming's hands, why are you looking for me? Di Jenny asked. Of course I'm looking for you to fight against Lu Ming. Lu Ming is a peerless supreme talent who has great luck. However, he is not invincible. In my opinion, you are a supreme talent who is at the same level as him. Hence you can fight against him. You also have great luck. If you had not secluded yourself in this barren land and continued to stay by the crown prince's side, I am afraid you would have died. It is your luck that saved you. Dark Knight Rose said. I am more powerful than him. Jinny said coldly, and his eyes were filled with confidence. Now that he had stepped into the Sir God realm, he had recovered from the blow of being defeated by Lu Ming. Hence he was more confident. Come with me. The Taishu sacred dynasty is just a small place. Come with me to a bigger place. I will make you stronger. Don't talk about Lu Ming. Why can't you compete with the most powerful geniuses in the primitive universe? Dark Knight Rose stared at Jinny, and there was a strange look in her eyes. Jinny's body tensed up and he subconsciously retreated. He looked at Dark Knight Rose cautiously and said, Don't even think about taking advantage of me. Don't worry. I will not take advantage of you. I will stimulate your talent and make you a supreme talent who will be famous in the primitive universe. Dark Knight Rose said, and she was filled with confidence. Who are you? I have inquired about you. You came from a remote star region in the Taishu dynasty, and your father is only a supreme being. However, it is impossible for a supreme being to have a daughter like you. Jinny stared at Dark Knight Rose. You are not qualified to know who I am. In short, you only need to know that I can help you. Let me tell you, Lu Ming is more powerful than you think. He controls 11 types of divine powers and has cultivated 11 types of secret skills of origin. Moreover, he has already severed one of the shackles of each of the 11 secret skills of origin. Perhaps he has already broken through to the Sir God realm. Dark Knight Rose said. She knew Lu Ming's situation like the back of her hand. What? Jinny was shocked and he fell into deep thought. After a while he said, All right, I will go with you. Correct choice. Dark Knight Rose smiled and the two of them disappeared. Chapter 3553. Now can I open the Jade Talisman? After Lu Ming broke through to the Divine Lord realm, he stabilized himself for a few days before taking out a Jade Talisman. This Jade Talisman was given to him by Xian Yanqing under Hong Yang's instructions. It sealed the whereabouts of Xian Yanqing. When Lu Ming injected his divine power into it, the Jade Talisman vibrated slightly before glowing. Runes appeared on it. Lu Ming continued to increase the input of his divine power. Back then, Hong Yang said that as long as one was above the Divine King realm, one would be able to open it. In other words, one would be able to open it when one reached the Divine Lord realm. Lu Ming was no ordinary Divine Lord. He controlled 11 types of divine power and had awakened more than 4 times. Therefore, when Lu Ming continued to inject his divine power, he easily broke the runes on the Jade Talisman. Those runes slowly dissipated. Finally, the Jade Talisman shone brightly and a map appeared in the air. A star map. Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he was pleasantly surprised. On the map there was a red line. The starting point was the Taishu dynasty and it meandered forward, extending into the distant starry sky. Finally it reached a destination. The light at the destination was very bright. Where does this lead to? Lu Ming pondered. Although he was not very clear about the starry sky map, he could see that it was extremely far away from the Taishu dynasty. There should be many star maps in the Taishu dynasty. Let's compare them. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. In the Taishu dynasty, there was a wormhole that led to the distant starry sky of the universe. It could lead to other powerful forces in the universe. In the history of the Taishu dynasty, there were also some quasi-emperors who felt that there was no hope of breaking through and would go to other places to look for opportunities. They would only return when their time was up, but they would also bring back some star maps. Lu Ming immediately set off. He found Kong Shishue and the others and told them the purpose of his visit. With Lu Ming's current status, it was easy for him to obtain a large number of starry sky maps. These starry sky maps were all marked. Lu Ming looked at them one by one and compared them with the map left behind by Xian Yanqing. This way he could clearly see where the map left behind by Xian Yanqing led to. It took a few days for the comparison to be completed. Lu Ming had an incredulous look on his face. After some comparison, Lu Ming discovered that the destination of the map that Xian Yanqing had left behind was actually the draconic mother planet. Yes, the mother planet of the divine dragons. This was too much of a coincidence. There was a high possibility that the autumn moon had gone to the divine dragon mother planet. Originally, Lu Ming was very conflicted about whether to find the autumn moon or Xian Yanqing first. In the end he decided to take a look at the clues left behind by Xian Yanqing and see where it led to. If it was on the way he would go to the dragon mother planet first. He never expected that the starry sky map left behind by Xian Yanqing would lead to the dragon mother planet. In this case he didn't have to be conflicted. His destination was already set. It was the Divine Dragon Mother Planet. Lu Ming couldn't wait to fly to the Dragon Mother Planet immediately. Of course, there were still some things to be arranged before he left. Now, most of Lu Ming's friends and family had arrived at the Taishu dynasty. Lu Ming had established the Hidden Dragon Heavenly King residence and was now living in it. Lu Ming first met his parents, Lu Shenhuang and the others. Then he told them his plan and left behind a large number of cultivation resources. After that, he went to meet Blue Merchant Yi Tian, Kong Shishue, and the others and told them his purpose. Blue Merchant sighed. He already knew that Lu Ming wouldn't stay in the Taishu dynasty. However, he didn't expect Lu Ming to leave so soon. Lu Ming, the primitive universe is huge. There are countless forces and experts. After you leave you must be careful. Blue Merchant warned him seriously. Yes, especially those races on the primitive 10,000 races list. They are extremely terrifying. The sky prides of those races are also extremely strong. When I was young I went out for a while and almost died outside. Then I came back. Holy King Thousand Heavenly King said. He seemed to recall the scene in the past and showed a fearful expression. Thank you everyone. I will be careful. Please take care of my family. Lu Ming said. Don't worry. As long as I'm alive, I won't let anyone touch your family. Yi Tian said. Then I'll take my leave. Lu Ming cupped his fist and left the Taishu dynasty. Then he went to the territory where the Saint Devil Empire lived and met the Undying Demon King. Now that the Saint Devil Empire had occupied several star regions, they were recruiting disciples in large numbers. You're leaving the Taishu dynasty? Do you need me to go with you? The Undying Demon King said, his eyes flashing a few times. No, you'd better stay in the Saint Devil Empire. However, you have to ensure the safety of my family. Lu Ming reminded him. The Undying Demon King was very strong. It would be a great help to him to bring him along. However, compared to this, it was better to leave the Undying Demon King in the Taishu dynasty. The Undying Demon King in the Taishu dynasty. It could maintain the balance of the Taishu dynasty. If the Undying Demon King left, the Saint Devil Empire and the Taishu dynasty might go to war. Even the Qianni Sacred Dynasty and the Barbarian tribe might invade the Taishu dynasty. After all, the Taishu dynasty was extremely weak now. The Barbarian tribe would be better off. However, the Qianni Sacred Dynasty would be different. If the Undying Demon King stayed, these forces would have to behave themselves. Only by maintaining balance and stability could he ensure the safety of his family and friends. Only then could he cultivate in peace. Only then would he be able to leave with peace of mind. When everything was ready, Lu Ming went to an area in the south of the Taishu dynasty. This was because the only wormhole in the Taishu dynasty that led to the distant starry sky was here. However, when he was about to reach the wormhole, he bumped into someone unexpectedly. Lan Ling. Needless to say, Lan Ling knew that Lu Ming was leaving and deliberately waited for him here. Lan Ling, what a coincidence. Lu Ming deliberately pretended to be confused and smiled. Are you going to leave the Taishu dynasty? Lan Ling asked with a complicated look in her eyes. Yes, but I will come back. We will see each other again in the future. Lu Ming smiled. He always had a special feeling when facing Lan Ling. In the beginning, Blue Merchant was determined to marry Lan Ling to him and tried his best to matchmake them. Of course, Lan Ling was desperately against it at first. However, as time passed, Lan Ling gradually stopped objecting. She found that the gap between her and Lu Ming was getting wider and wider, and the gap between their cultivation levels was getting bigger and bigger. Slowly, Lan Shang didn't mention this matter anymore. Although you are far ahead of me now, one day I will catch up with you. Lan Ling looked at Lu Ming with a complicated look and gritted her teeth. Of course I believe that. Lu Ming smiled. Of course he was just being polite. With the speed of his improvement, no one could catch up with him. Lu Ming thought proudly. The two of them were silent for a while. It was Lu Ming who spoke first. Alright, I should go. I look forward to the day when you catch up with me. Lu Ming smiled, waved and left without looking back. Chapter 3554. In the south of the Taishu Sage capital, a huge wormhole was floating. This place was not heavily guarded, and only a few people were sent to guard it symbolically. This was because this wormhole led to a distant galaxy. It was said that it led to a powerful universe-level force, the Sacred Fire Saber sect. This was a sect, but it was a true universe-level force. It had immortal emperors and not just one or two. It was said that there were many immortal emperors, and they were extremely powerful. They could easily destroy the Taishu dynasty. Therefore, there was not much meaning in setting up a large army to guard this wormhole. If someone from the Taishu dynasty wanted to leave for the sacred fire saber sect, they could not interfere. Under normal circumstances, people from the sacred fire saber sect wouldn't come here. To them, this place was just a corner of the sect. When Lu Ming arrived, the guards did not dare to stop him. Goodbye, Taishu dynasty. Lu Ming looked back and then stepped into the wormhole without hesitation. This was not the first time Lu Ming had entered a wormhole, but this wormhole was exceptionally huge. It was like a void passage. As soon as Lu Ming entered the wormhole, he felt that he was rapidly traversing the void. His speed was so fast that it was as if there were endless stars flying around him. In an instant he was probably far away from the Taishu dynasty. After a while, there was light in front of him. He found that he had appeared in an unfamiliar galaxy. What a dense divine aura. It's much denser than the Taishu dynasty. Is this the territory of the sacred fire saber sect? Lu Ming whispered. Someone came through this wormhole. I don't know how many years it has been since someone came through. At this moment Lu Ming heard a voice. Lu Ming came to his senses. He swept his gaze across the room and sized it up. Behind him was the entrance of a wormhole. In front of him were a dozen people. Among the dozen people there were elders and middle-aged men. All of them carried long sabers and exuded powerful auras. Lu Ming could tell at a glance that these people were all in the Immortal Lord realm. Kid, where did you come from? Alright, it's the Taishu dynasty. Are you from the Taishu dynasty? An old man carefully sized up Lu Ming and asked. Yes, I'm from the Taishu dynasty. Seniors, is this the sacred fire saber sect? Lu Ming cupped his fists and asked politely. Since he was new here and was unfamiliar with the place, he had to be polite. He really is from the Taishu dynasty. At such a young age, he already has a divine lord realm cultivation. It seems that he is a top genius of the Taishu dynasty. The old man sized up Lu Ming a few more times before saying, That's right, this is the sacred fire saber sect. The wormhole is really fast. According to the map, the Taishu dynasty is at least a few thousand star areas away from the sacred fire saber faction. But we've arrived in such a short time. Lu Ming sighed in his heart and then asked, Senior, I want to go to the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Where is the wormhole to go to the Dragon Clan's mother planet? Lu Ming asked. The distance to the Dragon Clan's mother planet was incomparably far. There was no wormhole directly to the Dragon Clan's mother planet. One had to transit several times. The Sacred Fire Saber sect had a boundless territory. It was at least 100 times larger than the Taishu dynasty. It also had many long-distance wormholes. However, these wormholes were distributed in different places and led in different directions. There might not be many wormholes to the Dragon Clan's mother planet. You also want to go to the Dragon Clan's mother planet? I didn't expect that even a place like the Taishu dynasty would receive the news. The old man was a little surprised and muttered. What news? Lu Ming asked curiously. Listening to the old man's words, could it be that many people wanted to go to the Dragon Clan's mother planet? I'm not very sure. You have to go to the wormhole to inquire about the news. There are only 2 wormholes to the Dragon Clan's mother planet in the Sacred Fire Saber sect, and they are distributed in different star fields of the Sacred Fire Saber sect. Do you want the Sacred Fire Saber sect's starry sky map? If you do, I can sell it to you cheaply. The old man smiled. Yes, how much for one? Lu Ming asked directly. He definitely wanted the starry sky map. Otherwise, it would be 10,000 times harder to find a wormhole than to find a needle in a haystack in the vast territory of the Sacred Fire Saber sect. 1 million supreme-grade divine crystals or a monarch elixir, the old man said. So expensive? Senior, it's just a starry sky map. Is there a need to be so expensive? Lu Ming frowned. 1 million supreme-grade divine crystals was not a problem for Lu Ming. However, it was just a starry sky map. There was no need for such a price at all. The old man obviously wanted to rip him off. As for the monarch elixir, it was a kind of divine elixir that was of great help to Divine Lord Realm powerhouses and could speed up their cultivation. At the Divine Lord Realm, the cultivation speed would be even slower. Any casual cultivation would take millions, tens of millions, or even hundreds of millions of years. As for the monarch elixir, it could greatly speed up the cultivation speed of the Divine Lord Realm. Therefore its value was also very high. 1 monarch elixir was equivalent to 1 million supreme-grade divine crystals. It's not expensive. My starry sky map is very detailed, the old man said with a smile. No need, I'm not buying it. Lu Ming shook his head. Although he did not care about 1 million supreme-grade divine crystals, he did not want to be a fool and be ripped off by the old man. It was very simple to buy a starry sky map. He believed that it would be easy to buy it. After saying that, Lu Ming flew to the side. "Want to leave without buying? Stop right there." The old man shouted coldly. His figure flashed and blocked in front of Lu Ming. A powerful aura erupted. Third-level Divine Lord Realm. This old man was a third-level Divine Lord Realm existence. At the same time, the other dozen figures also flashed and surrounded Lu Ming in the middle. One after another, their auras erupted and shrouded Lu Ming. However, the strongest one was the same as the old man, third-level Divine Lord Realm cultivation. The rest were second-level and first-level Divine Lords. Thinking about it, this wormhole only led to the Taishu dynasty. Sacred Fire Saber sect did not put the Taishu dynasty in their eyes at all. Therefore, those who were sent to guard here were also casually sent away by a few people with low cultivation. There were no powerhouses. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. They wanted to buy and sell by force. "What are you doing?" Lu Ming asked coldly. "Boy, I gave you a chance just now. Unfortunately, you don't know how to cherish it. Now hand over your storage ring." The old man said coldly. Now, it was not the problem of selling the Starry Sky map. He directly wanted Lu Ming's storage ring. He had already seen that Lu Ming was just a first-level Divine Lord Realm. Even if he was very young and was a genius, how strong could a mere genius of the Taishu dynasty be? He was confident that he could suppress Lu Ming with a slap. "Are you sure you want my storage ring? Let me leave and I can forget about what happened just now," Lu Ming said coldly. When he first came to Sacred Fire Saber sect, he did not want to cause trouble. He just wanted to borrow the wormhole here to go to the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Therefore he took a step back. Chapter 3555. But Lu Ming took a step back. The other party thought that he was scared. "Haha, forget it just like that? This kid has such high-sounding sentiments. Reckon that this kid is used to being arrogant in that corner of the Taishu dynasty. Makes sense. In that place of the Taishu dynasty, reaching first-level Divine Lord at a young age is probably one of a kind. He's definitely arrogant. But this place is the Sacred Fire Saber sect. Kid, you don't understand anything here, right? In the Sacred Fire Saber sect, those who reach the Divine Lord realm among the younger generation are plentiful." By the side, the others laughed loudly, revealing thick mocking looks. "Kid, hurry up and hand over the storage ring, we can spare your life. Otherwise die." The old man at the beginning yelled coldly. "Get lost." Lu Ming finally lost his patience. The strongest was merely third-level Divine Lord. Furthermore, it looked like it was also the most ordinary third-level Divine Lord. Honestly speaking, Lu Ming really did not place him in his sights. When he was at the 8th-level Divine King realm, he could contend with a second-level Divine Lord existence of the barbarian race. Now he reached first-level Divine Lord. Moreover, his sovereign divine power awakened 5 times. The other source secret arts all severed a shackle. His combat strength was goodness knows how many times stronger than back then. Even though the disparity between each level of the Divine Lord realm was very great. But ordinary third-level Divine Lords, Lu Ming really did not place them in his sights. Even if it was a 4th-level Divine Lord, Lu Ming had the confidence to kill him easily too. Lu Ming's get lost stunned the old man, making the others also stunned. A mere first-level Divine Lord brat, furthermore, it was even a brat who came from that corner of the Taishu dynasty. He actually told him to get lost? Courting death. The old man was enraged at once, his eyes bursting with shocking killing intent. Clang. The battle saber on his back was unsheathed. Terrifying saber light was incomparably dazzling, slashing toward Lu Ming. A third-level Divine Lord attacking, the power was very strong, able to split a planet in half. But to the current Lu Ming it was nothing. Bang. In an instant, Lu Ming activated the battle formula, increasing his combat power by 5 times. Right now, Lu Ming had a 100% success rate in triggering the Zhan Sutra's 5-fold combat strength. Lu Ming began to study the Zhan Sutra's 6-fold combat strength. Unfortunately, 6 times combat strength was at least 10 times more difficult than 5 times combat strength. Lu Ming still didn't have the slightest clue. Lu Ming's battle symbol art increased his combat strength by 5 times. At the same time, he circulated all 11 types of divine powers. Lu Ming clenched his fist, and the Tyrant God Spear appeared. Then he pressed down with the force of Mount Tai. A gigantic spear light pressed down on the old man, causing the void to explode continuously. The moment the old man's saber light collided with the spear light, the saber light shattered immediately. Then the spear light continued to press down on the old man. Ah! The old man screamed in fright. At this moment his entire body was trembling. He was almost scared to death. It was too terrifying. The power of Lu Ming's spear completely surpassed his, and by a large margin. In the blink of an eye, the old man desperately set up layers of defense around his body. Bang! The tyrant god's spear fell. The old man's defenses completely collapsed. He screamed miserably, his body flying out backward like a meteor, flying hundreds of thousands of miles away, smashing into a huge meteor. He lay in the starry sky, vomiting large mouthfuls of blood. He had already suffered heavy injuries. By the side, the others were dumbfounded. They were scared silly. That old man was a third-level divine lord, while Lu Ming was just a first-level divine lord. He actually instantly killed the old man in one move, severely injuring him. This combat strength was also too horrifying. Divine Lord Realm, the gap between each level was very shocking. It was not casually said. Wanting to jump levels to battle was very difficult. Because those who could reach the Divine Lord Realm were not weak. Their source divine power factor was at least 3 awakenings. As for being able to jump 2 levels to battle, that was even rarer. Could be said to be rare. But Lu Ming, a young man who came out of the Taishu dynasty, actually jumped 2 levels of cultivation and severely injured the old man in one move. This combat strength was truly shocking. Do you all still want my storage ring? Lu Ming opened his mouth coldly, sweeping a glance over everyone present. Now everyone was trembling and their faces were pale. Misunderstanding, it's all a misunderstanding. It's all that old man's greed. We didn't have any ideas about Sir. That's right. The moment I saw Sir, I felt that Sir must be extraordinary. Reaching the Divine Lord Realm at such a young age in the Taishu dynasty, how can you be immortal? Those people by the side immediately flattered. Although they had the numbers, they felt that even if they attacked together, they were also not Lu Ming's match. How could they still dare to have any ideas about Lu Ming's storage ring? They wished that they could immediately send Lu Ming away. I need a starry sky map. Lu Ming said coolly. I have it. Sir, I'll give it to you. Immediately, a middle-aged man took out a jade talisman and injected divine power. A starry sky map appeared in the air. The markings on it were very detailed. Lu Ming looked carefully and indeed saw some markings of wormholes. Good, not bad. Lu Ming nodded and unceremoniously put it away. Then, his figure flashed and he turned into a beam of light and left the place. Old Lu, are you all right? After Lu Ming left, everyone hurriedly looked at the old man. I was almost crippled. Sigh, this time I really kicked an iron plate. I originally wanted to make a fortune, but I didn't expect that the Taishu dynasty would have such a freakish genius. Truly unlucky. The old man sighed, his face full of misfortune. In the future, it's best not to look down on people from small places. Who knows if some freak will appear? A middle-aged man said. That's right, that's right. This time I've really gained experience. The others nodded. Lu Ming transformed into a beam of light and flew at high speed. Very soon he had flown far away. I wonder how my current strength compares to Wan Xin in a battle of the same level? Lu Ming could not help but compare himself to Wan Xin. In the end, he concluded that Wan Xin was definitely not as strong as he was now when he was a first-level divine lord. He now had 11 origin secret techniques that had severed their shackles. Moreover, he still had the primordial divine body. Wan Xin was extremely powerful when he was a first-level divine lord. Needless to say, his primordial divine body was shockingly strong. His various origin secret techniques were even more terrifying. His divine power was unbelievably robust. However, Lu Ming's greatest advantage was the battle character art, the measure character art, and the universe myriad Dao art. With all of these added together, Lu Ming was stronger than Wan Xin when he was a first-level divine lord. However, Lu Ming felt that Wan Xin's potential was far from being fully developed. When he first met Wan Xin was a peak god king. Although Wan Xin was strong, he was not overly strong. He was able to jump levels and fight a first-level god lord. He could even kill one, but he was most likely not a match for a second-level god lord. Later on, as Wan Xin's cultivation increased, his combat strength also increased. His ability to fight those of a higher level also increased. Chapter 3556. As myriad gods' cultivation increased, it was as though his potential was constantly being unlocked. His ability to fight above his level also became stronger and stronger. A first-level divine lord myriad god's ability to fight above his level was definitely stronger than a ninth-level divine lord. A third-level divine lord myriad god's ability to fight above his level was even stronger than a first-level divine lord. Myriad god was born from the blood essence of dozens of primordial gods. His potential was too great and could be said to be limitless. As myriad god's cultivation increased, his potential would be unlocked and he would become stronger and stronger. Lu Ming was confident that he could surpass Myriad God in terms of combat strength at the first-level Divine Lord realm. However, as his cultivation increased, it was hard to say. I still have to work hard. I wonder what realm Myriad God has reached? Also, Bubbles, how are those two fellows from Dandan? World Divine Turtle and Spacetime Spirit Rat. They are extremely powerful existences even in the primitive universe. They are ranked very high on the primitive universe's 10,000 races list. With the support of resources from these two large races, their cultivation should have skyrocketed. They are probably above me now. When I find Autumn Moon and Little Qing, I'll pay them a visit. As he thought about it, Lu Ming thought of Dandan and Bubbles. It had been many years since he last saw them. Right, I haven't carved a teleportation array on my body. Flying like this is too slow. Lu Ming suddenly recalled that once he broke through to the Divine Lord realm, he could carve a teleportation array on his body. By carving a teleportation array, he could activate the teleportation array's power and directly teleport himself out. Although it couldn't be compared to riding a wormhole, it was still many times faster than flying. Sharpening the axe will not delay the work of chopping firewood. I'd better find a place to carve a teleportation array before heading to the wormhole entrance. With this in mind, Lu Ming flew towards a barren planet. After landing on the planet, Lu Ming found a secluded place and sat down cross-legged. Qiuqiu, protect me. Lu Ming waved his hand and Qiuqiu flew out. During the War of the Taishu dynasty, Qiuqiu had devoured countless divine artifacts. Now, it had successfully evolved and reached the first level of the Divine Lord realm. Moreover, it was still in the process of constantly improving. After all, the War of the Taishu dynasty had been too brutal. Countless people had died and countless divine items had been left behind. Moreover, Qiuqiu couldn't digest a large number of monarch-grade divine artifacts easily after devouring them. Currently, it had only digested a portion of them. In the future, Qiuqiu would continue to refine divine artifacts and its strength would continue to increase. Alright, don't worry and cultivate, Qiuqiu said. Immediately, Lu Ming calmed his heart and began to cultivate. In his mind, he carefully went over the details of the teleportation formation. When he had recovered to his peak state, his fingers began to move rapidly. Numerous runes appeared in his hands. One rune after another flew into Lu Ming's body and disappeared. Lu Ming's body was covered with runes that intertwined to form a large formation. This process lasted for 7 days. After 7 days, Lu Ming's body was covered with runes as if he was covered in rune armor. Rise. At this time Lu Ming shouted. The teleportation formation had reached the final step. When the last rune flew into Lu Ming's body, the runes on Lu Ming's body emitted a resplendent light like a small sun. After a while all the light dimmed and disappeared. Lu Ming didn't look any different. All the runes were hidden under his skin and couldn't be seen from the outside. Let's give it a try. Lu Ming revealed a look of anticipation. Qiuqiu, let's go, Lu Ming said. Qiuqiu turned into a bracelet and wore it on Lu Ming's wrist. Then, Lu Ming activated his divine power and poured it into the teleportation formation on his body. Then there were ripples in the void. In the next moment, Lu Ming's figure disappeared from the place. In another part of the starry sky, Lu Ming's figure suddenly appeared. I don't know how much distance I crossed in one teleportation. It should be much faster than flying. However, the amount of divine power consumed is really shocking. Lu Ming carefully felt the divine power in his body. His divine power was already very strong and he had 11 star cores. However, the teleportation just now had used up about 1/20th of his divine power. If it was an ordinary first-level Divine Lord, he would probably only be able to teleport twice before his divine power was exhausted. Moreover, the activation time is slow and it needs time. It's really useless in a big battle. Lu Ming pondered. This teleportation formation could only be used to travel. Then Lu Ming continued to use the teleportation formation to teleport. After several experiments, Lu Ming realized that each teleportation could cross a few galaxies. This speed was already hundreds of times faster than flying. Lu Ming had the measure word formula and could teleport continuously. However, the sacred fire saber sect's territory was too vast. Even if Lu Ming kept teleporting, he still couldn't reach the next wormhole after a few days of continuous teleportation. In fact, the divine power stored in the measure word formula was almost exhausted. Lu Ming had to stop and find a place to replenish the divine power in the measure word formula. Lu Ming absorbed the divine crystals, refined them, and converted the energy of the divine crystals into divine power. He then injected the divine power into the quantifier formula. When all the divine power was injected, he continued to refine the divine crystals to replenish his energy. This process lasted for a month. Lu Ming felt that the divine power in the measure word formula was very strong and could support him for a period of time. Only then did Lu Ming set off again. After another 3 days of continuous travel, Lu Ming finally arrived near a wormhole. This wormhole was one of the 2 wormholes from the sacred Fire Saber sect to the direction of the Divine Dragon Clan's mother planet. Of course, it wasn't a direct route but only in that direction. Stop, this wormhole is not open to the public now. Outside the wormhole, there were experts from the sacred Fire Saber sect guarding. As soon as Lu Ming arrived, he was blocked. The people guarding this wormhole were not like those who guarded the wormhole that Lu Ming came from the Taishu dynasty. Each of the people guarding this wormhole had a strong and terrifying aura. Even the leader had a mountain-like aura, not weaker than Tian Giant Bear and the others. He was a quasi-emperor. Senior, why is this wormhole not open to the public? Lu Ming asked. He had inquired before and found out that these wormholes were open to the public. Are you asking the obvious? The quasi-emperor glared. Senior, I really don't know. Lu Ming said with a sincere face. This wormhole is one of the paths to the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Now that the Dragon Clan's mother planet has recovered, the protective formation is lax. I heard that those below the 3rd level Divine Lord realm can already enter. During this period, many people want to go to the Dragon Clan's mother planet. However, there is a limit to the number of people who can go to the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Therefore, the 2 wormholes in the direction of the Dragon Clan's mother planet are closed and no one can pass through. The Quasi-Emperor explained. Chapter 3557. The Quasi-Emperor's words stunned Lu Ming. The revival of the dragon race's mother planet? What did that mean? And it had attracted a large number of experts, which made Lu Ming frown. The more people there were, the more unforeseen events. Also, the wormhole leading to the dragon race's mother planet was actually closed. How should he get there? Senior, when will the wormhole open? Lu Ming asked. I don't know when it will open, but I know that 3 months later, the Sacred Fire Saber sect will send a group of experts to the dragon race's mother planet. They are all 3rd layer divine lords and below. The Quasi-Emperor explained, looked at Lu Ming and continued, if you really want to go, I can point you in the right direction. This time, there is a limit to the number of people going to the dragon race's mother planet. Therefore, the Sacred Fire Saber sect has sent out 3 outstanding 3rd layer divine lords and recruited experts to form a team to go to the dragon race's mother planet. If you are confident, you can go and join one of them. Oh, where is it? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. On the nearest wood star, there is an outstanding disciple recruiting. You can give it a try, but let me remind you that the revival of the dragon race's mother planet is a great opportunity. Countless people want to get a share of it, but the number is limited. This quota will definitely go through fierce competition. Your cultivation is only 1st layer divine lord, it won't be that easy to succeed. The Quasi-Emperor continued. I know what I'm doing. Thank you for telling me. Goodbye. Lu Ming cupped his fists and left for the wood star. After Lu Ming left, these people guarding the wormhole began to discuss. You let him compete for the quota to go to the dragon race's mother planet. You're sending him to his death. How can a 1st layer divine lord pass? Yes, the rule this time is that 3rd layer divine lords and below can go, but it will definitely attract a lot of 3rd layer and 2nd layer divine lords. It's impossible for a 1st layer divine lord to pass. Several of them spoke with faint disdain. 1st layer divine lord, of course he can't pass. I just casually sent him away. What does it have to do with us whether he can pass or not? The Quasi-Emperor from before smiled faintly. The wood star was not very far from here. Lu Ming took out a map of the stars and easily found it. He then teleported towards the wood star. Not long after, a huge planet appeared in front of Lu Ming. This planet was several times larger than the planets Lu Ming had seen before. The divine aura was extremely rich. Looking from afar, the surface of the planet was dotted with huge cities. The planet did not have any defenses, so Lu Ming flew directly towards one of the planets. So many experts. Strolling on the streets of a city, Lu Ming secretly sized up his surroundings and was shocked. There were too many experts on the streets. The streets were filled with god kings. A casual glance would reveal a god monarch. There was even no lack of 7th level divine lord and above characters among them. Although the wood star was a very important planet for the Sacred Fire Knife sect and ranked in the top 5, the number of such experts was still shocking. One had to know that in the Taishu dynasty, a 7th level divine lord could command an army or become a heavenly king of a heavenly king's residence. But here, Lu Ming strolled for a while and found no less than 10 7th-level divine lords. One could imagine how many experts there were in the vast Sacred Fire Knife sect. The Sacred Fire Knife sect was indeed a true universe-level force. They even had several Saint Emperors and their strength was amazing. It was far from what sub-universe-level forces like the Taishu dynasty, the Tianyi Sacred dynasty, and the barbarian tribe could compare to. After strolling for a while, Lu Ming casually asked around and found out the information he wanted. An outstanding genius of the Sacred Fire Knife sect called Man Ning was recruiting experts in the Sky City on the Wood Star to go to the Dragon Clan's mother planet. This was because the next stop on the Dragon Clan's mother planet was a powerful race on the primitive 10,000 races list, the Sacred Sparrow race. After setting off from the Sacred Fire Knife sect, the next stop was the Sacred Sparrow race. The Sacred Sparrow race had a wormhole that could directly reach the star sector where the Dragon Clan's mother planet was. However, the Sacred Sparrow race only gave the Sacred Fire Knife sect a quota of 39 people. The Sacred Fire Knife sect could only send 39 people. The rest were not allowed to leave. The Sacred Sparrow race was a race on the primitive 10,000 races list. Its strength was extremely terrifying and far from what the Sacred Fire Knife sect could compare to. Since the Sacred Sparrow race had spoken, the Sacred Fire Knife sect could only comply. Therefore, the Sacred Fire Knife sect sent out 3 outstanding 3rd-level divine lords. Each of them was to lead 12 experts and split into 3 teams to head to the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Therefore, during this period, the 3 outstanding disciples of the Sacred Fire Knife sect were recruiting experts everywhere. One could imagine that a large number of experts would gather on the Dragon Clan's mother planet this time. Therefore, the stronger the experts recruited, the safer the trip to the Dragon Clan's mother planet and the more opportunities one could obtain. After Lu Ming heard the news, he immediately set off for the Sky City. The Sky City was bigger than the previous city and had more experts. Lu Ming casually asked around and found out where Man Ning was recruiting. Lu Ming headed to the north of the Sky City. There was a huge square and in the middle of the square, there was a huge battle stage. At this time, the square was surrounded by Man Ning's people. There was only one entrance and there were people guarding it. Those who wanted to head to the Dragon Clan's mother planet had to sign up there. Ming only had 12 people and there were many people signing up. Naturally, there would be competition. Let me tell you. Don't think that you can take advantage of the Dragon Clan's mother planet just because it has recovered. That's impossible. This time, countless experts from large factions will be heading there. The competition will be extremely fierce. Those who are not strong enough had better know their limits and not send themselves to death. The person in charge of the registration was a red-skinned old man. At this time he was shouting and warning those who were weak and not strong. However, not many people listened to the old man and there were still a large number of people signing up. Of course, those who were below the Divine Lord realm naturally knew that they had no chance. Those who signed up were basically Divine Lords, ranging from 1st level to 3rd level Divine Lords. I've already warned you. Whether you listen or not is your business. The red-skinned old man shook his head and signed up one by one. Very soon it was Lu Ming's turn. Kid, 1st level Divine Lords better not sign up. Didn't you see so many people signing up? They are all 2nd level Divine Lords and 3rd level Divine Lords. Even if you sign up, it's also impossible to get a spot. The red-skinned old man swept a glance over Lu Ming and said coolly, "Senior, there's no rule that 1st level Divine Lords can't sign up, right?" Lu Ming said, "There's indeed no rule. But even if 1st level Divine Lords sign up, it's also impossible to get a spot. Why bother wasting time?" The red-skinned old man said, his disdain growing thicker. In fact, 1st level Divine Lords signing up were indeed fewer. The majority were 2nd level Divine Lords with a few 3rd level Divine Lords. Chapter 3558. Lu Ming's brows furrowed slightly and he said, "Senior, I know what I'm doing." "Humph, don't listen to the advice of an old man, you'll suffer a loss. There will be a competition later. If you're killed, don't blame me for not reminding you." The red-skinned old man's voice was somewhat cold. He looked down on this kind of people who overestimated their own ability the most. He had already advised the other party and gave Lu Ming a chance, but Lu Ming did not know how to cherish it. In his view, Lu Ming, this kind of person who overestimated his own ability, was arrogant and conceited, and did not have a clear understanding of his own strength, was destined to not go far. Sooner or later he would fall and be killed. This was the experience he had along the way. Take care of yourself. In the end, the red-skinned old man left a sentence coldly and registered Lu Ming's name. Lu Ming received a jade token, then walked into the square. I'll say it again, if your strength is not enough, don't sign up. Don't overestimate your own ability like some people. When you're killed later, it'll be too late to regret it. The red-skinned old man roared. Lu Ming smiled faintly, too lazy to bother, and walked toward the middle of the square. In the middle of the square there was a huge battle platform. On one side of the battle platform, there was a staircase extending upward. At the end of the staircase was a platform. On the platform, one could see the situation in the square or the battle platform clearly. At this moment there were a few people on the platform. To be precise, there were a total of 7 people. In the middle was a woman. She was very beautiful, wearing silver armor, valiant and formidable. On her back she carried a battle saber. The battle saber was constantly emitting flames, burning fiercely, causing the temperature in the air to rise. Presumably this person was the sacred fire saber sect's outstanding disciple, Man Ning. Beside the woman, there were also 6 young men and women. All 3rd-level divine lords. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Now his eyesight was no longer what it used to be. Moreover, the other party did not deliberately hide their cultivation. Therefore he could easily see the other party's cultivation. The 7 young men were actually all 3rd-level divine lords. The Sacred Fire Saber School was indeed worthy of being called the Sacred Fire Saber School. Its strength was far beyond that of the Taishu dynasty. Back then, among the Taishu dynasty's junior generation, the strongest was just a 1st-level divine lord. Moreover, there were only 2. But here they saw 7 3rd-level divine lord young heavens chosen all at once. Many people had already stepped onto the fighting ring. They were all people who had signed up. Lu Ming also stepped onto the Colosseum. He blended into the crowd and waited. Humph, a 1st-level divine lord also came to join in the fun, truly have no idea of death or danger. A gloomy voice sounded. It came from a young man with a cold expression. This person was also a person who registered for the competition. His gaze swept over Lu Ming and the other few 1st-level divine lords, his face full of disdain. This youth did not conceal his cultivation, emitting his aura unceremoniously. He was shockingly also a 3rd-level divine lord existence. The other 1st-layer divine lords had ugly expressions. They did not dare to utter a word. They turned their heads away, purposely not looking at the stern youth. However, Lu Ming's expression remained calm. There was even a faint smile on his lips. So what if 3rd-level divine lords? He really did not place them in his sights. Unless the other party was a freakish heavens chosen like Di Jiani or Murong Qiushui, only then would they bring pressure to Lu Ming. Ordinary heavens chosen, even if their cultivation was 2 levels higher than Lu Ming's, Lu Ming did not feel any pressure too. But how could Di Jiani and Murong Qiushui, this kind of heavens chosen, be so easy to encounter? One was an existence who walked out of a small kiliacosm, possessing a great lucky chance and great destiny, obtaining the origin ancient character. In many aspects he was very similar to Lu Ming. And the other was a heavens chosen who obtained the acknowledgement of a life soul essence stone fragment. The 2 people could both be said to be top-notch freaks. How could they be so easy to encounter? But Lu Ming's faint smile landed in the eyes of the stern youth. It made his gaze turn frosty. "Kid, what are you laughing at?" The stern youth said in a cold voice. "What am I laughing at? What has it got to do with you?" Lu Ming casually shot a glance at the stern youth. "What has it got to do with me? Boo-hoo, it'll be related to me very soon. You, a 1st-level divine lord trash, also want to get a spot. Really indulging in the wildest fantasies. Now, I'll give you a chance, scram off the battle stage yourself. Otherwise, if you meet me at the start, it'll be your death date." The stern youth said with a cold smile, his killing intent chilling, making people feel a chill. The other few 1st-layer divine monarchs shuddered as they felt a chill run down their spines, giving birth to a sense of fear. There was even one person whose gaze flickered a few times and directly jumped off the battle stage, running out of the plaza, directly forfeiting. No one felt surprised. 1st-level divine lords had no chance to begin with. This time, 3rd-level divine lords were capped. Therefore, 3rd-level divine lord existences were the most powerful. Clashing with a 3rd-level divine lord expert was undoubtedly seeking death. 3rd-level divine lord is very impressive? Lu Ming said it casually, but it drew a wave of jeering laughter. Haha, what nonsense is this kid talking about? When a 3rd-level divine lord faces a 1st-level divine lord, of course he's impressive. Looking at his appearance, it seems like he doesn't place 3rd-level divine lord people in his sights. This kid wouldn't have run out from some corner, right? Doesn't have any common sense? By the side, the others snickered, carrying thick disdain. 3rd-level divine lords were indeed nothing impressive. 4th level divine lords, 5th level divine lords and above, could all be said so. But 1st level divine lords could not. Because 3rd level divine lords could smack a bunch of 1st level divine lords to death with one slap. These words coming from the mouth of a 1st level divine lord person was very laughable. Indeed, nothing impressive. Then you just pray that you don't meet me at the back. The stern youth's voice was icy cold, his killing intent frosty, not concealed at all. Many people observed a moment of silence for Lu Ming. Clearly the stern youth already had killing intent toward Lu Ming. If Lu Ming really met the stern youth at the back, there was probably only a dead end. This minor episode that happened on the battle stage, Man Ning's 7 people on the platform did not pay attention to it in the slightest. Their objective was to select suitable candidates. These people's conflicts had nothing to do with them. Time passed day by day. To Divine King and Divine Lord people, several days, even several months' time was no different from ordinary people's several seconds. In a blink, half a month passed. Alright, registration ends now. At this time Man Ning finally opened his mouth. Then his gaze swept across everyone on the battle stage and said, I believe that everyone also knows that I need to recruit some people this time to head to the Dragon Clan's homeworld together. More than 30 stellar years ago, the Divine Dragon Clan was annihilated by the other major clans in the universe. The experts of the Divine Dragon Clan were almost wiped out. However, at the last moment, the strongest group of existences of the Dragon Clan used their lives as the price to cast the forbidden technique, 10,000 dragon seals, and sealed the Dragon Clan's homeworld. Outsiders were unable to set foot on it. Since then, the Dragon Clan's homeworld has completely fallen into desolation. But now, the 10,000 dragon seals of the Dragon Clan's homeworld have shown signs of loosening and a flaw has appeared. Moreover, the Dragon Clan's homeworld has also begun to recover and various treasures have appeared. This is a great opportunity for everyone. Man Ning said. Chapter 3559. Many people's eyes were burning with passion. The Divine Dragon Clan was extremely powerful back then. They were definitely ranked in the top 10 in the entire primitive universe. They were a true overlord. Sacred Fire Saber Sect or Sacred Sparrow Clan were all trash in front of the Dragon Clan back then. They were not worth mentioning. It could be seen how many treasures existed on the Dragon Clan's mother planet. If they could obtain some treasures, they might be able to soar and rise quickly. Who would want to miss out? Man Ning continued, although the 10,000 dragon seals have loosened, it is said that the strongest can only allow 3rd level divine lords to enter. If stronger people want to force their way in, they will be blasted into ashes by the 10,000 dragon seals. Moreover, this time the Sacred Sparrow tribe only gave our Sacred Fire Saber sect 39 spots. We are divided into 3 teams and each team has 13 people. However, I already have 6 candidates in mind, so this time I will only recruit 6 people. 6 people? Many people were taken aback as they looked at the 6 youths beside Man Ning. These 6 youths were most likely the prodigies of the Sacred Fire Saber sect. Although the Sacred Fire Saber sect ruled over a vast territory, not all of the territory belonged to the Sacred Fire Saber sect. There were many affiliated sects and dynasties under them. There were also many sub-universe level forces like the Taishu dynasty. That's right. This time, there will definitely be prodigies from various major forces entering the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Therefore, if you want to obtain opportunities, you must have powerful combat strength. This time, I want to select the strongest 6 to join my team. Therefore, you will compete. Only the strongest 6 can join my team and head to the Dragon Clan's mother planet with me. Man Ning said. Many people looked at each other with solemn expressions. They originally thought that there would be 12 spots, but now they realized that there were only 6 spots. The pressure of competition increased sharply. Miss Man Ning, I don't think there is a need to go through so much trouble. With so many people competing, how long will it take? I suggest that we directly let 3rd level divine lords compete and decide the top 6 spots, and that will do. At this moment, a cold voice was heard. It was the cold youth from before. The moment these words came out, the expressions of those 1st level divine lords and 2nd level divine lords changed. This way they did not even need to compete. Wouldn't they be eliminated? I also feel that this is for the best. 1st and 2nd level divine lords, even if they participate in the competition, there's no meaning to it. Another young man said. Divine Lord Realm, the disparity between each level was very great. People who could cross realms to battle were all extremely few. Moreover, most of those who could participate in the registration this time were geniuses with strong combat strength. It was even more impossible for them to fight someone of a higher level. Man Ning revealed a thoughtful expression, as if he was also considering the other party's suggestion. I don't think that's appropriate. At this moment Lu Ming spoke. What a joke. If he didn't let them compete and eliminated them, wouldn't he not be able to go to the Dragon Clan's mother planet? This was impossible. He had to go to the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Xian Yinqing and Autumn Moon could both be on the Dragon Clan's mother planet. He was determined to get this spot. As soon as Lu Ming said that, many people turned to look at Lu Ming. It's you, this first-level Divine Lord trash. Seeing Lu Ming, a wisp of cold light flashed across in the cold youth's eyes and he said, "You say that it's inappropriate? What's inappropriate about it?" "Combat strength has never been measured by cultivation," Lu Ming said. "Hearing your meaning, your combat strength is very strong. You can contend with a third-level Divine Lord with first-level Divine Lord cultivation?" The cold youth said with a look of ridicule. "That's right." Lu Ming nodded his head very seriously. "Ah." The cold youth laughed exaggeratedly, laughing until his entire body trembled, laughing until tears flowed out. All around, many people were also snickering, looking at Lu Ming like looking at a fool. A first-level Divine Lord person said that he could contend with a third-level Divine Lord? Was this possible? Crossing 2 levels in the Divine Lord realm? If crossing 1 level there was still a little possibility. But crossing 2 levels, this was simply impossible. There was no possibility at all. Such a heaven's pride, even the sacred fire saber sect did not have it. This nameless brat who ran out from God knows which corner actually said that he could cross 2 levels, contending with a third-level Divine Lord existence with first-level Divine Lord cultivation. Joke, truly a colossal joke. This brat overestimates his own ability too much. I've long seen through that he's a fool, really disgusting. The red-skinned old man who was in charge of registration previously revealed a disdainful smile, a look of disgust on his face. He hated this kind of person who ran his mouth the most. Too unreliable, only knowing how to boast. On the platform, Man Ning as well as the other 6 youths also shook their heads. As the sacred fire saber sect's heaven's pride, it was also not that they had not seen before terrifying monsters. For example, Man Ning himself was a top monster in the sacred fire saber sect. But wanting to cross 2 levels to battle in the Divine Lord realm? Man Ning shook his head. Blindly arrogant, overestimating his own ability, such a person isn't fit to take part in this competition at all. If we let him head to the dragon race's homeworld, he'll probably cause everyone's death. A youth beside Man Ning said coldly. "Brat, you'd better go down." "Yes, don't take part in it." On the platform, several youths berated, wanting Lu Ming to go down. "Wait a minute." At this time the cold-faced youth shouted, "Since this brat is so confident, why don't we let him show us? If we don't let him show us, he'll think he's invincible. We didn't give him a chance." "Brat, don't you think so?" In the end the cold-faced youth looked at Lu Ming. Of course he was not so kind as to help Lu Ming. He wanted to embarrass Lu Ming and even find a chance to kill Lu Ming. Lu Ming dared to talk back to him before, so he had already made up his mind to kill Lu Ming. "You're right, if you don't let me show you, I won't be convinced." Lu Ming's expression was calm and he nodded seriously. "Ah." This caused another round of disdainful laughter. "Man Ning, did you hear that? He said he wants to show us, then give him a chance to show us." The cold-faced youth looked at Man Ning. Man Ning mused for a moment, then nodded. "Brat, Miss Man Ning agreed to let you show us. Now say, who do you want to challenge?" The cold-faced youth said. "Don't you want to kill me? Then I'll give you a chance. Now fight with me." At this moment Lu Ming became serious, staring at the cold-faced youth. "What?" The scene suddenly fell silent. Everyone looked at Lu Ming in a daze. Lu Ming actually really wanted to challenge the cold-faced youth, a third-level Divine Lord existence. Whoosh. The next moment the scene was in an uproar. "This brat is really crazy to actually want to challenge Kudao, this is courting death. Too ignorant, I even wonder how this brat lived until now. No matter how he lived until now, I know that he definitely won't live until tomorrow." Chapter 3560. Ridiculous. You're courting death. The red-skinned elder waved his sleeves, his eyes filled with disgust. On the platform Man Ning and the other 6 youths shook their heads with a sneer. In their opinion Lu Ming was courting death. However, they wouldn't stop him. If he was courting death, why should they stop him? Moreover, killing wasn't prohibited in today's competition. It was normal for someone to be killed. On the other hand, Kudao was taken aback. The surprise came too suddenly. Originally he wanted to kill Lu Ming. However, given his cultivation, it was really embarrassing for him to challenge a first-level Divine Lord. However, Lu Ming had taken the initiative to challenge him. If that wasn't a surprise, then what was? All right. Since you're so confident, if I don't accept, then I won't give you a chance to show off. I accept your challenge. Ku Dao said hurriedly, afraid that Lu Ming would go back on his word. Then let the first round begin. Man Ning spoke and waved his hand. The figures of the people in the fighting ring flashed and all of them left the fighting ring to watch the fight. Only Lu Ming and Ku Dao were left in the fighting ring. Kid, I'll give you a chance to make your move. I'll let you make 3 moves. If you have any trump cards, feel free to use them. You won't have a chance to use them later. Ku Dao looked at Lu Ming with an arrogant expression. I wanted to say that to you. Since you're so confident, then forget it. I'll make my move first. Lu Ming said. Many people almost laughed out loud. The reason why they did not laugh was that Lu Ming had already made his move. Afterward, the expression on their faces changed from sneering disdain to shock and deep fear. Boom. Lu Ming made his move. He activated the battle character manual and increased his combat strength by 5 times. Then, the 11 types of divine power in his body exploded. He even used the power of the Sovereign's divine power after the 5th awakening. Then the Sovereign's gate formed and became 10,000 feet tall. It pressed down on Ku Dao. After all, Ku Dao was a 3rd-level divine lord. To be able to reach this realm at such a young age, he must be very talented. He was a proud son of heaven. Lu Ming would not underestimate him. He used a powerful force right from the start. Only the primordial divine body hadn't been used. Of course, the power of the primordial divine body hadn't been activated either. Even so, it was still extremely terrifying. The boundless power of the Gate of Domination caused everyone's expression to change. As for Ku Dao, his expression changed drastically. He felt as if a planet was crashing down on him. He knew that he had misjudged Lu Ming. Lu Ming was a terrifying expert. Then, with a furious roar, he unleashed all of his power and slashed out. A vast and resplendent saber light slashed towards Lu Ming. Ku Dao wasn't weak. He had awakened his origin divine power factor 4 times and had mastered origin secret arts. He was much stronger than the old man who had tried to rob Lu Ming. However, the result was still destined. There was no way he could compete with Lu Ming. Boom. Under the suppression of the Gate of Domination, Ku Dao's saber gleam vibrated violently before it exploded with a loud bang. A violent force bombarded Ku Dao's body. Ku Dao screamed and retreated rapidly, coughing out large mouthfuls of blood. He looked at Lu Ming in horror. The scene fell into a deathly silence. At this moment, there was no longer any ridicule on their faces. There was only shock, and confusion. One move. In just one move, Ku Dao had coughed up blood and been forced to retreat. How was that possible? That was a 1st-level divine lord. How could he defeat a 3rd-level divine lord in one move? The red-skinned old man's eyes bulged. His mouth was so wide that he could swallow a goose egg. His old face had already turned purplish-black from shame. Before, he had said that Lu Ming was overestimating himself and was arrogant. He was disgusted by Lu Ming's performance. But now, Lu Ming had used his actions to show him that Lu Ming was truly confident. That was because he had the strength to back it up. It was him who had been short-sighted, a frog at the bottom of a well, unable to see. At this moment he wished he could buy a block of tofu and kill himself. This was too embarrassing. On the platform, Man Ning and the other 6 young men rose to their feet with astounded expressions. A monster. After a while Man Ning spat out those 2 words. She was pleasantly surprised. For Lu Ming to be able to defeat Ku Dao in one move meant that he was probably on the same level as her. Even if he was weaker, the difference wouldn't be by much. This would be a great help in their journey to the dragon race's mother planet. First move. At this moment Lu Ming spoke slowly. Then, his divine power continuously surged into the Gate of Domination, preparing to launch a second attack. Damn it. Run. Ku Dao roared inside. He knew that he definitely wasn't a match for Lu Ming. The only way to survive was to run. He turned into a ray of saber light and retreated down the stage. You want to leave now? Too late. Let's talk after 3 moves, Lu Ming icily said. Following this, the wind extinguisher boots appeared and merged with his feet. Lu Ming turned into a ray of light and chased after Ku Dao. An essence secret art. A second essence secret art. As soon as the wind extinguisher boots appeared, the crowd went into an uproar. Lu Ming actually had a second essence secret art. Ancient cultivation method. He is cultivating the ancient cultivation method. No wonder he is so powerful. Someone roared, thinking that he had seen through Lu Ming's secrets. However, before he could finish his words, there was a loud clang. Lu Ming waved his hand and the void-shattering sword flew out. It tore through the air and instantly caught up with Kudao. A third essence secret art. Everyone was stunned. The red-skinned elder's face had already turned into an eggplant. His body was trembling and he wished he could find a crack to hide in. Of course, Lu Ming's essence secret art did not activate the power to sever the shackles. Otherwise, everyone's eyes would have popped out. Puchi. The void breaker slashed out and directly cut Kudao in two. Then the gate of domination came crashing down. Spare me, spare me. Kudao screamed in horror. But Lu Ming's eyes were cold and he was unmoved. The gate of domination came crashing down with the force of 10,000 caddies, bringing with it a destructive force. Boom. Kudao screamed and his body exploded. His body and soul were destroyed. As for the interspatial ring, Lu Ming grabbed it and put it away. The crowd was silent as they stared blankly at Lu Ming. A monster. A word appeared in their minds. Yes, a monster. Lu Ming was definitely a monster. Otherwise, how could he kill an opponent who was 2 levels higher than him? Moreover, it was a crushing defeat. Only the word monster could describe Lu Ming. I want one of the 6 spots. Anyone who's not convinced, come up and fight. Lu Ming's gaze swept across the crowd. No one said a word. Kudao had been crushed. Who would dare to go up? Kudao was considered strong among 3rd-level divine lords. He had mastered an essence secret art, and his essence divine power factor had awakened 4 times. Many 3rd-level divine lords had not only not mastered an essence secret art, but their essence divine power factor had also only awakened 3 times. If Kudao was no match for him, wouldn't they be courting death? Chapter 3561. Lu Ming waited for a long time but no one went up to fight with him. Since there's no one, then I'll take this spot. Lu Ming spoke looking at Man Ning on the platform. Brother, with your combat strength, you should get a spot. Man Ning nodded, very satisfied with Lu Ming's combat strength. Although he was only a 1st-level divine lord, his combat strength was astonishing. Going to the dragon race's mother planet together, he believed that it would be of great use. Lu Ming nodded, his figure moved, landing on the platform. Alright, there are still 5 spots left. For the sake of fairness, let's fight one-on-one and choose the strongest, nameless. Man Ning spoke. With Lu Ming's example, he did not dare to underestimate 1st-level and 2nd-level divine lords. What if there was another person like Lu Ming? After some discussion, the competition began. On the battle platform, intense battles broke out. It was very tragic and people were killed from time to time. However, it was naturally impossible for someone like Lu Ming to appear again. Almost no one could cross levels to fight. Some 3rd-level divine lords defeated other opponents in a crushing manner. 10 days later, the competition ended and the final 5 spots were all out. Lu Ming also saw the battles in these few days and more or less had an idea in his heart. Some proud sons of heaven were generally like Kudao. Their origin divine power factor had undergone 4 awakenings, mastering origin secret techniques, and some other powerful secret techniques. However, no one had severed the shackles using origin secret techniques, nor did he see the origin divine power factor undergo 5 awakenings. It seemed that even in the sacred fire saber sect, it was very difficult for those below 3rd-level divine lord to undergo 5 awakenings or sever the shackles of origin secret techniques. You all come with me, rest for a few days, then set off. Man Ning said. After that, Man Ning arranged accommodation for Lu Ming and the others. Soon 2 days passed. 2 days later they set off and came to a planet not far from the wormhole, meeting up with the other 2 groups of people. However, as soon as Man Ning and the others arrived on this planet, Man Ning received the news and asked her to bring them for a gathering. Soon, Lu Ming saw the other 2 groups of people in a large open space. Just like them, there was an elite disciple of the sacred fire saber sect leading 12 experts. Lu Ming swept a glance over and discovered that the other 2 groups of people were all 3rd-level divine lord existences. The 3 sides sized each other up, their eyes flickering. Although they were from the same sect, once they entered the Dragon Clan's mother planet and encountered fortuitous opportunities, it was very likely that they would become competitors and snatch resources from each other. 1. At this moment, ripples appeared in the space and a few figures suddenly appeared in the air. A powerful aura filled the air. Quasi-Emperor. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The people who suddenly appeared were a white-haired old man and 2 burly men. What made Lu Ming's expression turn grave was that these 3 were all quasi-emperors. In the Sacred Fire Saber School, the Divine Emperor Realm Warriors were the top warriors. Normally they wouldn't come out. If the Divine Emperor didn't come out, the Quasi-Emperor Realm was the strongest. Greetings to the three elders. Man Ning and the others bowed. No need to be so courteous. The white-haired old man in the middle waved his hand and said, there is still more than a month before the departure time. I have called you here at the last minute because I have bad news to tell you. Bad news? Everyone's hearts sank and their expressions changed. They stared at the white-haired old man waiting for his answer. The Sacred Sparrow tribe originally gave us 39 places, which is just enough to form 3 small teams. However, not long ago the Sacred Sparrow tribe sent news that there are not enough places. They can only send 26 people. The white-haired old man said. 26 people. Everyone's hearts sank and their expressions turned ugly. There were originally 39 people, but now there were only 26 people left. This meant that 1/3 of the people would be eliminated. Elder, why did you suddenly reduce the number of places? Man Ning asked. They are afraid of competition. By reducing our number, the Sacred Sparrow tribe will face less competition. Humph, they have received benefits from us and yet they are playing such tricks. The white-haired old man snorted coldly and was very unhappy. However, the Sacred Sparrow tribe was a powerful tribe on the Eldritch 10,000 tribe list. No matter how unhappy they were, there was nothing they could do. Since you have already formed a team, we will not split you up. Our opinion is that only 2 of the 3 small teams can go. The other team can only stay. The white-haired old man said. Everyone's heart sank again. Only 2 of the 3 small teams could go and one of them would be eliminated. The 3 small teams sized each other up. At this moment they were emitting a strong sense of hostility. None of them wanted to give up. The dragon race's mother planet was the mother planet of a huge tribe. It had been sealed for dozens of stellar years. Now that it had recovered, the opportunity was unimaginable. If they seized this opportunity, they might be able to soar into the sky and compete with the top elites of the Eldritch universe. Elder, I think that only the 2 strongest teams can go to the dragon race's mother planet. The stronger one is, the more opportunities they can seize and obtain. At this moment, a young man in a purple robe said. He was wearing a purple feather coat and looked rich. Zing, which team do you think is the weakest? The white-haired old man asked. It's obvious that Man Ning's team should be eliminated. Zing pointed at Man Ning's team. Zing, what did you say? My team is the weakest? Which eye did you use to see that? Man Ning said coldly. Like Man Ning, Zing was also one of the 3 elite disciples of the Sacred Firesaber sect and the leader of a team. Which eye did you use to see that? I can see with both eyes that the strength of your team is uneven. Even a first-level Divine Lord trash is in it. It can be seen that your team's strength is really not that good. Zing revealed a disdainful smile and glanced at Lu Ming. The others were almost the same. They looked at Lu Ming and revealed a disdainful smile. Even a first-level Divine Lord could be selected. It could be seen that Man Ning's team was very weak. Zing, do you think you can judge a person's strength by cultivation alone? Although Lu Ming is only a first-level Divine Lord, his battle strength is very strong and won't lose to anyone. Man Ning said. Haha, very strong battle strength? Man Ning, you really know how to stick gold on your face? Zing laughed loudly, the disdain on his face becoming even thicker as he said, a first-level Divine Lord, how strong can he be? Man Ning, you wouldn't want to say that he's comparable to a 3rd-level Divine Lord, right? If that's really the case, then it's not that he's strong but that your people are too weak. Then you all don't need to participate anymore. Going is also courting death. You're talking nonsense. Man Ning had a furious look on his face. Elder, it's very clear that there's even a first-level Divine Lord in Man Ning's team. Can be seen how weak her team is. This way it's very simple. Excluding her, our 2 teams can head to the dragon race's mother planet. Zing said. The reason why he targeted Man Ning was that the other team's strength was very shocking. He did not have confidence. Chapter 3562. The white-haired old man frowned. His thoughts were also biased towards Zing. There was even a first-level Divine Lord in Man Ning's team. Could be seen that his strength was really not much. Going to the dragon race's mother planet was also a waste of the quota. Strength is never based on words. At this moment, Lu Ming's indifferent voice sounded. Everyone's eyes gathered on Lu Ming. Kid, what do you mean by this? Ziying's eyes narrowed as he stared at Lu Ming. Looks like your ability to understand is really not good. My words are already so clear, but I don't mind explaining it again. Strength can never be judged by words. Only by fighting can one judge strength. Lu Ming said indifferently. Lu Ming would not miss the opportunity to go to the dragon race's mother planet. If the other party wanted to exclude him, then he could only use his fist to fight his way in. You want to fight? Do you think you can compete with us with your first-level Divine Lord cultivation? Ah. Ziying let out a disdainful sneer. He did not believe that a first-level Divine Lord could be that strong. Divine Lord realm was not God King or Celestial God realms. One could casually fight across realms. He was very clear about how difficult it was to fight across realms in the Divine Lord realm. Moreover, the people here were all considered geniuses. It was even more difficult to fight across realms. Elder, I think Lu Ming is right. Strength is not based on words but through fighting. I request a battle to determine which team is the weakest. Man Ning cupped his fists toward the three elders. Alright, this elder also has the same intention. Then let's have a team battle. The three teams will fight each other and have a team battle. The weakest team won't have to go to the dragon race's mother planet. Also, remember not to kill. The old man instructed. As the old man spoke, he slammed his palm on the ground. Rumble. The ground rumbled, and a huge stone battle platform emerged from the ground. This battle platform is about 1,000 miles long and wide. You guys go up and fight. Those who fall off the battle platform lose. The old man said. Ziying, let's fight. Man Ning looked at Ziying with high fighting spirit. With a swoosh, Man Ning stepped onto the battle platform first. Then, Lu Ming and the others stepped onto the battle platform one after another. They were very confident because they knew Lu Ming's combat strength. They could not use an ordinary first-level Divine Lord to measure Lu Ming's combat strength. Ziying and the rest dared to underestimate Lu Ming. They were destined to suffer a great loss. Just like Ku Dao. Ziying shouted and rushed to the fighting ring. Ziying said coldly. He was full of confidence. As soon as his words left his mouth, he dashed out and charged toward Lu Ming and the rest. Ziying, your opponent is me. Man Ning shouted coldly and also rushed out, charging toward Ziying. Two rays of saber light flashed and tore the void apart. They collided fiercely and the saber light swept out in all directions. Ziying and Man Ning's figures trembled as they retreated repeatedly. But in the next moment they fought again. The sky was filled with saber light and the powerful aura formed a terrible pressure that spread in all directions. They are stronger but their strength is still limited. Lu Ming observed for a while and had a rough idea of Ziying and Man Ning's strength. Although the two of them were stronger than the others, they were not much stronger. The Origin Divine Power Factor was still 4 times awakened and the Origin Secret Technique had not severed the shackles. It was not easy to sever the shackles of the Origin Secret Technique. The second prince of the Taishu dynasty had cultivated for 2 stellar years and reached the 9th level Divine Lord realm. But he had only severed 1 shackle. Back in the Primordial Divine Spirit world, although they were all below the Divine Lord realm, those who entered the Primordial Divine Spirit world were all geniuses of various races who cultivated the Primordial Divine Body. Some of them were very talented, but only a few of them had severed the shackles of the Origin Secret Technique. Moreover, in the Primordial Divine Spirit world, in those famous mountains, whether it was cultivating the Origin Divine Power Factor or the Origin Secret Technique, it was easier than outside. However, only a few people could do it. If Lu Ming had not had a series of fortuitous encounters, it would not have been so easy to sever the shackles of the Origin Secret Technique. Boom. Ziying and Man Ning were fighting, and Lu Ming and the others were also fighting. More than 20 people on both sides were fighting. Kid, a first-level Divine Lord trash, get down. A black-faced youth sneered and rushed toward Lu Ming, slashing his saber at Lu Ming. This youth had a 3rd-level Divine Lord cultivation and was very strong. However, in Lu Ming's eyes it was not enough. Looks like I have to show some of my strength. Otherwise, if I keep being looked down upon, it won't be good for me when I go to the dragon race's mother planet. A thought flashed through Lu Ming's mind. He realized that sometimes, it was not good to be too low-key. When it was time to be high-profile, it was time to be high-profile. In an instant, the battle character art was activated. 11 types of divine power erupted and the Tyrant God Spear appeared in his hand. The Tyrant God Spear vibrated. At this moment, Lu Ming directly activated the Tyrant God Spear's power after severing the shackles. A terrifying aura erupted from Lu Ming's body, causing heaven and earth to tremble. Then the spear swept out. Bang. Without any surprise, the black-faced youth's saber light shattered. The spear did not stop, sweeping toward the black-faced youth. Ah, your Origin Secret Technique severed the shackles. The black-faced youth let out a horrified roar. He had almost been frightened to death. At the critical moment he used his saber to block. His saber was a monarch-grade divine artifact. Moreover, his Origin Secret Technique was also a saber that was fused into the monarch-grade divine artifact. However, when the tyrant god's spear struck the saber violently trembled and shattered. The black-faced youth's body flew out of the stage like a cannonball. He continued flying for over 10,000 miles before crashing into the ground. He vomited large mouthfuls of blood. He had been heavily injured. One move. In just one move, the black-faced youth had been instantly killed. Of course, the black-faced youth hadn't died because Lu Ming had shown mercy. There was a rule before that stated that he could not kill. What? Seeing this scene, the others were greatly shocked. It wasn't just Zi Ying's people. Man Ning's people, the other team, and the white-haired elders group all widened their eyes. He had severed the shackles. Lu Ming's origin secret technique had actually severed the shackles and activated a terrifying power. Scram. Before anyone could react, Lu Ming had already charged over. He was invincible. No one could block one move from Lu Ming. The tyrant god's spear swept out, and one figure after another was sent flying out of the stage. Chapter 3563. Almost in an instant, Lu Ming swept out 11 spears. Then 11 figures flew out of the fighting ring. No one could block Lu Ming's move. 11 people flew out almost at the same time and smashed onto the ground. The 12 people brought by Ziying were sent flying just like that. Only Man Ning's people were left on the fighting ring. Ziying and Man Ning were fighting in the air. Seeing such a situation, Ziying's eyes almost popped out. He was dumbfounded and stunned. Thereafter he was slashed by Man Ning's saber and was sent flying with severe injuries. He had yet to come back to his senses. His eyes were widened and he stared intently at Lu Ming. His eyes were filled with puzzlement, horror, and other emotions. Man Ning's heart also trembled violently a few times. She knew that she still underestimated Lu Ming. Lu Ming's strength was stronger than she imagined. Taking a few deep breaths, Man Ning calmed herself down. First level Divine Lord, so what? Man Ning stood in the air and stared at Ziying. His disdainful voice came out. Oh. Ziying spat out a mouthful of blood, his face burning. Didn't he look down on first-level Divine Lords before? He thought that Man Ning's divine power was uneven. What was the result? It was a slap in the face. His people were all killed by Lu Ming in an instant. With such strength he could easily crush him. He looked down on Lu Ming. Was he qualified? Amazing. The 3 elders of Sacred Fire Saber sect were also full of amazement. Lu Xian, it's our turn next. At this time, Man Ning looked at the leader of another team and issued a challenge. At this moment, Man Ning was in high spirits and full of confidence. With Lu Ming here, what was there to be afraid of? Directly crush. The leader of the other team was called Lu Xian. At this moment his face was ugly. He forced a smile and said, "Junior sister Man Ning, I didn't expect that there was such a genius in your team. I was wrong. I admit defeat in this battle." Lu Xian was straightforward and directly admitted defeat. What a joke to go up and be defeated. He was not so stupid. In any case, 2 out of the 3 teams could go, as long as they defeated Zi Ying's team. Previously, Lu Xian's team had always been considered the strongest of the 3 teams. He still had some confidence in defeating Zi Ying. Alright, the first team to win is Manning's team. They have earned the right to go to the Dragon Clan's mother planet. The white-haired old man announced. Lu Ming heaved a sigh of relief. It was finally settled. Now Lu Xian and Ziying, it's your turn to compete. Whichever side loses will be eliminated. Ziying, for the sake of fairness, I'll give you time to heal your injuries. Hurry up and heal your injuries. The white-haired old man said. Ziying's expression was unsightly. The overall strength of Lu Xian's team was above his. This was also the reason why he provoked Man Ning in the beginning. As long as he defeated Man Ning, even if he couldn't defeat Lu Xian, he would still be able to obtain the opportunity to go to the Dragon Clan's mother planet. But now he could only face Lu Xian. Focus on healing. Ziying shouted loudly. She took out a divine pill and swallowed it, focusing on healing her injuries. He was unwilling to give up just like that. He still wanted to give it a try. Ziying and his people focused on healing their injuries. Since there was still some time before they set off, everyone waited quietly. After a few days, Ziying and his people finally recovered from their injuries and returned to their peak condition. Of course, this was also the reason why Lu Ming didn't hit them too hard. Otherwise they wouldn't have recovered in a few days. After their injuries were healed, the 2 sides stepped onto the battle platform and the battle broke out. Although Lu Xian's team was stronger overall, there was a limit to their strength. The battle between the 2 sides was very fierce. If it weren't for the rule that no killing was allowed, someone would have died. The 2 sides fought for more than half an hour before the outcome was decided. In the end, Lu Xian's team was slightly better and defeated Zi Ying's team. In the end, Man Ning and Lu Xian's teams obtained the opportunity to go to the wormhole. There was still more than a month left. They would stay nearby and wait for the time to come. After that, everything was calm. There were no accidents. More than a month passed quickly. Outside the wormhole, Lu Ming and the others gathered. Remember, when you enter the Dragon Clan's mother planet, you must keep a low profile and be careful. This time, countless forces in the primitive universe will send people there. It is a great opportunity and also a great danger. You must grasp it well. The white-haired elder warned solemnly. Yes, elder. Everyone nodded. Go. The white-haired elder waved his hand. Lu Ming and the others set off and entered the wormhole. After entering the wormhole, they soon arrived in an unfamiliar starry sky. People of the sacred fire saber sect, follow us. Lu Ming and the rest had yet to size up their surroundings when they heard a voice. They looked forward and saw a group of more than a dozen people. These people were all wearing wings. Their eyes were sharp and their auras were terrifying. They gave off an unfathomable feeling. Quasi-emperors. Are these people all quasi-emperors? Lu Ming was shocked. He understood that this should be the territory of the Sacred Sparrow tribe. However, he was still shocked to see more than a dozen quasi-emperors at a glance. Lu Ming, the Sacred Sparrow tribe is a large tribe on the primitive 10,000 tribes list. For such a force, quasi-emperors are nothing. Even divine emperors are nothing. Bone Demon's voice sounded in his sea of consciousness. Even divine emperors are nothing? Lu Ming's heart trembled violently. The only divine emperor he had seen so far was the immortal demon lord. Moreover, he was a severely injured divine emperor. In the Sacred Sparrow tribe, divine emperors were nothing. It was terrifying. But soon Lu Ming felt relieved. After all, they were a powerful force on the primitive 10,000 tribes list. The primitive universe was vast and there were countless forces and races. Those that could be listed on the primitive 10,000 tribes list were the top races in the primitive universe. It was normal for them to be powerful. Seniors, we are from the Sacred Fire Saber sect. Man Ning and Lu Xian nodded hurriedly, trembling with fear. Although the Sacred Fire Saber sect was a powerful force, they were like ants in front of the Sacred Sparrow tribe. It was normal for Lu Xian and Man Ning to lose their composure in front of the elites of the Sacred Sparrow tribe. I know that you are from the Sacred Fire Saber sect. We are waiting for you here. Come with us. There are also some people from other forces. When everyone is here, we will set off for the dragon race's mother planet. A middle-aged man from the Sacred Sparrow tribe said calmly. However, Lu Ming saw disdain and arrogance in his eyes. The large tribes on the primitive 10,000 tribes list had the right to be arrogant in front of some small forces. They would only speak with the same attitude when facing other tribes that were also on the primitive 10,000 tribes list. Lu Xian, Man Ning, and the others trembled with fear. Lu Ming did not mind. The group followed the Sacred Sparrow tribe and arrived at a small wormhole. The Sacred Sparrow tribe was a huge force and occupied a huge territory. Even if they used teleportation to travel, it would take a long time. Therefore, the Sacred Sparrow tribe basically used wormholes to travel.